and he opens the cylinder up. You can see that all 6 cartridges are empty, and then he takes out the one bullet, puts it in the revolver, spins it, closes it, and then goes, well, that one shot had the bullet and fucking got his ass. Anyways, this guy gets behind the wheel of this pickup, and they both think, this is, logical and fantastic. I will just drive both of our drunk asses back to wherever the hell we're going to go. So they start driving. He gets up to an ungodly, speed inside the city. They both get ejected, but Uncle gets launched into the air, and when he lands, he's okay, but then the pickup lands on top of his skull and crushes it like a watermelon. He's dead. Uncomfortable pattern. Yeah, basically, white-collar crime is no different than blue-collar crime. You have one corrupt person somewhere, guarantee you there's more. Keep fucking scratching that surface, and then you'll be like, oh, holy shit.
Welcome to 1023 Podcast, from on scene to on air with those who are there. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, and you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. You can also listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and feel free to email us at 1023podcast@gmail.com with your ideas for future episodes. Lastly, the views and opinions of the individuals featured on 1023 Podcast do not necessarily reflect those of their employers or their profession. Viewer discretion is advised. This is 1023 Podcast, episode 107, part 3, with the lovely and talented Ashley Fithen, myself, Hunter Fithen, and our special guest for the third time, Detective Kiley Flores. Flores, welcome to the show once again.
Thanks for having me back.
Well,
Sorry,
you're welcome.
It's been a hot minute, I guess,
It has been a hot minute. As previously discussed on this show, both Ashley and I work full-time, and we have a 2-year-old, and we have other life responsibilities as well. So the original idea for this show was to kind of do one episode a month, and we have
yeah, right.
failed that mission.
We were
Yeah.
so confident about this
Yeah.
too.
Many people told us, that's not going to work. And we were like, no, y'all are just haters. We're going to make it happen.
That's okay.
No, we admit defeat now.
To be completely fair, in y'all's defense, as soon as I had my first episode, I just became so popular and in such high demand.
Yes.
It's very difficult to get a hold of me now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, with your travel schedule and all
I
that,
know.
it's a lot.
Mhm.
But that's the other thing that we kind of want to open with is this is the first episode of this show that is being recorded from our new studio, courtesy of Loud and Heavy Booking or Spacecamp Lessons or...
How in the fuck do you not know who you're doing business
Well,
to?
here's the thing. So
I'm sorry, Loud and Heavy Booking.
Grant
looking at-
Fithen has a lot. He's an entrepreneur. He's a business
Yeah.
guy.
There's a
He's
lot
a
going
musician.
on.
He's got a lot going on in his life. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
This is going to be like a, I don't want to say an Easter egg because that's not right, but this is a preview. We're going to have a guest on a future episode who's actually the owner of our new studio, named Grant Fithen. And
not related to Hunter Fithen.
No relation. But the reason for the confusion is because Grant Fithen owns and operates several different operations. So yeah, I don't actually know who sponsors this studio, like by business name.
I think it would be Spacecamp because that's
Sure.
that's the building.
Yeah, Grant is a Spacecamp.
He has
So yeah, Spacecamp is like this music studio.
Yeah, so
And-
Spacecamp Lessons, in Amarillo, Texas, has an awesome facility where you can learn music and practice your craft of sound and all that good stuff. But anyway, long story short, we now are recording 1023 Podcast out of their studio, which is really cool. So this is the first episode to do that, and we'll have more on that at a later date.
So I just want to clarify. He has like 3 businesses.
Oh yeah, probably more than that.
2?
Oh no.
Yeah,
He's got like 3 or 4.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Are you Jewish?
So Grant Fithen he's in the room right now, just listening to us in the background. So we keep looking at him like, "Come
Yeah,
on, man,
sorry.
give
Yeah.
us answers." He's got like Spacecamp, Loud and Heavy Booking. He teaches music,
I do know
which is a
about that.
business in and of
Mhm.
itself. And I'd say
also-
the bands that you're a part of is
he
a business as
yeah,
well. So
Plays guitar for like 30 different bands, so there's that as well.
yeah.
He's modest. Anyway, getting into the content for this episode. This has been a long time coming, and this is going to be the final episode of the final part, I should say, of episode 10.3. I'm sorry, 10.7, part 3. So, what we're going to kind of wrap up based on some audience feedback is we got a lot of feedback from the previous Kylie episodes here, and people just honestly want to hear more about cool cases and talk about some death investigations. So we have some of those to talk about.
Okay. Well,
Um,
burst my bubble. No one cares about my origin story.
well, I
Well,
think we delved into that so much.
So yeah, people are like,
And-
all right, I'm tired of hearing about this bitch.
And just so anyone who's like first listening to Kylie, you want to check out episode 10.7 part 1 and 10.7 part 2. Part
Yes.
1 covers Kylie's kind of childhood,
Superhero origin.
jail,
Thanks.
prison stories, and then she jumps forward a little bit to California kidnapping and death by blizzard. And then part
Yeah.
2, she delves more into death and her
Yeah.
experiences with
Being a
dead
detective,
bodies and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
investigating death scenes and all that.
So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
absolutely. So yeah, definitely check out those previous 2 episodes. And then the other point of feedback that we got from the previous 2 episodes that we kind of wanted to expound on a little bit today is we had a listener reach out and say, hey, love the show. One thing though that I've noticed is that you guys will sometimes gloss over, I think, what y'all see as kind of the boring part of cop work, but as someone who's not a cop, not involved in law enforcement, I'm actually kind of interested in that boring part. Like, y'all have mentioned working a case and uh, stuff like that. And so basically, what this listener had requested for this episode was, can y'all talk about like, hey, when you see on TV people talk about, hey, like catching a case, and like detectives are working a case, what like does that actually look like? Like, is there an actual physical like paper case like you see in the movies? And so we're gonna talk about that real quick. But due to our guest's profession and everything, Kylie, I'm gonna let you take that one and
Oh wow.
like walk us through, just for the sake of the audience's curiosity, whenever someone catches a case,
Mhm.
like what does that look like for a detective? Like what do you actually do to basically file that case and like and push it forward?
Well, it's gonna vary depending on the agency and where you're at and how their stuff operates. But I think most agencies typically tend to do this way. A case is basically a short way of saying an actual physical case file. You will have, and we call them with our agency shucks, which that's the first time I've ever heard that being
Yeah.
called that way. All the agencies I worked at before, they never referred to the actual case report as like a shuck. But it's
Yeah.
because we
Why is it
have
shuck?
these like manila folder envelope things. It's like a mail package almost.
Mhm.
It opens at the top, and so you put your case report in there. So like everything we do is in an RMS system, which I don't, is it report management system? Is
Yeah.
that, okay.
Yeah. Report management
Yeah,
system.
so RMS stands for report management system. Literally every law enforcement agency in America uses one of those because that's how you're going to track, traffic stops, criminal cases, all that kind of stuff. Well, in that system, you go in there and let's say on today's date at 10 in the morning, a random deputy got sent to the middle of nowhere to go take a criminal mischief, which for people that don't know what that is, it's going to be what everyone perceives and knows as vandalism or graffiti or something like that.
Property damage. of some
Property
sort.
damage, yeah, of some sort. And so let's say the deputy gets out there, and in the middle of the night, someone, unknown who, someone drove off the highway, ran through a fence. All you have is, tire tracks. Clearly, someone came through there. The fence is knocked down, all that kind of stuff. And then the car either got pulled out, but it's not there. They show up, fence is destroyed. There's tire tracks everywhere. And so the deputy's like, okay, he takes pictures, talks to the owner, gets right there, like, hey, how much is this going to cost you to fix? Okay, cool. Do you have any cameras? Nope, probably not because it's the middle of nowhere. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
And so, anyways, he comes back to the office in that RMS system.
And this is just a deputy, right?
Yeah,
now.
this is
He's doing
normal
this,
deputy.
It's
Yeah.
not like a detective at this.
No. Oh, well, sorry. I guess he did ask what it was, but I felt like it'd
Well,
probably be easier.
Well,
we
no,
can-
no, yeah, that's
we
what I
can
was
go
asking.
off-
Like from the process
Yes,
of
from
first call
start to finish.
Well, we can
Yes.
we can actually use the same scenario and just tweak it a little bit. Like, let's say instead of a fence in the middle of nowhere, because I've actually seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say we have a dude who crashed into a house
Oh,
in
okay.
a residential area.
Okay,
you know.
cool.
So, of course, deputies are called to go do with
Yeah.
the first initial?
Sure.
Yeah, or most likely in that scenario, it would be a city police
City
officer.
Oh, okay,
officers,
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, whatever.
Whatever kind of cop you get.
Yeah, whatever kind of cop you get, because it's interchangeable. Doesn't matter if you're a detective for a county or for a city. You're going to do the same process. But so, anyways, inside a city, a house. We're gonna say a car goes into a shop, because if it goes into the house, most likely a bunch of people are getting woken up because some people get
Yeah.
uh
It's a detached garage.
yeah, so a detached garage, no one else is hurt, but in 2 in the morning, this car hurtles through a detached garage before the owners can get out there and go, what the fuck? That car, still mobile, backs out, drives off into the night. You don't see it again. So the officer gets out there. Obviously, there's no injuries, so they just kind of talk to everyone. Hey, what'd you see? What'd you saw? They saw nothing because the car was gone before they got there. So then he'll take pictures, all that kind of good stuff. If you need to bring out a CSI team or detectives right there, then they'll come and deal with it depending on.
Well, what does that depend on?
So basically, if you're going to have injury, you'll most likely bring out like some form of CSI. Again, kind of depends on the scene. But
Mhm.
if there's tire tracks that you can see, the CSI people or detectives might come out because they can at least take much better photographs of that with
Okay.
scale. So that way we can go back later on and have those tire tracks examined.
So would then those be the people, are detectives or CSI people trained in like detective or in like tire tracks and
There
like looking at
Sometimes.
things and
sometimes
comparing stuff?
there will
Like,
be
Yeah.
two different types. So you'll have, in the world of detectives, you'll usually get some of that training in addition to you being a cop and knowing
Mhm.
criminals usually do this, or
yeah.
whatever. Sometimes detectives also are kind of trained in that area a little bit, but we'll have what are called evidence techs, and those are what people usually confuse at a cop shows and stuff, because in every cop show ever, detectives also go over to these to these things, and they process all this stuff, and they do all these things, and take it back to the lab, and they process it, and they look at the data, and they go, oh yeah, okay, this is what happened, and they go out and they investigate. And that's not usually how that happens. Usually you have evidence techs who are specifically trained for, and this is their whole job, is to do
Mhm.
crime scene stuff.
Well,
So are
there's
they CSI?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay,
they're
they're the
usually
CSI
civilians.
people.
and there is some overlap
Yeah,
because CSI and at least at our agency, I can't speak for every agency, obviously, because there's going to be differences in
yeah,
how different teams operate. But like for our agency, there is a lot of overlap between like what the detectives do and then what the evidence technicians do.
Hmm.
But a lot of what like our evidence techs are a huge help to us because when we're doing detective-y things, a lot of what that involves is going and actually face-to-face interacting with people, saying, "Hey, what did you see? What did you hear? Yeah, I noticed you live across the street and you have a doorbell camera. Did that catch anything that we can look at?"
That's your phone.
Oh, my bad. Um, and doing more of the face-to-face stuff, and then while we're doing that, we can have our evidence techs in the background working on like getting these tire
yeah,
impressions, getting the really good photos, kind of booking stuff in, and if we have anything at this scene, not sure if we're doing this in this fictitious scenario, but like, hey, maybe the patrol guys showed up and they're like, hey, yeah, there's a bunch of property damage, there's tire tracks, and I think there might be a little bit of blood over here on the ground, which is kind of weird.
yeah,
Well, evidence techs are fantastic to have for stuff like that because they can document that super well. They can take samples of it. They can do all that.
yeah.
So there's some overlap,
Nice.
but yeah, they're very useful
Okay.
for
Yeah.
us.
So
Okay.
sometimes you will have detectives that are cross trained in that, and they do dabble in it, and they do help with that. But again,
Hmm.
depending on your agency, especially if you're a big one, like, they have people that's their full
Oh
time
yeah,
job. So a
and
detective is not necessarily going to be the one out there getting blood. So that doesn't mean
I
they
see.
can't.
Hmm.
yeah,
But
well, and a lot of that's going to be based on funding.
yeah,
So like if you're a very small agency for a very small community, you probably can't afford a CSI team.
yeah,
So I mean, some agencies you can't really afford detectives. So like you just have
hmm,
a basic cop who kind of has to do it all,
yeah,
unless they
Yeah.
call for mutual aid from
yeah.
another
Like
agency.
with us, we're fortunate enough that we do have uh, our own little CSI team, and
Nice.
so
Good.
Yeah.
I dabble with it. Well, actually, every one of us is cross trained, except for the person who's actually supposed to be an evidence tech. The other two of us are cross trained to go out there and deal with it.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, but in this scenario, it's not a cool enough scene for us to really have tire impressions. There's not blood. It's not big enough for us to warrant something like that. It is just your normal. Clearly, something ran into this building, and now it's gone. No one else is
Yeah.
injured. Whatever. So the officer goes out, takes photographs, talks to witnesses. Witnesses didn't see nothing, so he goes, "Okay, cool, goes back to the office, writes up his report, and it'll be a lengthier document that has date and time of the incident, the 911 recording. It'll have who all lives at that house, the address of the house. If they had a suspect vehicle at the time, they'll list it. In this scenario, we do not, so it just says, "Hey, I was dispatched here for this reason. I show up. There's extensive damage to this location. There were no injured. No one saw anything, heard anything. The end. Here you go." It goes to the Criminal Investigations Division. From there, as a detective, this is where Fithin and I will hop in. We'll get this case on our desk. And the first thing you go is you look over it and say, okay, well, did the officer give me everything that I need? Are we missing anything? Cool. And then you go back and you're like, all right, I'm going to now go talk to all of the neighbors if they didn't go talk to the neighbors. It depends on how busy you are.
Mm-hmm.
Some patrol cops try to help out CID as best they can, and then others they don't. But then also some of that's going to be depending on how busy you are. Because if you get
Yeah.
done doing with this and you have like 4
Other calls
pending
pending, yeah.
domestics, you're not gonna go fucking
No.
be
So
like
yeah, you take on cases based off of
priority. Well, for us, it's priority
Priority.
because we have patrol will work most of the misdemeanors if they can. We're major crimes essentially.
I see. So what
Yeah,
you
so
in your particular agency, you guys work major crimes, and
Yeah,
so if this guy runs into a building, no one's hurt, he runs off and
yeah.
we
stuff like
wouldn't
that.
Well,
necessarily deal
and
with
And
it.
depending on y'all's workload, if y'all
Yeah,
have like, hey, there's a murder over here and a rape over here and something like that, those cases are going to be
or
worked on
higher
first
priority. Yeah,
before you even get
yeah.
to
yeah.
This
Well,
scenario
yeah
would
that
most likely
scenario.
stay at the patrol level for
most
And so
us.
likely.
would you guys just kind of tell the
Well,
patrol, hey, this is what you
Yeah,
need to do,
we
this is
just
what
yeah.
guide them
go
if they
ask
So,
have
these
like,
questions,
questions.
and
like
Yeah,
for the sake of like showing like where like how a case would actually be pushed, though. Let's say that like here, and when we talk about like major crimes, like really at our agency, all that's meaning is anything felony. So it's not always um like a really bad sexual assault or child sexual assault or aggravated assault, stabbing, shooting, whatever. Sometimes you can have a felony property damage, which is what this would likely be. But let's say, like for the sake of example, that um, in this scenario, this case ends up on the investigations division desk, and then we go out and we talk to some neighbors. Someone does have a doorbell camera that caught the whole thing on tape,
hmm
and we get a vehicle description, we get a license plate, leads us to a registered owner who we end up talking to, and let's say that we do an interview with them and they end up confessing, yeah, hey, I was super drunk that night and I veered off the road and I took out the shed.
yeah,
Okay, cool. Well, we're just gonna, for the sake of easy numbers, we're gonna say they did $5,000 of damage to the property. So what is going to happen at our agency is like with our shucks, like our actual paper file, we are going to one write up a report and say, hey, this day, this time, we went out, we talked to these people, we learned this information. It led us to this guy. We talked to him. He confessed to this. So based on that, we're going to be filing a criminal mischief charge for this amount of damage. And then there's certain paperwork, certain forms that we have to fill out, um, that is like our actual legal document saying that, hey, I'm a peace officer and I am like officially accusing this person of committing this crime. And then we're going to send that, since it's a felony, all of the felony cases will go to the district attorney.
okay.
And then all the misdemeanor cases go to the county attorney. But this one being a felony, it's going to go to the district attorney. So basically, I would fill out paperwork from the district attorney's office to send to their office. And then the district attorney's office is going to get that case once we submit everything and be like, okay, hey, the sheriff's office, they worked this case. Here's the report. This is the information. This is what happened. And then eventually they're going to take that to court and subpoena people and have people come testify if they need to
yeah.
do that. And
Here in Texas, I mean, I'm sure most of the U.S. operates that way, but one other thing that'll happen, at least on the district level, that's also felony level, is that they'll get that whole case and they present that case to a grand jury. And a grand jury is a panel of normal civilians that get summoned
yeah.
to participate on a grand jury, and they bring all the facts of that case that we have because we're legally required to turn all that over
Hmm.
whenever it goes to the district or county offices. Anyways, they get that entire case file, all our videos, photos, evidence, reports, all that kind of stuff, and then it is then the grand jury's job at that point, since they are uninvolved third party, They go in there and look at our case file and they go, yeah, we believe based on what we have here that you do have enough to criminally charge this person with this offense.
Oh, okay. So
It
that's
does not
that's
mean
what the grand jury does.
yes, it does not mean
Yeah.
that they are convicted. It just means that a jury of normal people found that law enforcement has enough that meets the standards of like this offense.
Probable cause.
Yeah,
for,
probable cause for an arrest or to file this charge, whatever. They have enough to file this case against
Mhm.
this person, and it goes to
Yeah.
court.
Is that true for
Base-
all felony
All
cases?
felony
They
cases.
have to
Yeah,
go
so-
through a
Yes.
grand jury.
Basically, the grand juries, like in summary, their job is they're reviewing cases and then they're deciding whether or not to indict the
Yeah.
person being charged. And an indictment just means that basically, like, hey, the person's being charged with this crime and they were indicted, which means that it is going to go to trial, or
Yeah.
it's going to go to the next step of determining whether or not in a court of law they are guilty or innocent.
Yeah,
That's a lot of steps.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
steps.
Does it?
Yeah.
So that's district attorney. A county attorney deals with misdemeanors. That
Mhm.
those don't do.
They don't
They
have
don't
a
grand
a
juries
grand
or
jury.
anything. It's just
for
goes
that.
straight to
Goes to court. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm,
It just
yeah,
goes straight to
A
and
court.
misdemeanor would be like
attorneys-
vandalism.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
They're just
there's
little things.
misdemeanor vandalism and felony vandalism. That's
Oh, okay. I see.
in
I see.
Texas we have what we call the punishment ladder, and
Mhm.
basically up to a certain dollar amount, it's a misdemeanor, and then past that, it's a felony.
Like as in damages.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
So,
and
like-
that's the same for theft as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like depends on the.
It's
criminal
the difference
thing.
of like theft is a good example. Like
Yeah.
if you go into a convenience store and steal a Snickers bar, that's not a felony. But if you break into a business that'd be a burglary. Let's say you go into a convenience store and you
You-
steal
that candy
everything
bar.
in there.
Well, you steal that candy bar,
Mhm.
and then you also punch the old lady working the register because she tried to stop you from stealing the candy
Well, then
bar.
it'd be robbery.
Yeah, exactly. But then it turns into a felony.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
But like, I guess what I'm
You
trying to say is
steal.
like
It's
felony
amount of
theft.
amount
like,
of amount of
if you
stuff
steal a
steal.
car, yeah. If
Versus
you
a
steal
candy bar.
car, that's a felony. If you steal a candy bar, that's a misdemeanor.
Because of the
level of-
amount.
yeah.
The car is worth more than the candy bar.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what Flores is talking about is like, yeah, the penalty ladder is based a lot of times with certain offenses on monetary value. So how much damage did you do, money wise, is going to determine if it's a misdemeanor or a felony.
And that's
so-
going to determine whether it goes to the DA or the
Or the
CA.
CA.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Okay.
Yep. Basically. So yeah, there's that. But the grand jury kind of acts as like a
buffer.
like a safety almost.
Yeah.
So like
Like, hey, this is a felony. You better really make sure. They're
Yeah.
the ones who
Mhm.
really make sure that it's
Yeah.
it's good
Yeah.
to go to court.
Yeah,
and
they
it's
And these are normal citizens.
yeah, they're normal. So it's like
Yeah.
it's no different than when you get that annoying letter in the mail saying, "Hey, you have jury duty."
Yeah.
This is that, but for grand
For
jury.
grand
So
jury.
how do you get picked to be on a
Random.
It's
grand
the
jury?
exact
Is it the same
as-
process?
yeah,
Yeah.
you get a letter one day and it says, "Congratulations, you're part of the grand jury. Get your fucking ass up here." And
Okay,
then you show
gotcha.
up. The difference in this is that on a grand jury, again, you are not determining guilt or innocence. You just merely look and see if you have enough to indict
an
someone
indict,
or to
yeah.
adjudicate. And so I guess that's something we should also explain. That's how you will get those headlines that say, like, we just experienced this in America. That's how you will get the who's the fucking rapper that everyone's
He did he?
Oh, Diddy.
Diddy, yeah, thank you. That's how you get the headlines that says Diddy acquitted
Diddy
on all
acquitted.
charges. Acquitted means that they found that there was not enough evidence to charge and then go to trial. So he gets off essentially.
Was he acquitted?
Yeah, he was acquitted on most everything. He was indicted on one charge out of everything they
Which
had him
charge?
on. I think it was to do with prostitution.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they were.
Yeah,
oh,
I think
I'm
they
surprised.
got him on like transportation.
Yeah, that's what it was.
to-
Something to do basically with like
Okay.
And
I guess that's
I
a
don't know
story.
what
That's
state
a
that
that's
was
a
in.
conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But
I haven't been following it, but
That was the
I
They
had
had
my-
like a whole list of
Yes.
stuff.
yeah. I
that
had
was
my-
yeah.
But the grand jury had already decided that that's going to court, and then the court decided
I don't know. I
he's
haven't
been acquitted,
I haven't
Yeah.
or did
been
the grand jury
following
decide
that
this
case
is
at
not
all.
Well,
enough?
so then this is how it'll look on the detective side. But I just kind of wanted to explain that so people aren't confused. Acquitted means basically in layman's terms, like we're not going to take this to trial. You get
Gotcha.
off.
So he didn't even
Indicted.
go to trial.
Well, he's indicted
On
on
certain
one
charges.
One
count.
thing. Okay,
yeah.
that's the
so
only thing.
so in this scenario, they filed 20 charges, let's say.
Yeah.
But if 19 of those charges
Are acquitted.
then congrats, you don't go to court for those 19. But you will, because he's indicted on one, you will go to court for that one
Gotcha.
charge.
Okay.
So, but anyways, the grand jury will say, yeah, we're going to indict this person. They have enough evidence. And then from there, that's when you get into the whole, hey, we're going to schedule a court date. Congratulations, you've been selected to be on the jury for this actual trial. And
Mhm.
that's where you do the further,
the guilt or innocence
innocence thing and all that
determination,
kind of stuff. There's a lot of steps that go involved to getting to a criminal case where you actually sit in a courtroom
Mm-hmm.
and have to testify, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen to get to that point.
So,
Yeah.
as detectives,
Mhm.
y'all's job, let's take this guy who ran into this detached garage.
Right.
And the deputy comes in, does the initial kind of report, gives a report to you guys. You guys decide if you need more information or if it's good. And if you need more information, you can decide to send the deputy out to do it or you can do it yourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
go ahead.
I think we're gonna say the same
Yeah.
thing. We generally do not try and send deputies out to go get
Yeah,
more.
they
Like
have
a
other
lot of agencies will do that,
things to
but
do.
yeah, patrol is like and I don't say this just to butter up patrol. The patrol division is the backbone of law enforcement. So like when people call 911 and they have an emergency and they're like, "Hey, I need help now," that's patrol that's showing up. So like we don't like to tie up our patrol guys on like, "Hey, can you go back and like talk to this guy or go see if
I
you can
see.
find this
Yeah.
video?" So like we like to do our own legwork in our division, and
Yeah.
like we'll just go take care of that.
Okay.
But we do have like, and like Flores mentioned earlier, like if the patrol guys that show up to this call at that time are not super busy, they don't have a bunch of other pending calls. There are some rock star patrol cops out there that'll be like, well, like I don't have anything else pending, so like I'm basically just gonna work this investigation. They'll go
Yeah.
talk to
So
everyone.
they're allowed to do that.
They
Oh,
can
yeah.
if they want.
Deputies,
Depends
patrol
on
guys are allowed to. It depends on
If
the
they need
Depends on
something
what's going on.
specialized that requires some specialized training, then they're gonna call for CID.
But for
most
this
likely.
particular situation,
Yeah.
Yeah,
if
if
a
they-
rock star deputy could go out and be like, you know
Yeah.
what,
I'm just
the
gonna work
CID is
this.
really busy.
Yeah.
They're doing stuff. I'm just going to work this
Yeah.
for them.
Yes,
They
yeah.
can.
I didn't know they were allowed to do that.
They
Oh, yeah.
can. Of course, it depends on what's going on. Because
Mhm.
if they just decide I'm
Yeah.
gonna work this sexual assault,
Yeah,
then
no, we
people might be
generally-
like, nah,
Probably
Yeah,
need some
maybe some-
specialized training to do
Yeah.
that properly.
Sure.
But something like this scenario,
Yes, yeah.
like it wouldn't surprise me. We have a lot of rock star dudes that work at our agency that this scenario that we're talking about seems like something pretty realistic that we might get.
Yeah.
And if I looked at it and was like, man, Deputy so and so did everything that we need on this, like we may honestly just kind of button it up as is and end up submitting that to the grand jury
Yeah,
just
and we
based on
don't-
what the deputy did.
Yeah. And we don't
Um,
necessarily because sometimes he's exactly right. They do everything and there's really nothing for us to do.
Okay.
Mhm.
So then at that point we do the next part of our job, which is more of like a case management role.
Yeah.
So we look at the whole case and we go, all right, he did everything and worked it. So that's great. That's not more cases for me to have to deal with. But yep, he has everything. He's done everything that he needed to do. All the paperwork's in order. Good. There is no need for me to come in and say, I, Kylie Flores, did all these things and now I'm gonna file this. No, he already did all that stuff. So then
Yeah.
you just send it up for him and you don't even really attach
Yeah,
your name
we,
to it
we
at all.
basically fill out paperwork saying that
Yeah.
like, hey, I detective so and so reviewed this, and
Yeah.
I believe probable cause exists for the charges, so it's being submitted.
Yeah, basically you just kind of give it that final blessing
Yeah.
and send it on its
And
way.
send it to the CA or the
Yeah,
DA,
so
whichever one.
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
that's another thing that can happen. But yeah, we don't usually like to. The only time you will see that, and you as a normal person are never going to know that, is if the next thing that comes into play is if you have that deputy that perhaps didn't do a good job of documenting some things, or maybe didn't do a good job in general. Yeah, then the next part of our job is to be like, hey, you were supposed to do all these things and you didn't do it, or you might need to go get some clarification. So it just depends. Like sometimes it's not always necessarily a lazy deputy didn't do their job.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's like they didn't think about something
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
whatever. So there might be times where us will be like, hey, go back and do this thing or something like that. But for the most part, we don't really have to do that. In fact, to like what he was saying, I think yesterday. Yeah, yesterday I got a phone call from a sergeant that was on patrol, and he's dealing with something that realistically he could just be like, "Nah, this is not my fucking circus, not my rodeo. Send it to us," and then he can just tell the victims from now on, "Hey, stop calling me," because of course they keep calling him and asking him stuff. But he calls me and says, "Hey, I've got this scenario. What do you want me to do? What should I tell him?" And then in that role, he's handling everything. He could punt it to me, so we act more as like an advisor at that point. Like, all right, make sure we get this done and tell them this and tell them that. And then he goes, okay, cool. And then he's going off and doing it on his own. So
Mhm.
kudos to him. He's fantastic. But that's one less thing for us to deal with because he's dealing with it. And all he does is just like, I want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Does it happen this way or this way? And that's pretty much it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then y'all can determine if y'all wanted to just say, hey, thanks for trying to do this, but I'll
Mhm.
take it over from here.
Yeah.
That's perfectly cool
yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. And sometimes like that will happen where, um, well, like a sexual assault. Like
Yeah.
unfortunately we see that a lot. And those are oftentimes very complex offenses that have a lot of like history to them. and there's a lot of specialized training you can get to work stuff like that. So, sometimes we'll have some really gung ho deputies who respond to the initial call, where basically the call will start out as like, hey, there's some lady that's calling the sheriff's office, and she doesn't really want to talk about the problem that much over the phone, but she's saying that something bad happened to her daughter, and that's all she's saying on the phone. So they'll send patrol to go check it out. Patrol deputy will get out there, say, hey, what's going on? And then the lady's saying, hey, like my boyfriend uh, sexually assaulted my daughter last night, and blah, 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 blah. And we have a good hearted professional deputy there that wants to help address the situation, wants to be super involved, which is great. It's fantastic. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But sometimes, occasionally, you might need to pop in from the CID side and be like, hey, um, totally cool that like you want to help and everything. In fact, we want you to help, but like just for the overall integrity of the case, I guess, and just for efficiency's sake, let us hop in and help you with this part. Let us help in and do this part for you, and like you're welcome to sit in on it and everything. But
Yeah.
like sometimes it's better to have someone that is specifically trained for a certain element of the investigation to handle that certain
especially for
element.
something
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
Something
big
like
as
that.
like
Like
Yeah,
sexual assault or
Yeah, you
yeah.
can't leave that stuff to you can't just wing that
what
stuff,
about
I guess is
like
what I'm saying.
domestic violence? Do you guys have
No.
like a lot of
No.
cases with that, or
No. So
how
that
did that does that
about
work?
the only time that'll come to us is if it turns into like it's a really big domestic.
Like an aggravated
Like
assault
someone
Yeah,
type
like
almost
thing.
someone
died,
got
kind of thing.
stabbed or
Oh,
shot.
I see.
Mhm.
Maybe they died or didn't die, which of that because it's a murder if they died.
Mhm.
But you know what I
Mhm.
mean. It's got to get really out of hand for them to call us out to go deal with it,
Do
and
y'all
that's
review
good.
like if a deputy goes out for domestic abuse, wife calls the police, says, "Hey, my husband's hitting me." He goes over there. He is in fact hitting her or
Mhm.
doing something,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
it's not like it's just kind of like a
We review
Yeah.
those cases because they'll be felonies most often time if they're injuries and stuff plus family violence. Like we will review it and send it up. Like I'll give you a good example.
okay.
Not too long ago, I got a case on my desk, uh, and basically it was your standard go to this house, or well, patrol got dispatched to a house for a domestic in progress. They show up. Boyfriend had left the house before they got there. Girlfriend is there, and she says, "Hey, this is what happened." She does have visible injuries on her, so they took photographs of her, and that like they're okay to do that. We give them department issued cameras for that reason. So they took photographs of her injuries. They get her side of the story. Boyfriend left, so there's he's gone. He's not there right there. You can't interview him, all that kind of stuff. There's no other witnesses there. It was just allegedly those two people. There's no cameras because they were inside, whatever. But she claims in this incident that she got strangled. So they're like, okay. And this is the one thing that I had to advise them on later on because, and this is what I'm saying, it's not necessarily like neglect. You just didn't think about it. So there's a thing called petechia, which I can't remember if we talked about it before or not.
I don't know that we have, but
Well,
we can go ahead and explain it
yeah.
again.
So when you get strangled, petechia is a really good indicator that strangulation has occurred. And basically, what petechia is if you get strangled, the blood vessels in your body, specifically around like the eyes, the lips, very like sensitive areas of the face, they will oftentimes burst. Very prevalent inside the whites of your eyes. But when those burst, that's how it's a really good indicator. That's, hard evidence right there that you have actually been strangled and oxygen was deprived of you and all that kind of stuff. So this deputy is a little more experienced than like your normal deputy. He's been a cop for maybe like 2 years now. So he's starting to figure it out.
Mhm.
He's well on his way to doing, FTO stuff someday or corporal, whatever. So he's trying to be a rock star deputy, cover all the bases, think outside the box. But anyways, he knows petechia is a thing. This lady is saying that she's been strangled, so he already knows, like, okay, I'll take pictures of the eyes. So he took pictures of her eyes while they're there, and they're red, but she's crying, so you don't see too much anything right there. You just think, oh, okay, whatever. But so he takes pictures of her eyes. He goes away, and then later on, they try to find the boyfriend and talk to him. Of course, they can't reach him, so like, okay, we're going to file these charges on him based on the fact that she has real injuries and that she's saying that this has happened. We have no reason to believe that it has not happened, and we'll just go to court and see what his side of the story is essentially. So they give the case to me, and I'm reviewing it just to be like, okay, cool, you have everything you need. But I asked them, did you guys take follow up photographs of her injuries? And they're like, oh, well, no. why. She only had a couple of like red marks around the neck and scratches and stuff. And so I told him, I was like, well, sometimes those red marks can turn into bruises, which would be great evidence. But mainly, petechia can begin up to 72 hours after the initial strangulation.
Oh.
So usually when you're dealing with strangulation victims, right there in that moment when it just happened, they won't have petechia. Now, sometimes if it's a badass case of strangulation, they will.
Yeah.
But that doesn't always happen. So that's why within 72 hours, you go back, and then that's when you get those gnarly pictures of the whites. The eyes are completely red.
Bloodshot,
Yeah,
complete eyes. Yeah.
completely red, like there's blood in your eyeball, because that's petechia. So, anyways, I told him that. He's like, oh shit. Like, he's like, I knew that petechia was a thing, but I didn't think that it could take like up to 3 days to manifest. And so I was like, yeah, I mean, you like, he didn't fuck up. He knew what he was trying to do.
Mhm.
He just didn't realize like, hey, follow up photos might be helpful in this scenario because she probably had petechia. But anyways, you get the idea. So that was
Yeah.
that one thing that I was like, hey, pro tip for next time: try to follow up with her 3 days after and get follow up photographs of that.
And
of
that's
that
just
injury.
something you kind of.
Yeah, and that's
you
something you
learn.
learn in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's all that to say. Like, that's kind of a hopefully shed some light on like what catching a case actually looks like on the cop side of things. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, there actually is a physical like paper case that gets put together with a report that gets printed out and documented evidence forms and charge forms and all that. Well, it all gets compiled together into like a packet, and then it goes to the attorney's office. And as previously discussed, it might go to a grand jury to review, and ultimately it'll go to court. And then when you're in court and the attorneys are arguing about whether or not you're guilty or innocent, all the evidence that they're going to be pulling from to argue over comes from that packet, comes from our investigation.
So I'm raising my hand.
Yeah, I see that.
Do you guys, and give me? I really feel like the outsider here.
Uh,
Do you guys? Does every single report of every single thing that the deputies have to do or patrol go through you guys?
No.
Okay.
No,
Which
so
ones?
Criminal cases.
yeah,
Only
so we
criminal
only
cases.
do in our division at our agency, we only do felony cases.
Yeah.
And occasionally we'll help with like a really complicated, weird misdemeanor matter. But by and large, like a patrol deputy that goes out and does cop work and everything, they're gonna do a report on everything they get, but that's getting reviewed by their sergeant, the
Oh, I
patrol
see.
sergeant.
Okay, so
Yeah.
not every report goes through you guys.
No.
Only the
Correct.
criminal.
Well,
Yeah.
not
Like-
just criminal, but like felonies.
So,
Okay.
well, yeah. So, if, like, for us,
Yeah.
it's even more.
It's more
Specific.
More filtered.
specific than that.
But like
yeah.
at maybe a bigger agency.
Then
Yeah,
Yeah,
so a
every-
bigger agency, like I know that there's very large agencies that
Yeah.
will have like different divisions for like specific types of crimes. We're like, hey, we're the robbery division. We just do robberies.
So
Yeah.
like, do they have like CID for robbery?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. They'll have
CID
like a
for
robbery desk
murder
Yeah.
and
for
CID.
their
Like-
CID.
Oh,
Yeah.
so every
Yeah.
robbery goes through. So
Mhm.
what happens with the robbery reports at your agency?
that goes to us.
Yeah, it goes to us. So
Okay,
robbery is
what-
a felony, and so it goes to us.
Okay, so
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
that's not a felony,
Doesn't
Yeah.
go to us.
where does it go to?
The sergeant.
Yeah,
Their
so
sergeant.
at our agency, the way it works, like some agencies are going to have a CID that does misdemeanors. Our agency does not have that. Our agency, we kind of utilize our patrol sergeants as misdemeanor detectives. So the patrol division, their sergeants will handle all the misdemeanors. Like I said, unless they're really complicated or there's some special circumstances, then they might need some additional help with. And the reason I say that is because sometimes, like, if you're a night shift sergeant or something like that, you may catch some kind of weird misdemeanor thing where it's like, hey, I really need to go follow up with this person and talk to them, but it's 3 in the morning right now, and I need to do this probably tomorrow in the morning, and I'm not going to be at work then. So that might get pushed to our agency's normal CID to go help out with that just
Yeah.
because of the hours.
Usually, they even ask like the day shift sergeants to take
Yes,
care
yeah,
of it. Though.
they do a really good job of that.
Yeah.
So give me an example of a misdemeanor.
Okay. So.
Someone's. Go
Oh,
ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. This would be the Walmart scenario of like your normal meth head that we deal with all the time goes into Walmart and steals a pair of Beats, which are we're gonna say $300.
Yeah.
He goes into Walmart, steals the Beats, and the AP catches him at the door. They call the cops. The street officer goes out there, sees him, is like, "Yep, okay, yep, saw the video. He absolutely stole these. Cool. I'm arresting you for
for misdemeanor
yeah,
theft.
for misdemeanor theft, which
Misdemeanor theft.
it's going to be theft greater than $100, less than 750, which is Class B misdemeanor in Texas. So, anyways, he'll arrest him for theft, goes to the jail, book him in, comes back. He sits down and types out his report. He labels all his body cam footage, pictures if he took them, all that kind of stuff, evidence if he had it. And then he attaches the arrest paperwork. He takes all of that stuff up, puts it in that shuck, that case file, gives it to the sergeant to approve, and then the sergeant does exactly what we do in CID and acts as a case manager at that point
I see.
because there's nothing for him to do. He
Mhm.
made the arrest, the case is solved, there's no other suspects, like nothing else needs to be done. So he looks over it to make sure the deputy did everything that was needed to do, and then he files that case and that's it.
He files it up
To the county attorney's
County
office.
attorney,
Yeah.
okay.
So it
Yeah.
just that's what happens. And then if you tweak that scenario just slightly and you make it to where the meth head got away, we did not arrest him. Then at that point, the deputy and the sergeant might go try to find him, whatever the hell. If they don't find him, then okay, the sergeant at that point will be like, "Hey, uh, we're gonna bless this. Like we're gonna file charges on this meth head," and then sends it up, and that's what happens.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that is another kind of interesting thing to point out is sometimes cases like kind of result in an arrest, and sometimes you can file a case without arresting anyone, and that's a good example of that. Is like, hey, we have this guy on video, we
Yeah.
have him identified, we have clear cut evidence that he committed this crime,
Yeah.
but he did get away before patrol got there. So that's whenever like people talk about catching a case, that this is where a warrant comes from,
Right.
where this goes to the attorney's office and everything, and there's probable cause that they committed this crime, but we don't actually have them in custody to answer to a judge for it or anything yet. So we'll issue a warrant for their arrest, and then usually patrol is going to go out and track this person down, locate them, and then
Yeah.
place them under arrest and book them in and all that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Our job can be real simple or real convoluted depending on what we're dealing with. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
you'll have simple things where this one, and we've had this happen, that's why I bring it up. You have simple thing that was a simple theft, but what enough that was stolen made it a felony. So he's dealing with it specifically. Enough evidence comes out that we figure out who it was, where they're at. So we get an arrest warrant for him, and then we look at his history and we're like, oh shit, we need to call out a SWAT team to go get this guy.
Yeah.
And then it turns into, well, I have this arrest warrant, I have the SWAT team, I also need a search warrant for all this other shit. So then it turns into more stuff, and then you get
Mhm.
in there, and then surprise, turns out he's not just involved in this one crime. There's a multitude of other things going on here. So
Yeah.
it
It
depends.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very difficult to be like,
Yeah.
well, this happens and then this happens because
Yep.
it's very, very dependent on what you're
Well,
dealing with.
And in that case, like a summary of it, like a little bit more detailed than the one you just gave was, yeah, we got a felony theft case one time. I ended up working it, got a suspect identified as like, yep, like I have probable cause that this person committed this theft. So they issued a warrant for his arrest. And then, like Flores was saying, we did do a criminal background check on him, and then found out he had a very lengthy criminal history and a very violent criminal history at that. And so there is there's a system that can be utilized. There's like a threat matrix that you can kind of run someone's criminal background through to determine if they are a high risk
If they're gonna fight back.
person. Well, that or flee or anything like that. But this one was interesting because the way that those threat matrices work is the one that we use. If a person scores like 35 risk points or higher, they're considered high risk, and that's actually justification to use like a tactical team or something like that to actually go affect the arrest of them because they're known to have guns, they're known to fight, they're known to
Flee.
flee, whatever. Well, this particular guy, mind you, 35 points or higher is high risk. He scored like a 120 something.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he
Oh.
had a
Yeah.
super lengthy criminal history out of the Houston area, where he was involved in organized crime,
Mhm.
has a
Piece of
history
shit.
of
Wow.
assaulting people, shooting at cops,
Yeah.
whatever. And so that was a good one. And so we ended up doing a tactical team like high risk arrest warrant service on him, and that was wild because we knew where he was. We had surveillance on him, and we knew the house he was in. He was actually in a duplex,
Mhm.
and I'll just tell this story real quick because it was funny. But we went to go get him, and so SWAT basically shows up outside the house, and we had his phone number, so we had a negotiator call him and basically say, "Hey, this is the sheriff's office. You have this warrant. We know your background. We know what you're all about. Um, so we would like you to just come out and surrender and get booked into jail." But he was trying to tell us like, "No, like I don't know what y'all are talking about. I'm not home right now." Well, we knew he was. We had just saw him go in the house. So we were like, "Okay, well, you need to come out or we're coming in." And it turned into a long story short, he had two guns, he had a rifle and a pistol, and he ended up running up into the attic of the house.
Oh yeah. Okay, it's the
Yeah,
attic.
it's
It's the
that one.
attic
You
guy.
already heard about this. Yeah, it's that one.
Yeah, he ran up into the attic to I don't know, try and get the high ground on us or something. So we were getting ready to deploy tear gas up in there to try and flush him out. And mind you, he's in a duplex, and so prior to this whole operation, we knew it was high risk. We had actually contacted the his neighbors that lived on the other side of the duplex and said, "Hey, this is the sheriff's office. This is what we're doing. Blah blah blah. We would like you guys to leave the house for a while and evacuate just for your own safety." And luckily, they were totally supportive and cool with that, and they're like, "Okay, no problem." So they were not home, which is good because he ran up in the attic and then he ended up breaking through the wall in the attic to get into his neighbor's attic. Again, trying to get away from us. And then while he was over on the other side of the duplex, he actually fell through the ceiling, which was hilarious because he fell through the ceiling over his neighbor's bedroom. And right underneath that ceiling was their bed. And he missed the bed by like 2 inches.
Oh, that
Fuck
sucks
'em.
sucks for him.
Yeah, he ended up getting caught. And then he fell through, and then his guns were still in the attic. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
sad day
It's
for him.
fortunate for you
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah.
he had no real way to fight at that point, and he was taken into custody.
Yeah.
But
So basically, the moral of the story is like it's shocking that the person with a lengthy criminal history for guns and fleeing had guns and tried to flee.
Yeah.
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
imagine
Yeah,
that.
Wow. So
yeah, so that was that was an interesting one.
yeah, but basically, depending on what we're dealing with and how convoluted it gets, it could require all these other steps. So
Mhm.
what we've
Just to get the guy.
just to get the guy, yeah. And then that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like now we all have. So what normally is in a best case scenario, you have like two people involved in a criminal case, officer wise. You'll have the initial responding officer, and then the person that's like checking the case to be like, "Yep, you're good." But in this one scenario, hell no, motherfuckers. You got the one deputy that took the case, and then you have the second deputy that got called, and someone was like, "I have additional info about this thing."
Mhm.
So then he dealt with it. Now you have fifth. Well, now you have 8 people from a SWAT team, and then all the
Yeah.
7 people doing perimeter in the area, and then you
Mhm.
have the evidence text that
So then,
You
by
got
the
drone
at the end of the
operators.
day, after end of all this,
Yeah.
you get the guy. You've got like a
Massive
huge
case report.
that you
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
guys, as CID,
Oh, yeah.
Well,
have to review and
Yeah.
have to make sure everything's
Yes.
covered.
Exactly. Yes.
So y'all can send it up to the
yeah,
DA.
because
Yeah.
and thinking about it, like just just the search warrant alone, you're gonna
Mhm.
spend hours there. So
Oh, yeah.
now you have probably at least 50 hours of body cam footage
Mhm.
that will go to court, is going to have to be processed and sent up there, all that kind of stuff. And then you have every one of those SWAT operators has to do a report on it.
Oh,
Mhm.
Every one of the evidence techs will have to do a report on it. We have
Yeah.
all these reports on
Well, and
evidence and what we took.
the nuts and bolts version of like the story that I just gave, like I didn't even talk at all about like the investigation of how we determined
Yeah.
he was the guy and we got the warrant
Yeah.
for him,
And that was something.
because that took a long time and there was a lot of
that was
work that we talked to a lot of meth heads about that. We went
Mhm.
around and there was lots of boots on the ground investigation before we even got enough probable cause to be like, hey, this is why we believe it's him. And then a judge actually agreed with us and was like, yeah, I'm going to sign an
yeah.
arrest
Because
warrant.
then
Yeah.
there's not only like you guys not only have to like
Mhm.
you guys have to review the case.
Yeah.
Then the DA or CA reviews the case. Then DA grand jury reviews the case. Then
Yeah.
the court reviews the case.
Mhm.
Lawyers review the case.
Yeah.
But then before all of that, if you have a warrant, the judge has to review to decide.
Yeah, because they have to sign
If
off on
Yeah.
whether
he
or
has
not
to
you can
sign
get
off
that
on the
warrant.
warrant, and
Yeah.
he has
Yeah.
to decide. You guys have to make sure
Mhm.
Yeah.
that you have to
Yeah.
convince the judge
Yeah.
that signing this
Yes.
Well, and
warrant is
that's-
justified.
Like
Mhm.
in today's
Oh,
world,
man.
It's a lot.
yeah, there's a lot of checks and balances, which is good. I mean, it's a good system the way it's set up. But in today's world, there's a lot of people that are quick to criticize law enforcement and be like, hey, they have unchecked power and they're fascists and they're just going around and stomping their boots on everyone's
There's-
neck whenever they feel like it. I'm like, no,
Y'all
they're-
have
Yeah.
check. Y'all get like almost like microscopically checked around every
Oh yeah,
turn.
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
and-
oh sorry, I didn't
Go
mean to
ahead.
cut you off. There's one thing that he's kind of getting at that we didn't even mention was that the grand jury exists specifically to make sure
Mhm.
that we're not just like
Abusing
maliciously
power
or
and
abusing our powers and authorities to file criminal charges on people.
Yeah.
That's why that grand jury comes together, and it's a jury of your peers to then look at what law enforcement has done and say, yeah, this
like,
is
that's reasonable.
this is
Yeah.
reasonable, and therefore it needs to go to court.
And another part of y'all's job, isn't it, to sometimes physically be there and present the case for
Yeah.
the grand jury?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. So
Yes.
whenever a grand jury is selected, they're going to subpoena a bunch of people in the community and they're going to say, hey, you've been selected to show up for a grand jury and serve as one of the grand jurors. And then there is a review process where they're going to evaluate these people and be like, hey, do you think you can be unbiased about these types of cases? Blah, blah, blah. Are you a racist?
Yeah,
Are
you fit to serve?
are you
Essentially.
fit to serve? Can you be unbiased? And they whittle it down and they're like, okay, these are our grand jurors and everything. Well, usually, so that grand jury, they don't do this. Like, there's not a new grand jury for every case. They're going to select a grand jury, and that grand jury is going to review several cases for, don't know what
I
the
think they-
term limit
I
is.
think it's like 2 or 3 months. It might be quarterly.
Oh, really? So
yeah.
if you're selected for a grand jury, you're
It's
going to
your
be
civic
gonna-
duty for
yeah.
like the
For, like,
next
2 or
couple
3
months.
months?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Oh.
way they do it in our neck of the woods is you're going to serve on that grand jury and you're going to show up like once a month for a while. And you're going to spend like a whole day from morning till like a full business day, basically,
Yeah.
hearing cases and
From
and deliberating and all
the
that.
whole district. It's
Wow.
not the sheriff. It's the sheriff's office, the police department, the other sheriff's office. Like
yeah, the
it's
Texas Rangers, like any
Yeah.
case that's coming through that district,
Yeah.
they're going to hear the felony cases.
Wow.
But all that to say, when a grand jury, like when there's a new group of them and like, hey, they just got selected, it's been explained to them what the grand jury does and what their job is and everything. Many of them, I would say almost all of them, are very like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and like, all right, let's review some
Yeah,
cases.
they're
Let's
excited. They're
yeah.
fucking chismosas. They're like, I'm gonna get to hear
Yeah.
about all of the dirty shit going on in my community, and this is what he's getting at.
Mhm.
You will get those ones that are like, I'm gonna be that juror that makes sure that this cop is not stupid,
Yeah.
is not corrupt. Like, I'm gonna get him tripped up on this thing, and I'm gonna ask the question that's relevant because I've been watching NCIS since I was
And
Mhm.
I
fucking
know everything.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you will get them in every fucking one of those grand juries, and it's probably going to be like half the grand jury. Some of them have probably already done it before, and they're just kind of like, oh, okay, I know what to do.
Okay, whatever.
But the rest of them, they all think that they're going to be like, I'm going to ask that one question that
Yeah.
makes a difference in this process.
Well, and sometimes you'll even get grand jurors that are almost like my perception when I'm presenting a case sometimes to a new jury is you'll have certain jurors that are almost like adversarial towards law
Oh yeah,
enforcement.
you will
where
get the
And how do those people get on the grand jury?
Well, I
Like,
mean, they select them and like they're saying, well, hey, even if you don't like cops, like, do you think you can be unbiased? And like,
yeah.
of course they're going to say
Of course
yes.
they're gonna be like,
well,
yes.
you're never. So that's one thing is like they do their best, like in theory, to be like this is an unbiased jury. There's really no such thing.
Yeah.
Every human on
Unbiased jury.
earth
Yeah.
has their own biases and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not going to be perfect, but you're trying to get it as close as you can. Like, hey, this is pretty reasonable, but everyone's going to have their biases. But sometimes when you're presenting a case, you will have that one grand jury member who, if I'm the detective and I'm like, hey, so like in this report, this day, this time, this happened, and then the cops did this, then we did that, and then we did this, and then we did that. And then based on all that, we believe this. Well, you might have someone challenge you and be like, well, how do you know that that's meth in their pocket, or how do you know
Yeah.
those weren't his pants? Like,
Yeah, they ask
well,
yeah, you're making that face, but that's the stupid fucking questions they
'cause
ask
I
us.
literally just presented everything to you, and
Yes,
you're still asking.
but
Well,
they're-
this is how I know.
Well,
I just told you how I know.
but see,
Yeah.
then they do shit that they really shouldn't be doing, and that's when the district attorney and the DA investigators come in and they're like, "Hey, you're not here to determine guilt or innocence.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
You're
see.
here, yeah." But they get that fucking confused because in their little brains they're thinking, "Yeah, I'm gonna decide whether or not this person's guilty or innocent. I'm
right
gonna figure out
now.
exactly." So they get it a little
they get
twisted.
reminded.
Yes, but then they do shit like that. We're like, well, how do you know they're not? I don't care, even if they are his friend's pants. He's in possession of that meth.
Yeah.
If I'm wearing a motherfucking pair of pants, I know what's in my fucking pair of pants.
And that should be enough for the
Yeah,
grand jury to
exactly,
say
'cause-
that's
Yeah.
enough to at least go to court.
Wait,
they're not
'cause-
even
yes,
they're
because
not even
when
deciding
you're-
guilt or
Yeah.
innocence.
Exactly, because in that context, you're looking at, hey, the criminal charge is possession of a controlled substance, PG1. We're gonna say it's meth,
Yeah.
PG1. Okay, what is the elements of the offense for possession? Well, a person has to fucking possess narcotics.
on their
On
person.
on
So,
their
on their
person.
person,
Or
so-
within their immediate
within their
reach.
immediate reach.
Yeah.
Clearly, in this scenario, this guy's wearing this pair of pants. The meth is in the pants. He's possessing it. He even knew that it was there because then he's like,
Mhm.
"Well, that's not mine. That's my friend's," or you know what I mean? Or he
Mhm.
says something. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Well, you get that a lot. Like, I'm just holding it for my
I'm just
buddy.
holding it for my butt. Yeah,
Okay, well, you're in
you'd be
possession of it.
amazed. Yeah,
Like,
you'd be amazed at how long they fucking or how many times they say that. But
yeah.
anyways, you get the idea. That's it. That's the element of the offense. You're not here to determine guilt or innocence. In court, I guarantee you the defense attorney will be like, "This really was his friend's pair of pants. Look at these text
Yeah,
messages."
but you get grand jury members who are trying to act like
Exactly.
lawyers
Yeah,
Exactly.
in
yeah.
defense.
And
Yeah.
the DA, the district attorney will kind of correct them on that and be like, "Hey, remember what your job is. You know, you're not
Yeah.
here to decide that." So, but you'll get that a lot of times with like in my experience with a new jury, where if they're not like outright adversarial, excuse me, towards law enforcement, they will have a lot more questions. And to their credit, I actually respect it because they do want to make sure that the cops in their community are doing a good job and are doing things the way they're supposed to, which is great. It's kind of annoying sometimes. Like I had a lady one time. I was giving a case on. There was an interdiction stop that one of our deputies made where they pulled a car over on the highway, go up and they do interdiction tactics, which I won't get into right now, but they end up finding a sizable amount of illegal narcotics in the vehicle. Person gets arrested for that. Okay, great. Well, I present that whole case, all the facts and everything, and the whole grand jury is pretty good with it and everything. It doesn't seem like they have any questions, but I'm asking, hey, does anyone have any questions? And this one older lady just kind of raises her hand. I'm like, yes, ma'am. And she's like, yeah, but like, which way was the car facing when it was stopped? I'm
Yeah.
like, that literally does not matter, but west. Like, as
Yeah.
if it was like, well, if it was facing east, it's actually not illegal.
Yeah.
They'll ask weird questions like that. It's very strange.
They do stupid shit. But yeah, what he's getting at, a new grand jury, you're immediately walking because the DA's office will be like, "Hey, this is a new grand jury," because you're gonna have to tackle it differently if it's a new
Hmm.
one, and that's what we're getting into. When
Yeah.
you know and you're like, "Fuck, this is a new grand jury," you're like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna be here forever," because they're gonna ask me
Lots of
stupid
questions.
Because
questions.
essentially you're trying to teach them what the law
Yes, exactly,
is.
because you're gonna have to
Yeah,
remind
and
them
the
every
DA
time.
does a good job of
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, we do that too, but like that is her whole job. I say her, him, her, whatever the hell. It's their job to sit in there and be like, "Hey, what
Hmm.
Fithen said, that's not what you're here for. You're here for this thing. Stay on track. Whatever the hell." Like it takes them a little bit of time to learn. And to
Yeah.
be fair, I prior to being in law enforcement, I wouldn't fucking know what the hell a
Yeah.
goddamn
Yeah,
grand
yeah,
jury
and
does.
a lot of the questions, like the one on like which way is the car facing, I always remember that because it was just like it had like literally no bearing on the case whatsoever. It was like not
Yeah,
relevant. But a lot of times they do ask questions that like the detective presenting the case may be like very seasoned with this. And like, yes, obviously possession of meth is illegal, but that's a bad example. But sometimes you're presenting something and like a person on the grand jury may really not understand like
yeah,
the elements of that offense or whatever. And so they have some good questions, not just dumb questions, but to kind of segue into like what we're getting at on that is once that's like a newer grand jury,
hmm,
once they're more seasoned and like now they've been presented with dozens and dozens and dozens of felony cases over the time that they've been serving on that grand jury. Once you have a more seasoned grand jury, they actually start to, in my experience, like what I've experienced with like presenting to them, they start to actually like act and behave a lot more like cops.
yeah. They're
Where like
very similar.
Really?
you kind
How
of
Yeah,
so?
present this and you're like, hey, this day, this time, this happened. These are the facts of the case. Blah blah blah. Any questions? And they're like, nope,
yeah.
indicted.
And my
Like,
favorite, yeah, you'll
Yeah.
go, and that's just happened to me at one I presented the other day. I walked up there and I'm like, "Hey, this is basically what happens." So I tell them, "You do the speech, you got to get sworn in, you got to whatever, you do all the shit." So I tell them what happened, and they go, "Yeah, okay. Can we see the video?" Because it was a escape and it was a fight and all this other shit.
Yeah.
So they pull up the video and they all watch it and they're like, "Yeah, that guy's retarded." And so it's like, "Okay, does anyone have any questions?" And the grand jury's like, "No, you
no.
goodbye." But like in a normal context, you get a new one, they might be like, "Well, has the officer ever been trained in defensive tactics?" And you're like, "What are you, a fucking defense attorney?"
Yeah.
One, yes. Two, shut up. Like fucking.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you think like new jury members ask questions just so because they want to
they want to be. I
sound
think sometimes,
Yeah,
like
it
yeah,
they
depends
know
on the
things?
yeah, it
person.
depends on the
Yeah.
person. There's definitely going to be some of that. I do think some of it too is people just wanting to. Like, some of it's going to be chismosas too that just want to
Hmm.
know. Like they want to know as much as possible about
Well,
something.
that's
Yeah.
happened before too. I was presenting a case one time, and
Yes.
the DA will do a good job about like in our area that we work in. It's a smaller community, and so a lot of times, if we're about to present a case that involves JoJo here, who's the suspect, the DA is going to ask before we present the case. Going to ask the grand jury like, does anyone know JoJo? Is anyone friends with him? Is anyone a family member of his? And you might have someone on the grand jury that's like, Yeah, like I actually do know him. I went to school with him a long time ago. And so the DA is going to be like, okay, well, do you believe you can be unbiased in this matter? Or are you going to take JoJo's side no matter what? And they're like, no, I can be unbiased. I'm like, okay, moving on. But you will have that sometimes where like you're presenting something and then you mention a suspect's name and then someone in the grand jury is like, is that so-and-so's brother? And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not what we're here for.
Yeah, does
Oh my gosh.
yeah, they do some weird off the
Yeah.
wall shit.
Like, was he married to? I don't know.
I
That's not
don't
why we're
know,
here.
and I
Like,
don't care.
I
But
think
yes,
it's crazy. I think jury selection. I've never been on a jury. I've been called to jury duty, went through the whole thing, and I
Mhm.
wasn't selected for one reason or another.
mhm.
And I probably won't be ever. I won't.
Nah,
I
you
won't be on
probably
a
won't.
jury ever now because I'm married to a cop.
Yeah, you
But
probably never will.
Yeah.
woohoo. But
I
so
want to.
yeah, I would like to just the experience. But my mom's
Yeah,
been on a
It is
few.
cool.
My mom's been on a few, and she said they were listening to a sexual assault case,
Mhm.
and they went back into the room to deliberate. And as soon as the door closed, one of the jury members' first thing she said was, "He's guilty because I was sexually assaulted, and all men are
Yeah.
guilty." And I
Yeah.
thought
Mm-hmm.
my mom was like, "How did you get onto this
Yeah.
jury?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you
There's
were the
no.
most biased person. Like you were the last person who
Yeah.
needs to be making a decision."
Exactly. But I
Yeah.
mean, and he's exactly right. He said it earlier. Like they're pretty much limited to a bunch of questions that they can ask during the selection process,
Mm-hmm.
and they try to weed them out as best you can.
You're never
There's
gonna get.
no, there's never going to be a
Yeah.
foolproof thing. It's not like they're sitting there just going through your Facebook. Like, in fact,
Yeah.
one
I almost
time,
feel like they should because
yeah, I
I mean,
kind
at
of feel
least
like
for
you
big
should.
crimes, like if you're gonna
Yes,
send
Oh, if
someone
it's a
to,
high
is it
They
possible that they
will.
could be in prison for
Yeah.
30 years?
If it's a
They need to
high,
be real
Yeah.
picky about who's gonna
Yeah.
be on the jury for
If it's a
that.
high profile case, they're going to be
Mhm.
more inclined to do that. Like I remember one. In fact, this guy stabbed an officer that in our area, and we kept waiting for this case to go to trial for a
Mhm.
long time, and it finally did one day. Well, all of us are standing because, of course, it involved multiple people from this agency. Plus, like one of our officers got fucking stabbed, so of course
Yeah.
we're all gonna be like, "Excuse fucking me, it better be the death penalty," kind of thing. So we're standing up there waiting for this case to well, it's going. They're in the court case. We should be going in there. The freaking officer that got stabbed is sitting there waiting to go. And there's a great big old commotion in the courtroom, and the DA's office comes out, and they're madder than shit. Well, the jury was tainted because somehow no one knew it. One of the members of the fucking jury was like a cousin or something. They just never mentioned it the whole
A
time.
cousin of the guy who stabbed the
Yeah,
officer.
they're
The
like a family,
suspect.
a family member or something. And see, like that's something that they know going. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's that juror. They were like, no, I'm just gonna not say
Mhm.
this because they know
Yeah.
what's
Well,
coming.
yeah, and like a lot of those questions too. Like, I mean, there's not very many people that are gonna openly admit to certain things, even if they're true. So if you're at a or if you're at whatever jury selection, and they're like, do you have any like biases or prejudices against people of this race? Well, like everyone's gonna be like, no, no, of course not. And then
Yeah,
naturally, you're gonna get some dude on the jury that doesn't like Mexicans. He doesn't like black people.
Yeah.
He doesn't like white people. Whatever. But there's like without sitting down and like doing an in-depth interview and like polygraphing people and
Yeah.
doing like all this scientific stuff, you're never gonna get it like
no.
perfect. Like
Have-
there's
have-
no such thing as a truly unbiased
Like
jury.
it already takes forever to get to the point where you go to court.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, they're not going to do that. And then yes, for big high profile ones, you might do some extra, but then you're kind of fucked because all right, you just lost 3 members of the jury because it
Mhm.
turns out they're on the internet saying shit like, kill all white people or kill all black people, whatever the
Yeah.
hell.
Mhm.
They're doing
Well, that's
weird
gonna
shit.
delay the prosecution
Yes,
of the
and then you
case.
have to find a whole other jury, which means
Mhm.
you have to send out more certified letters and then call everyone there again and go the whole like
review
that,
them again. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
This is not like
It's not a
it's
clean.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Have
not
you ever
simple.
seen the show Jury Duty?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. It's a mockument. You've seen it. Yeah. So
Shut up.
it's
You're
super
not a part of the podcast. It's okay.
we've it's super funny, but it's a fake jury and
Yeah.
everything's fake except for one guy who thinks the whole thing is real. And it's a documentary,
Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah.
And so he's been picked to be a part of this jury who's I forgot that word, that's they are separated from society.
Sequestered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't say. I remembered it. I just didn't want
Mhm.
to say it because I can't pronounce it. Um, Thanks. But anyway, and so it's only like one season, and at the end he finds out, and it's all a big deal. It's super funny. So everyone's an actor, but what's hilarious is the jury selection, like the first episode,
Uh-huh.
and you just got a bunch of extra actors in there who
Yeah.
are just there as just to be in the crowd, and then they don't get selected for jury duty. But one guy stands up and they're asking questions, and he immediately says, "Yeah, I hate all blacks and Jews," or something like that.
Yeah.
And everyone looks at him, And he gets super uncomfortable and he goes, oh, okay, no, I can't say, I don't hate blacks. And they're like, okay,
I just don't
you've
want to
been
be here.
selected. And
Yeah. Yep.
and it was just, it's super funny about the process and everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, which y'all are, it's
Yes.
kind of a little plug for that show, but I don't remember which streaming service it's on, but it's
Okay.
hilarious. Google
Well,
it.
thank you.
Super funny.
Apparently, I'll have to watch it later since.
Yeah, it's a really fast watch and it's
Okay.
pretty hilarious. And it's James Marsden plays himself.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
And he's really good at it. So I think he was actually nominated for an Emmy
Oh.
because of the way he played like just a crazy version of himself. It's
Okay.
pretty good. It's
Sweet.
pretty funny,
We'll give it a watch.
entertaining. But anyway, jury duty, being selected,
Yes.
It's
crazy process.
Yeah, and that's like we have spent. I don't even know how long it's been. Probably
Mhm.
an hour and a half or 2 hours. Like we've
Mhm.
already been talking about this for a minute, and this is just essentially to get a case from start to finish and what the civilians do in this process. You know what I mean? And this is we've already had a whole
Yeah.
topic, and we could go into depth on everything else.
Yeah,
About-
we're like scratching the surface of like what it means to catch a case.
Yeah,
But like I think
That's
we've shed
basically-
some light on it.
yeah, it's
like
basically it.
I'm married to a cop, a detective, and I didn't
Mhm.
even know all that stuff.
Well,
like,
yeah, there's a lot that goes
so
into
much
it. Like,
more.
It's a shit show.
it's not as simple as like what a lot of people make it out to be on like, oh, if this cop just doesn't like this person, then they file a case on them and they
Yeah.
tie them up in court for years, blah blah. No, there's so many checks and balances and evaluations and
Mhm.
presentations
You have
and
judges, you have other
Yeah.
detectives,
Oh,
you
yeah.
have society itself gets a chance
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
check your guys' work.
Before it ever,
Oh,
even
yeah.
Before it
sees the
ever
inside of
sees-
courtroom.
and that's
Yeah.
the way it should be. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the way it has to be, is so that because I mean, peace officers, cops have a tremendous amount of power. I
Mhm.
mean, like on scene of something, like
Mhm.
we're dealing with the ability to
Take people's freedom away,
Take their freedom away,
depending on the
Yeah.
situation.
to take someone's freedom away and basically accuse them of horrible things and everything, which can damage their reputation and all sorts of stuff. And like that power cannot be wielded lightly. Like it has to be.
And people think it is.
A lot of
Yeah,
people
a
think
lot
it
of people
is,
do.
and you do have cops out there that do a horrible job and they're not good people and they slip through and they become cops and they probably shouldn't. That happens, it happens.
Yeah.
In every
Um,
profession.
Yeah. Well,
in every
yeah, it's
profession,
never
yeah.
same thing in that you get
Teachers,
teachers,
doctors, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, and
it's-
I think we've talked about this on a prior episode of this show about you can look at any profession, education, or I think that the example we brought up previously was like in the medical field, like medical
Oh, yeah.
malpractice is a huge deal.
oh yeah,
Does it mean that all doctors are horrible people? No.
but no one wants to fucking talk about all the medical malpractice. Everyone wants to talk about what cops are fucking doing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everyone.
Well,
yeah,
because cops work for the government. Medical, doctors are private
yeah, which
practice. They don't.
the government
I don't know if
is
that's
like
anything to
just
do with it,
ripe
but
for
I'm just
criticism
saying.
because it's
Yeah, I
so
know.
horrible, and I say that
Yeah.
as
People
as
love
an employee of the
they
government.
love
but
to criticize public services,
Oh yeah, they
but for some reason, I mean, people criticize healthcare
do. Mhm.
Mhm.
and the doctors and stuff as well. But I mean, maybe
Well-
maybe I live under a rock, but I don't hear a whole lot of stories about medical malpractice. But I hear a ton of
Yeah.
stories about
about
cops.
misconduct with police.
Yeah.
or
you
even
will.
public
And-
services, CPS,
Yeah.
teachers,
Yeah,
whatever.
what it all boils down to is nothing is ever going to be perfect. Like no system run by a bunch of humans is ever going to be perfect to begin with, and then also on top of that, an uncomfortable topic that a lot of people don't like to acknowledge is you kind of get what you pay for. So like
Yeah.
if you have
Mm.
public service agencies that are not well funded, they're probably not going to be very good.
No.
And it's not because the people that are working there are not good people or anything, but
They don't have
may
the
lack
resources,
training, they
yeah.
may lack equipment, they may lack
Yeah, well, and it's
XYZ.
also gonna like to be fair, you will have those people that want to do a good job
Mhm.
and they want to improve themselves in their career and all that kind of stuff. But when you have a place that's not correctly funded, or I
Yes.
say correctly, not properly funded, they're
Mhm.
not properly trained, all this
Yeah.
other shit. You're also gonna get those shit bags though that see that and they think, well, clearly no one cares about what goes on
Yeah.
here,
Oh yeah.
and so you're gonna have a mix of people that want to do the job but can't,
Yes.
and then the people that like they're just pieces of shits and they want to be pieces
Well,
of shits, and so
And
you
Yeah.
just
talking about law enforcement specifically, and I would wager that this goes for other professions as well. I'm sure, Ashley, you can speak to it in the education field, but a lot of it is going to depend, like different agencies in law enforcement. I'm sure, kind of like different schools and education. Um, the standards for getting hired there are going to be different at different places.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
like,
it depends on the district.
yeah, like
absolutely.
it might be really hard to get into this police agency because the standard to be a cop there is very, very high. Not many people can meet the standard. But this agency over here that's really hurting for people, they cannot keep cops to save their life. The standard's very low. So
Austin
like
and Dallas Police Department.
this
Oh,
happens
basically,
a lot.
it
Yeah.
should be no
Are their
surprise.
standards low?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Well, it should
man,
be
you
no
would think-
surprise to
Yeah.
anyone that like, well, look at everything that's going on in those big cities.
Yeah.
The police are just they don't have any
No one
power
wants
anymore.
to. No one wants to.
No
work
one
there.
wants to be there. The only people that are there are people that like literally cannot go anywhere either because they can't afford to leave or they're too far into retirement or they
Mhm.
just like their families are no, we can't pick
Yeah.
up and move somewhere else. Like all our life is here. And then you
Yeah.
have those shitbags that are taking advantage of it. Then you have lazy people that are just kind of like,
Well, then you have like the TikTok cops
oh
that
my
they
God.
just want to wear the uniform
fucking
and
hate
be on the
those
internet like,
people.
oh, look at
The-
me, I'm a cop,
The
you know, whatever.
TikTok cops.
God damn, they're so.
Oh
I-
man, that's
so
the
I-
first time I've ever heard of
I'm
that.
old enough
Yeah.
to remember when the whole fucking like look at me dancing fucking lip syncing ass
Oh, yeah.
retarded shit happened. Was
Yeah.
that like pre-COVID or like right during COVID?
I don't
Now
remember. I
social
know
media
during
is
COVID
super
I
it
don't
was
know.
huge.
I fucking hated every one of those. There was a couple of them that I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. Like I get it, but god damn, all of law enforcement's just fucking happy and smiling and dancing on their fucking units and driving around doing all this other shit. I was like, how about y'all go fucking fix your goddamn internal problems before you fucking
Yes.
You
come
know,
out here and have this whole choreographed shit with police units and all this other shit.
I'm
Mhm.
gonna play devil's advocate here just for a second. What if it's like a PR move and trying to get them to relate to the public and hey, make a TikTok
think-
video and we can put it out and it can be everyone can like us because we're just like everybody else making TikTok videos.
I think it's a waste of time.
I think it's because at the end of the day, what we're gonna get down to is yes, sometimes it, okay, whatever. Sometimes it does help, but the people that don't like us are never gonna like us.
No.
And we keep trying to appeal to those people. Fuck them.
Yeah, well, like the drug dealers and stuff that we're dealing with that do not like the police are not going to change their mind and be like, oh, they're not so bad because they did that stupid TikTok dance or whatever. Like,
Yeah, that's not gonna suddenly make people
like
be like,
me
oh
as
wow.
if I wasn't even a cop, if I was just just a non-peace officer citizen, I don't want to see that from my local police agency.
Yeah,
I want them.
You're taxpayer funded, and you're
Yeah.
you're spending all this time and effort choreographing all this shit, and to like at the end of the day, these law enforcement officers had to take time out of doing whatever the fuck they're doing
Mhm.
to go have this choreography thing, drive these taxpayer funded vehicles around. Like that's taxpayer gas, taxpayer units. Those are tax-paid employees.
Yeah,
We're doing all this shit.
yeah. What I
To-
want to see is like I want to see press releases on like, hey, we worked this big case and we caught these child molesters, or we rescued these kidnapped children, or we busted this fentanyl dealing operation.
Do you like TikTok press releases?
Fine, you can put it on TikTok
yeah,
if you want.
fine.
No,
I guess
like,
so
big,
China
like,
can have it.
Yeah.
You know, have a selfie of you saying like, "This is what we did. This is the
Yes.
official stuff. We're awesome." Click. Like, I don't know.
I don't.
know.
I
don't-
think that's
I'm
still
just-
dumb.
I'm just-
but
I mean, I get what you're getting at. I think some level of community policing is good, and that's the
yeah,
new
the
terminology
public
for it.
deserves to know what the people that their taxes are paying for them to go out and enforce the law are doing.
Transparency.
Transparency.
They don't
yeah.
need to.
There does need to be more transparency in law enforcement. Now, I do think
Yeah.
that there is a lot already.
Oh yeah.
It's just that people they're stupid, and one, they don't know the right questions to ask or the right things to do to get more transparency,
Mhm.
Or they don't believe what they see.
or they don't believe what they fucking see. So, like,
yeah.
well,
Well, I
okay,
mean, it's no different than like the suspects we deal with on like the theft thing where they steal something
Uh-huh.
from Walmart and then we sit down with them in the asset protection office and we review the video and we're like, see, like that's you
Yeah, I
stealing
shit you
the
not.
beats, and they're like, that's not me.
Yeah.
Like, but it is. Like it
But
looks
you
just
don't think
like
you think there are
Like,
cops? Okay, no, I this is just a thought
Uh-huh.
that's passing through because we're having a conversation.
Uh-huh.
But like, this sounds so terrible. I'm relating everything to movies and shows.
Okay.
You know, on like the Hunger Games Part 2. Okay, okay.
I'm
If
not
you
very
ever seen the Hunger
familiar.
Games, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
long time
Hunger
ago.
Games.
I think I know.
Hunger Games Part 2, not the second one, but like I don't know, the last movie, but Part 2 of the last movie.
Uh-huh.
They Katniss and her Katniss gets hired essentially, and a
Mhm.
bunch of other people to be like the PR soldiers. So
Oh,
their job
okay.
is
Yeah.
to go through after all the battles,
Mhm.
but to go through and like act like they're fighting and stuff on camera.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not a part of the real fight. And then
For
Katniss, of
propaganda,
course, for
yeah.
propaganda. And so of course,
Disingenuous.
like
Yeah.
Katniss gets. I mean, it's a good idea. I know what they're trying to do, and she knows what they're trying to do, but she gets really frustrated and she wants to go kill
Yeah.
Snow. And spoiler alert, she ends up breaking off the team.
Yeah.
And like it says, "Screw you guys! I'm actually going to go fight," and she does.
Mm.
But do you not think there's a place for public relations for a cop? I think I don't know if this is true, but I think bigger agencies have like
Yeah, I think they do.
PR cops
Yeah, so that's
whose
called
job
a
is to
public
kind of
information officer.
yeah, or
Yeah.
well, not even public information, but just public relation cops whose
Oh.
job it is
It's
to
literally
make
the
you
not real
guys
cops,
look
the
good.
ones
Oh.
that they get paid to go to TikTok and have
Yeah.
TikTok
Yeah.
accounts,
Do
and
you not think there's,
they're not
I
real
I
especially
cops.
in
think
the social media world, in the world that
I
actually
think
hates
it's
cops, do you think there's not a place for
maybe a place for it,
that?
but I think a lot of that is disingenuous. Like,
Yeah, it's
You think so?
disingenuous as fuck. I really
yeah.
genuinely hate it. No one else in the world expects their cops to be running around doing song and dance numbers like this is fucking Glee. But in America, I need you to do that so I don't feel bad when one of you gets killed. Fuck out of here. I'm
Mm,
not running around like asking linemen for XL to
Mhm.
be running around doing song and dance numbers. So that way I feel bad about them whenever one of them gets electrocuted and
Yeah.
fucking
Well, like
killed.
I
yeah.
guess
You know what
I
I
guess
mean?
to like to answer your question though, like about like the community relation stuff, I do think it's important. Like the transparency is probably most important. And then a lot of law enforcement agencies, I would even wager to say most law enforcement agencies, like ours, we do a lot of public relations stuff. Like, cops
Community
will
service and
community service, and cops will go to like the local daycare and go talk to the kids about safety issues and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And that's good to kind of do that
but
sort of thing.
apparently it's not working.
Well, I don't necessarily think that it's not. I mean, that's what I'm getting at, though, is that like the people that already know that we try and we do good jobs, they don't hate us because they
Yeah.
know that we try and we usually do a good job. But the people that are on the fence, they kind of swing back and forth depending on what they're seeing in the news.
Mhm.
And then the people that don't like it, they're not just going to suddenly like us.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting. I mean, I get what you're saying. I do think.
Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, like even with us, whenever we go to those community events, we do these things. Like we already post that on our social medias. We tell people,
Yeah.
hey, we were over here doing this thing, or we're over here educating people about this thing. I think at the end of the day, the community has to do a better job about recognizing and admitting that they have their own problems as well, and that we all kind of have to work together to like fix shit. Because
Mhm.
everyone wants to talk about how this piece of shit cop did this,
Blame game.
you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
no one wants to talk about, okay, well, why did shithead A put everyone in this position to where he had to get shot and killed?
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, and there's sorry, going back a little bit, like to your point of like the people who don't like cops are like probably already never gonna like cops. Like
Yeah.
you see that already. Where like, hey, if a law enforcement agency goes out and their officers get involved in this like feeding the homeless program or something like that, where and they put it on their social media where it's like, hey, the officers are going out and they're being very friendly with people and they're not doing any kind of law enforcement work, but they're just kind of being your friendly neighborhood cops. That's great, but you're still going to have people in the comments on those social media posts that
Yeah.
are like,
How come they're
"This
not
is a
doing their
waste of my
job?
money.
Yeah, this is a
Yeah, they
waste of my
need to
money.
get back to work."
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so
Like,
you're damned if you do, damned if you
yeah,
don't.
exactly.
Like,
And that's what I'm getting at is that like one, yeah, okay, you're never gonna be able to make everyone happy, but he's exactly right. We know this because he helps run the social media for our agency.
Mhm.
I help run the social media for another charity, but they are very heavily involved in law enforcement. Every time either of
hmm
us makes a post about something, and it's
oh,
including
here
for
come the
every other,
haters.
here
Yeah.
come the, and guess what? It's no fucking secret. And we all know this. We don't say anything about it because we're professional organizations. But usually those people are in the comment section saying, this is fake, or like, fuck y'all. Like, y'all need to be out there on this highway
hmm
stopping all these drunks or whatever the hell. Those
Yeah.
people are also usually people that we deal with all the time. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
getting at is that, like, because there's one bitch, you know who I'm talking about.
I know exactly
There's
what
one
you're
bitch
talking
that
about.
gets on every single post that we ever fucking do.
She's like our social media
Oh
terrorist.
my,
Like,
yes, she is just a
Have you
fucking
and
keyboard.
you deal with her in
Oh
real life?
yeah,
oh yeah, yeah.
her fucking baby daddy's a meth head piece of shit. Fifth and almost shot him one time.
Oh my
Fucking,
gosh.
he
But
runs
she's on
around.
social media being like, I hate cops.
Yeah, exactly. She's on
Yeah.
social media every time anyone posts anything and is like, y'all are just, why are y'all fucking putting these people on blast? These people just trying to make it.
hmm
You're like, bitch, she
Well,
ain't
like
trying to fucking
this
make
is
it.
this is
So,
the same lady that we did a narcotics search warrant one time where, or I'm sorry, we were training the SWAT team was training for a
yeah,
narcotics search warrant. So we were in a residential area of this town, and there was a house that had been vacated that was up for sale, and we had permission from the owner of the house for the tactical team to go there and use the empty house just for no firing weapons or anything, but just to go through movements and like practice room clearing and stuff like that. So we marked off the house with a bunch of marked cop cars and letting everyone know that hey, like there's law enforcement activity going on here. So if you see guys walking around with weapons or whatever, it's a law enforcement thing. and then like no weapons were loaded or anything like that, but it's just a training exercise. But yeah, this lady had gone on our social media and created this completely 100% fictitious narrative and was saying that the sheriff's office was doing a drug raid at this house,
Yeah.
and there was a school like 2 blocks away, and
Oh
we were
my
running
gosh.
around with. She said we had AK-47s, which we did
Yeah, they
not.
don't know what the fuck about weapons.
Yeah,
They see a long gun and they're like, "That's
it's
an
an AK. Yeah.
AK-47, fucking machine
Yeah,
gun."
she was saying that the cops were running around with AKs and shooting all over the place, and there was children running around and babies screaming for
Yeah,
their
I shit you
parents,
not.
and yeah, like 100% fictitious. Like none of that happened.
Yeah,
So we had to like get on social media as our law enforcement agency and be like,
none of that
what
happened.
this person is referring to is there was a training exercise, and I just explained everything that actually happened. Like there was not a drug raid. No one had an AK. No shots were fired. There was no children running around screaming for their parents. Like none of that happened. And then it's super frustrating because these people can get on social media and just like delete your comments and stuff from
Yeah,
their
Yeah.
so and
posts.
that's what she
So
did. She's like,
yeah,
just
like
make it look like you're just ignoring her and shit like that."
mm-hmm,
Oh
But
my
see, that's
yeah,
what I'm getting
gosh.
at is like that happens to every agency on every post they make,
mm-hmm.
no matter what they
Can't
do.
isn't that like
No,
defamation or
no. Well, I mean,
No,
are you gonna like file defamation
I don't
lawsuits
know.
on?
I
No,
don't feel like there should be
no.
some
no,
kind of
The
punishment about outright lying and
no.
causing that could cause like a public
I
stir.
mean, you could potentially try and articulate some kind of like I, I don't know, some kind of criminal charge for that, but the juice really isn't worth the
It's no.
squeeze.
And then
Like,
you get into weird waters where law enforcement is now trying to police speech.
mm-hmm,
You know what I mean? And so you're
yeah.
just
Right, but I mean,
yeah.
I don't
But see,
know. I
that's what
Well,
I'm
feel
it's
like
like
there
how
should
see.
be
how
there
far?
should be some
Now
there should be some kind of like
that's where I
consequence for
no,
what
that's
she did.
but
There
that's
should
where I
be, but
think
there's not.
well, but that's what I think that's community's fault.
Yeah.
That's their
Yeah,
problem.
well, because other people get on that poster and
And they're
like,
like,
yeah,
"Yeah,
like fuck these
that is
cops,
weird." Yeah.
like
So,
they're horrible, blah blah
mhm.
blah. Like they probably just wanted an excuse to kill children. Like
Yeah,
they'll
but
say
like
crazy shit like that.
exactly. But like to that same point, if she truly thinks that we're just out here doing shit, bitch, why don't you go into like your city commissioner meetings and asking questions? How about you go to
Yeah.
some of these law enforcement events where we tell you about things that we do? How about you go to the sheriff's office and say, "Hey, how come y'all didn't warn anyone about this?" You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
they don't go through the effort to try to learn why things happen or a best way to do this. Like they're just immediately confrontational. And they're just
Mm-hmm.
gonna that's what I'm getting at is they're just gonna shit on us for literally everything that we fucking do, whether it's good or
Yeah.
bad. And
Yeah.
I hate
they
it because there's
Well, and
people
like
like that that exist
oh yeah.
all over social
everywhere.
media,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, exactly.
that really pisses me off
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
because
annoying.
Well, and
there's no
this same
there's no
lady.
checks or balances
Yeah,
No,
for
there's
that.
not.
we did a press release one time on a on like an actual drug raid that we did where we did go in and a bunch of fentanyl was seized and everything, and it was a pretty good bust. Um, but you'll always have those
Yeah,
I guess for lack of a better term that the haters that come in and they're like, yeah, this is nothing. Like that's just a drop in the bucket. Like
yeah, essentially.
well, okay,
You're
well,
like, okay,
you know,
well, I'm sorry we didn't get,
I'm
a
sorry.
100,000 pounds of cocaine like what you just saw that
Yes.
someone got off a semi or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Sorry we didn't get Pablo Escobar. I
yeah,
mean,
but and that's what I'm getting at. Those like you're never gonna make anyone happy, and I agree that there should be transparency in law enforcement, and people should have the ability to come up and be like, hey, why do things happen this way? Why are y'all like okay? And maybe law enforcement could do better about having like public meeting forums, maybe monthly or
yeah,
quarterly,
yeah, I
where
think
members of
so.
the community can come and just be like, but to be fair, that might be
That's
happening in other agencies.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, like, I'm sure maybe larger agencies might have that capability because
Yeah,
maybe they have the personnel for it. They have the funding to be like, hey, you, officer so and so, like, you're assigned as this community relations person. So your job, like, when you show up at work today and, you clock in and get your coffee and everything, is meet with the public, tell them what's going on, do this, do that. Well, like, our agency is not of that size. So everyone that works for our agency honestly doesn't even have one job. I think everyone that
everyone
works
has
there
12.
has pulls a lot of extra duties.
Yeah,
We don't have anyone to spare to be like, hey, you're the PR guy now.
yeah,
It'd
and
be
like
nice if we had someone.
and law enforcement traditionally, especially when we're not really big agencies like Dallas, they typically see those positions as
Oh, do they?
Yeah,
wasteful. Yeah,
yeah,
because look at all the criminal cases. Like we
Yeah.
oh
have
yeah,
You got more
four
important
yeah, we
things
have,
to
and
do.
that's yes, and it's not necessarily the correct way to look at it because yes, would it be nice to have a full time PR person whose whole job is to go around and
Make
establish
you
better
look good and
yes,
hmm
establish better connections with the community. Okay, yes, but to be fair, I got all these other criminal cases and shit that I
yeah.
have to take care
hmm
of. I'm
yeah,
not fucking worried about getting on this motorcycle and doing fucking circles through these cones and lip syncing, I don't know, some Ariana Grande bullshit fucking song. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, I think that's another element that could be discussed. Um, Perhaps not right now, but like the district attorney is an elected official, just like the sheriff and everything. So sometimes you get really good rock star DAs. Sometimes you get really crappy ones that don't do a very good job. And whose
Boy,
fault is
howdy.
that? The voting
The
public.
voting public
Yeah.
who does not show up and does not care to
Yeah.
be informed or
They
Yeah.
look
don't
into
vote.
things. Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. So like if people want to complain about like, oh, like, none of the criminals in this town ever get locked up, like no one, like, law and order like is non-existent here, criminals are just running amok. A lot of times, like, look at your prosecuting attorneys that you elected and
Yeah.
see if they're doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, like, look at your law enforcement agency, see, look at your sheriff, is he doing a good job? Look at your police chief that was, appointed by your elected city officials, are they doing a good job? Um, but yeah, I don't, a lot of times people like to throw the blame around on just whatever exists, not thinking about like how it got there in the first place. It's like, well, because the community installed it, like they voted for it, or they didn't get out and vote, and so a
Yeah.
bunch of stupid people voted, and now we have this.
Yeah.
Like,
The end of the day,
so
that's why I think that the community just has to be more educated and they have to get more involved in their own community.
yeah,
Truly.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
That's what
I'll
I,
be honest, I'm not like
yeah.
I'm one of those people who
But I mean, it's
before
easy.
marrying into the law enforcement
Right.
world,
mm-hmm.
I didn't really
No,
I wasn't
it's
that
easy.
very well informed
Yeah.
about what was going on with my
No.
city's like
Well, I mean,
commissioners and
it's
mayor and stuff like that.
important.
But
Like,
Yeah.
now,
Yeah,
you
but now you
gotta
care.
Yeah.
And
you
see,
gotta
I was just,
vote.
yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go
But I was
ahead.
the exact same way, and I'm in law enforcement. Now, of course, I just
Yeah.
sat there and I bitch about it. I'm like, man, these fucking idiots, like, whatever the hell. But
Yeah.
I didn't start taking it seriously and really thinking about it until I had to start fucking dealing with this charity. Well,
Mhm.
now suddenly it matters because why? Because I have to go to county commission meetings, city commission meetings. I have to talk to these elected officials and be like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? I want to have this charity event here. I need to pay for this. Okay, well, y'all donate this so we can help. Well, now I care because now I have to
Mhm.
deal with those people.
yeah,
And now I see how good the process can be, how shit it can be, how much red tape there is or isn't. These, you know what I mean?
hmm
Now I see it. And so now I'm like, oh, son of a bitch.
Well,
People need to vote.
Yeah.
and the reason why
Yeah.
I didn't care before was because first I just knew that whole process was convoluted.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I don't believe any information that's coming out because everything seems to be propaganda these days.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it wasn't really affecting my life that much, why should I
That's
care?
the
Like that
kicker.
was the
Yeah.
that was the thought process is
Mhm.
it's not really affecting my life. And honestly, even now, it's still not
Mhm.
affecting my life that much, but knowing what's going on behind closed
Yeah.
doors,
Yeah.
it's really kind of
Well,
pisses me off and now I care because
Yeah.
I know what's
yeah.
happening.
This-
Before I didn't even want to know.
Exactly.
I didn't
I think
bother.
the slippery slope to that is like, well, it's not affecting me, so I don't care, or it's not affecting me right now. But the bad thing about like criminal prosecutions and shit is that it's not affecting you right now. But what happens, God forbid it never does, one day, 5 years from now, someone breaks into your house and he's a fucking meth head and
Mhm.
he, breaks all this fucking shit, whatever the hell. Now you suddenly care, I bet, because
Mhm.
you want that motherfucker to go to prison. You want
Mhm.
him to pay for whatever thing he did or didn't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then through the process,
You have
maybe
this,
something
like-
happens and one of the idiots on the
exactly.
grand jury says, nah, he's fine.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, and like,
Yeah. Now you're fucked.
and
No,
to
I'm-
your
yeah.
point, like when you get to that point where it's like now it affected me, like now I'm the victim of a crime and everything,
Yeah,
so
now
I
I care
want
about
X,
it.
Y, Z done. I mean, it could be the problem could be at such a point where like you're having to deal with this like massive, like overwhelming monstrosity of problems. Like there's problems with the police department, there's problems with the prosecutor's office, there's problems with this, there's problems with that. Um, and like how do you even begin to
it
fix
becomes
that?
overwhelming.
Yeah.
It becomes overwhelming.
There's-
Like
Oh,
I've
yeah.
talked to people who are like, I know all this stuff's going on, but it's so much, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah,
So why
well,
even try?
A good
Yeah.
example of that is, was it Milwaukee or Massachusetts or whatever that just recently had all of those elected officials that are getting arrested on public corruption charges?
Really?
Yeah. Have you
Mm.
seen them?
Maybe not.
They're
no.
like
Gosh, I bet
linked
that's
to the
satisfying.
USAID like
Oh,
fraud stuff.
okay, yeah.
So basically, if you look at that, it should not take a genius to look at that and say, it's kind of weird how this area, this community has a lot of problems. There's a shit ton of rampant crime.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of problems with corrupt cops.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of problems with corrupt fucking community leaders and things like that. Like
Mhm.
clearly well, it's because misery loves company. You have one corrupt person in,
Yeah.
and what the fuck they don't want to get caught.
Mhm.
No.
They're gonna hire 7 other corrupt people
Yeah.
to help protect them
Mhm.
And that's how you get these. That's how you get the 1920s version of law enforcement that is just nothing but rampant corruption.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's one thing that people should honestly pay more attention to is
Yeah,
like,
usually. Sorry, go ahead. I think
well,
that's what
who
you're about to
yeah,
say.
who are you voting for?
Yeah,
And then
who are they affiliated with?
yeah, who are they affiliated with
Who's
is the big
paying
thing.
them?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like you know the old saying like you kind of become your friend group. So like be
yeah,
careful who you make friends
it's
with.
absolutely true.
That's actually a good way to like we do this all the time in criminal investigations where
Yeah,
we're like, hey, this guy's dealing drugs. Who else is in on this operation? Like you see who they're affiliated with, and then
yeah,
you uncover these entire like organized criminal networks and
mm-hmm.
everything. But people need to pay more attention to their elected leaders and officials and see who they associate with and who they surround themselves with and
Yeah.
everything. And you'll start to notice some
Strike
uncomfortable patterns.
uncomfortable pattern. Yeah,
That.
basically, white collar crime is no different than blue collar crime.
Mm-hmm.
You have one corrupt person somewhere, guarantee you there's more.
Oh
Keep
yeah.
fucking scratching that surface, and then you'll be like, oh, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor's
Well,
involved, fucking judges involved,
yeah.
Yeah.
fucking
And
whatever
a lot of
shit.
the problem too is because like I see a lot of people that will rightly so kind of be like, hey, so the cops know that there's all this corruption and everything, so why aren't they doing anything about it? Well, the answer to that is very, very complicated, but it kind of boils down to a lot of times that corruption, like cops can't just go out and put cuffs on people and arrest people, whatever. Like we have to have evidence, we have to have probable
Yeah,
cause and everything. So there's that, and then a lot of this corruption, in my experience, just that I'm aware of, is not even necessarily criminal corruption, but it's like, um,
Unethical.
well,
it's
Immoral.
very unethical,
unethical and
and
like a lot
also,
of it's honestly laziness.
yeah,
Like where it's like, hey,
just,
this elected
Neglect.
official is not doing what they were elected to
yeah,
do,
it's
but it's like
just,
that's not a crime. They're just like, we need to elect someone better next time. But the problem is this person keeps getting reelected.
yeah,
Or they're
So
just kind of turning a blind eye
they're
yeah,
just
to
kind of
stuff that
lazy
they
it's
as
know is
nothing.
fuck.
probably going
Yeah,
on.
and it's
Yeah,
nothing you can prove where it's like, hey, this person was elected to do this and they're not doing it, which may not necessarily be a crime, or it may be something like that where it's like, hey, I think they're turning a blind eye to this and like that actually is a crime. But how do I prove that? Because they can just
Yeah.
be like, oh no,
yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that
Okay,
is
well,
that is a good example because I mean everyone in the world at some point in time has worked for a really shitty boss, like a really shitty
yeah,
supervisor.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a
it's
good
no different.
yeah, that's a good example. Like you're over here busting your ass doing your fucking job,
Hmm.
but your boss who makes more money than you has the ability to do more shit, get more shit approved, whatever the fuck. His fucking lazy ass are just sitting there being like, "Oh, look, I got another, milestone on Flappy Bird or some shit." And you're like, "Okay,
Hmm.
motherfucker," but
Yeah,
like,
cool.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it's that very similar to that where you're
Hmm.
just like they're not criminal
Yes.
necessarily. They're just inept. They don't care. They don't,
Yeah. Well, and to your point though of like by and large, most people don't care because it hasn't affected them yet. I can't prove it because it's not really quantifiable, but I think a lot of the reason for that, because that is a reality, is like, hey, most people, like the vast majority of a average community, is not the victim of some kind of horrible crime. But I think that's because there are good individuals that exist within these organizations, these public service agencies, that bend over backwards to do a great job. They show up, they do rock star work, they go get the bad guys, they work these hard cases, they do whatever. Sometimes it goes nowhere, but they still try anyway. And I think those efforts kind of keep the majority of the community from having to be a victim of that and having to have been affected by that.
Can you imagine though what it'd be like if the entire agency or the entire organization was
Oh,
worked by good people?
yeah,
yeah, like if the system operated like and every member of that system did what they're supposed to do and they went above and beyond, did a great job, it would be so efficient.
hmm
Like so efficient.
yeah. That's never gonna happen though. I
No.
mean, you might and like you might have like a golden age with one agency because I've experienced this. You kind of have
Hmm.
like a renaissance period where this
Right.
agency is doing great. Everyone wants to work there. Everyone there is highly trained, gives a shit, really well run.
Hmm.
Well, tragedy strikes, someone retires, someone dies, something happens, the upper management gets a shake,
Hmm.
and you hire one fucking idiot
Yeah.
who then just
Ruins
fucking
everything.
ruins everything.
Especially if they're in a leadership position.
Yes, and again, they're not gonna like to be upshowed or
No,
shown
no.
up or whatever the fuck. They don't want to hire people that can be perceived as better than them or know more than them or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Or maybe they don't actually want to do their job, so they're gonna hire other people that are lazy like them, so that they don't fucking have to do anything. Or they're gonna hire a rock star that will do everything for them, so they can sit there and be lazy and be like,
Take the
look at all,
credit.
yeah, look at all these fantastic things that I do. Meanwhile, it's not actually them; it's the fucking person beneath them is getting it all
Yeah.
done, and they just get to sit there and be like, I am the
I'm
fucking
awesome. I'm a great
I'm
leader.
awesome. Look at
Yeah.
me. Yeah, and of course, like there's even the fucking
Yeah.
there's even the criminal aspect of that of like corruption.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna hire this person who's my friend. He'll make sure that this thing happens. No one can what? Because again, like imagine if your chief of police is corrupt. Who the fuck do you go to about that?
Yeah.
It's not the goddamn HR. Can guarantee that.
Yeah. Well, like at that point, you got to go to like an outside agency, probably like
Texas
Texas
Rangers.
Rangers specialize in
Yeah, but
public
then
corruption
you
and
have
stuff
to.
like that.
Yeah, but for that you gotta have proof.
Yeah, yeah. So
What
if
it-
you go to the ranger and just say, "Hey, my boss is corrupt," they'll be like,
Exactly.
"Okay, why do you say that?"
Yeah.
You're
Well,
gonna
if
have
it's
to,
like,
yeah.
"Well, I'm pretty sure he's doing this," it's like, "Okay, well, pretty sure." Like cops don't operate off of pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like we operate off probable cause.
Exactly. So it
So there's
basically.
that.
What a hot mess.
It is a hot mess.
Yeah, there's a hot mess.
And all that to say, we got some other hot messes to talk about.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We went well into the weeds on all this shit.
I knew you would. I
Yeah,
knew you would.
I'm
We
sorry.
always do.
I'm sorry. We're like in the bush that's never been trimmed. And it's,
Yeah, it's we're in the jungle. But no, I
hit
say
that
we
soundboard, Ashley.
Beep, beep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
sorry. Go ahead.
let's take a break
Oh, thank God.
and then we'll come back and we got cases to talk about. And mind you, these cases are being investigated within this very
Complicated
imperfect system. Yeah. But there's that. So okay, taking a
Do it
break.
again.
All right, we're back from the break. And we are going to kind of segue into more of what we got feedback from our audience on and what they want to hear about, what all you listeners want to hear about, which is just more death investigation cases with Detective Flores here. And so what we've done kind of in preparation for this final part of episode 10.7 is Flores and I sat down and kind of talked about there's so many good cases that we can talk about. Unfortunately, a lot of them we cannot talk about.
Classified motherfuckers.
For now, at least. But we came up with a list of ones that we can talk about. But we will give the disclaimer that obviously, for the respect of the victims and other people involved, we are going to change names and some key details of these cases just to allow them to remain anonymous and all that good stuff. But Flores, I'm going to kind of go through our list here.
All right.
And then,
I've already forgotten it, so this would be great.
yeah, well, that's why I wrote it down because I would forget about it too.
Cool.
But I'm going to run through this list and then we can pick whichever one we want to talk about 1st.
Mhm.
And we're going to kind of go through these and I'm going to try and not let us get too far off into the weeds and make the rest of the episode about this one case because we could easily do that. So we're going to kind of go through the bullet points of each of these cases that were just interesting
Yep.
and talk about the kind of cool, sexy parts of it and
Okay.
then call it good. So,
All right. That'll work.
and since I've changed up some of the names on this,
Mhm.
I have not gone over with you like the code names for everyone
Okay.
or anything
I
like
might.
that.
Oh, that's fine. I want to raw dog this.
Yeah.
Tell me.
Yeah, so this is going to be kind of like I don't want to say charades because it's not like charades because it's verbal, but
Okay.
it's like verbal charades kind of
Okay.
like. But I think
Alright.
you're going to be able to figure out which case I'm talking about. So
Okay.
anyway, the first one is going to be the 1050 pancake dude.
Yeah. Okay. I know. Yeah.
Okay. So, do you mind? So we both know the primary officer that
Yeah.
dealt with this call, and I have not talked to him about this prior to this recording, and so I don't want to mention his name just because I'm not sure if he would be cool with that or not.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna call him Bob.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've used Bob before. He'll be Bob
There's
again.
Too many Bobs.
Yeah. So Officer Bob. Dealt with this call one night, but do you mind? You're actually more familiar with this one than I
Yeah.
am, so do you mind taking this one?
Yeah. So basically, on a specific date and time several years ago, Bob was working. I think he might have even been the supervisor that night. This was whenever we were supervisors, so I can't remember. It's been a minute.
Y'all are corporals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think that this was his like entire shit show
At the PD.
I think it was.
at the PD. Yeah. This is
Yeah.
before we both left.
Yes.
So, anyways, on this particular date and time, it's the middle of the night because, of course, it is. That's when all the good stuff happens usually.
Typically.
But Bob gets sent to the north end of the city, which is like there's a highway that runs through there. You obviously know this, Ashley. I'm just setting up for people. There's a
Yeah.
highway that runs through there. The speed limit obviously picks up drastically when you get to the northern edges of the city. Well, over on this side of the city, there's also a lot of space, so it's not uncommon for people to be like, I'm gonna fucking floor it at this particular junction. Well, Bob, without any context, anything, gets sent on this random day in the middle of the night to the north end of the city for a one vehicle MBA,
NBA.
motor
Motor
vehicle
vehicle
accident.
accident.
So he
Or
shows up.
1050.
Yeah, 1050 is the 10 code for that. So he shows up and locates some sort of fucking connuption. I can't fucking
Conundrum?
conundrum. Yeah, something happened here because basically there's these deeply indebted tire tracks that lead off the roadway through a bunch of businesses' parking lots. Like it's a lengthy scene. Leads or all these parking lots. There's a fucking like metal awning in a building that's been like displaced. There's a car upside down. There's fucking bodies everywhere.
Oh.
So, anyways, they run over and they look and see. Well, there's one male that is underneath this pickup that is a pancake. Like there is no bringing him back. He's
No.
fucking dead skis. Like you
He's
could
flat.
His
yeah.
insides are
You
outside.
say-
his inside or outside.
Like you call him a pancake for a reason.
Well, like to be
Yeah.
fair, yeah, you could tell because it was his head. Like the rest of his body was fine.
oh,
The vehicle rolled over and crushed his skull like a watermelon.
Yeah.
So one of the well, she now works for us. This dude, he was trying to be a rock star cop, and like you know when you're a cop, like I have to show up, I have to protect the scene, I
Yeah.
have to render aid, I have to like do
I'm here
things.
to catch bad guys and
Yeah,
save lives.
but he was still very new, so he didn't really like stop to think like there's nothing I can do here. Now I'm just gonna keep looky-loos at bay and wait for EMS and all this other shit. So
Yeah.
anyways,
He had good
he-
intentions.
he had good intentions, but we make fun of him all the time for it because this thing happens, and he runs over to the scene and he sees the dude half under the pickup and like clearly he's dead. And he goes over to the pickup and tries to like lift it. He's so you see him on camera. He's like,
Yeah.
trying to lift his pickup, and he's like, "Sir, are you okay?" No, he's not okay. He's dead as shit. Like,
Oh, man.
Yeah, poor guy.
Why did he do that? Because it's just,
It's just his
he was
adrenaline.
hyped up and
Yeah, he's
adrenaline,
hyped
he was like,
up.
oh, like this
So he
person, he's trapped in
saw
the car. I'm
the
gonna save him.
skull.
You know.
Yeah,
he saw the skull but didn't
yeah.
register that.
Well, I mean,
He's-
he. I mean, you were there, but
And no, I was not there.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you weren't there, but you were at the agency whenever
Yeah,
this happened.
Yeah, no, because it was a bigger deal because of how weird it was. But so,
Mhm.
anyways, no, he just was hyped up. He just was trying to help.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny for us because we're
late.
we're like, look, stupid, you're not helping that.
Yeah.
But
You're,
yeah,
you're not gonna flip the truck over by yourself.
Yeah, and
also,
eventually, yeah,
even
he's
if you
dead.
could, there's no point.
yeah, and he realizes it too because like mid him being like, he like stops and he's like, oh, okay, no, he's
Oh,
not.
Wait a second.
I mean, like,
this
yeah,
isn't logical.
he like,
like
recorrects himself and he's like, no, okay, whatever. Just kind of gives up. So like the dude underneath the pickup, clearly he's dead. There's no bringing that back. But there's another dude who looks all fucking mangled up and retarded, and he's like, what the hell? Well, really long story short, in this scenario, this one that Bob dealt with, this pickup was actually a special pickup because it was a pickup that was specifically designed and made and kind of like reconfigured to allow this disabled person who was like really, really disabled to operate this motor vehicle.
yeah,
Well, this individual was like completely wheelchair bound, can't walk, has really
his legs don't work. at
his
all.
legs don't work, they're really deformed. So he had special shit to allow him to
Yeah, he
you know,
could drive the
change
car with
gear.
just his hands.
Yeah, so he had a bunch of shit in the car that made it possible to use that car. But anyways, that guy and this other guy, they were related. This was like his cousin or uncle or some shit. They were partying that night and got drunker than shit. And because only the disabled man can drive, the disabled man was driving. So anyways, this guy gets behind the wheel of this pickup and they both think this is, logical and fantastic. I will just drive both of our drunk asses back to wherever the hell we're going to go. So they start driving. He gets up to an ungodly like speed inside the city, loses control of the vehicle for whatever fucking reason. And then it goes through all these highways, the parking lots, ramps off of some shit, crashes into some other shit. Anyways, it launches his uncle or whatever that was into the air. This guy gets ejected too.
No seatbelts.
Yeah, because they're, of course, not wearing any seatbelts. They both get ejected, but Uncle gets launched into the air. And when he lands, he's okay. But then the pickup lands on top of his skull and crushes it like a watermelon. He's dead. This other dude got ejected, and he's just kind of hanging out somewhere. We get him EMS help or whatever. But so that
Well,
one. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like some of the responding officers who didn't have all that context yet
Yeah.
were a lot more panicked because the disabled guy that was out there looked like horrifically mangled, and
Yeah,
I thought it
he's-
was from the crash.
He's like crawling away.
Yeah,
He was, yeah, I shit you not. He was trying to crawl away from the scene of the accident.
Oh my god.
So they show up and they're like, what the? Yeah, but they think he's injured because they didn't know that he was.
And he was injured, but not.
Yeah, well,
because
his legs weren't messed up from the crash.
he wasn't crawling because of the crash.
No,
he's
crawling because he's a piece of shit.
He's trying to flee the scene.
Yeah, so he's crawling away because his legs don't work. So, anyways, they show up and they're like, "Oh, okay." Put 2 and 2 together eventually, and then fucking hook him up, get blood warrants going, that sort of thing for the accident. But they had that fatality, anyways. The long and short of it is that even horrifically disabled, retarded people can kill other people by doing retarded shit.
by driving.
By driving, yeah.
By driving, yeah.
So basically, what we were going back to earlier, like, fuck everyone. Like,
that's Flores' answer for most things.
Flores treats everyone equally.
That's true.
Yeah, I hate everyone.
No, but I wanted. Flores doesn't hate anyone, for the record. This is a big part of my job. Is I would say, listen, what Flores means by that is
he does translate for me a shit ton.
Yes, yeah. Like it starts with like Flores is like fuck everybody.
The other day he had to do damage control because we were hanging out with the FBI, and I was telling the FBI, I was like, I've realized that when you hit 30, life goes downhill. Now my asshole's bleeding, and the FBI was like, oh, I'm sorry, what the fuck? And they're looking at me, and Fithin's like, so anyways, we're here to talk about this thing. I was like, no, like you ever just wipe and there's fucking blood everywhere. Sometimes I like to do shit just to be out there, just to see how people react. But Fithin does spend an ungodly amount of time trying to like clean up after my my shenanigans.
To her credit, sometimes she'll be writing so our desks in our office are like right across from each other. But she'll be clacking away on an email or whatever, and to her credit, she'll have the wherewithal to be like, I'm going to read you this, and I want you to tell me if I should send it or not. And she'll be like, yeah, but I would take out this sentence.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. We did that the other day. We had some sort of conundrum come up, and I was like, these fucking bitches are retarded. Why don't we just do this? And he's like, yeah, that is an excellent question. And so I sat there, and no one else was going to do it, and we knew that.
Yeah.
So then I was like, I'm going to fucking do it.
She starts clacking away. I was like, be careful how you say
He's
this.
Be careful how you word this. So then I was like, okay. Read this, and that's what he told. He's like, take this part out. Well, anyways, what ended up needing to happen happened finally. But yeah, had it gone the way that I was,
it wasn't gonna happen.
It was gonna start World War III.
It's probably gonna start, yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah,
but no, I wanted to bring this case up because like that's some of the feedback we got from the previous 2 parts of this episode was, hey, talk about more crazy death investigations, and that was one of them that came up just because it was a gnarly, like graphic one, and it was a little
unique.
There was the weird element of this disabled guy crawling away. So.
And like to kind of capitalize on this, which I guess I should have done research this, but I didn't. Anyways, we filed charges on him for manslaughter, intoxication manslaughter. He was. I can't remember if he was arrested that night or not. I don't remember.
I don't know.
I would assume that he was. But anyways, we do our investigation. Obviously, accident reconstructionists come out and do all these things. We, talk to everyone. We do the whole criminal thing.
Yeah.
We get all this stuff buttoned up, file charges on him, send that up to court. It's going to go to the district attorney's office because it's a felony. Anyways, we do all that stuff, and he did go to court on it. That was a pretty big trial. I think he was found guilty. I cannot remember if they sentenced him to prison time or if they went, well, it's your first offense, because he had never had a criminal history before.
Yeah, he was implicated in a lot of stuff. Like he was involved with a lot of
he
other
hung out with a lot of
criminals.
Yeah.
But he didn't have any convictions on his record, if I'm not mistaken.
See, this is another one of those, like, you hang out with, like, because we've never had to deal with him negatively. He's been in the car with people that we've had drugs and stuff with. And, of course, we're like, why are you hanging out with these idiots? Whatever. And of course, everyone's answer was like, well, they're not so bad. Like, they're my friend. Well, lo and behold, this day, sometime later, now he's over here doing stupid shit. And now he's caught up with the law, and he's, you know what I mean? So it's
a lot of our local like drug dealers and drug users would pretend to be his friend and basically use him as a like anti-law enforcement search tactic. Where they're like, they're not going to search the
they're not going to search
use him as a crutch.
Exactly.
They're like they're not going to search the disabled guy. They're not going to ask him to step out of the car. So put it in his pockets.
Oh,
it's fucking jokes on you, bitch.
Yeah, he had a bunch of fake friends. But.
But anyways, so I went to court and I'm pretty sure he got found guilty.
I think so.
I just can't remember what they gave him. I want to say, knowing the process, they probably took pity on him and they went like, hey, you're gonna have fucking 5-10 years probation or something.
Yeah, probably something like that. But anyway, that was one. Moving on to the next one, I've got, and I can cover some of this one. So this one is actually a case that was investigated by another contributing member of this show, Lieutenant Fisher, who actually started out on this show as Sergeant Fisher, but he has since been promoted. So congratulations to him. So Lieutenant Fisher is actually Flores and I's boss. But whenever he was a younger cop, newer detective, he worked and I've spoken with him about this. He's not here today. He had other obligations, but I spoke with him about this case and got clearance from him to speak about it on this episode. So there's that disclaimer. But he worked a suicide case, and this is actually going to tie into Flores's life here in kind of an interesting way. We'll
Oh
we'll,
God.
we'll get there. But several years ago, Fisher worked a suicide case where um, they got a call, I believe, from this actual guy. He basically contacted 911 and let them know that he was going to take his own life. And so law enforcement responded to try and render some kind of services to him. But whenever they got to the house, or the apartment, I should say, he had actually left a sticky note on his front door that basically read,
Mm-hmm.
like, you'll find what you're looking for out in the field. And there was a very large field out behind the apartment. And so they end up going back there. And this happened during the winter of this year. Not this year, the year this happened. But anyway, Fisher and a couple other guys end up following some footprints in the snow. And they go out in this field and they find this gentleman out in the snow. And he's just surrounded by uh, a like a Jackson Pollock painting of blood and brain matter and
Who in the
everything.
fuck is that?
Jackson Pollock is a famous artist who
I'm
got
sorry. Ashley's face
was
over here is like,
I was
oh
like,
my
I
gosh.
thought you were referring to the guy who was like dead in the field. And I was
Oh,
like, I don't know.
yes.
Wait till
Well,
he gets to the story.
I'm sorry.
well, a mini art history lesson.
Oh God.
You
This
ever
is so
see?
gay. Moving on.
Yes, yeah. Well,
Gay
yep.
pride's over with.
Oh, I know. It is July now. We're also recording this on July 4th.
Hey,
So
I like
happy
art,
Independence.
okay?
Okay, all right. I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, long story short, you ever see the paintings that are literally just paint splattered on a canvas? Like there's no design to it at all.
Yeah,
It's just the
every
splattered.
modern art museum ever.
Yeah, so that was started essentially, like the guy who takes the credit for starting it was Jackson Pollock. He just splattered paint on canvas and sold it for millions of dollars.
So that fucking idiot's the reason why we
Mhm.
have people that go see bananas on a fucking stand and go,
Yeah.
this makes me feel some type of way.
Yeah, he contributed to that. It's stupid and his art sucks. So
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I'm done.
anyway, that's what I'm referring to is basically there's blood spatter everywhere out in the snow. Kind of
Okay.
like a Jackson Pollock painting.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
So there you have it. But anyway, they get out there, they find his body, and it appears he has gone out in this snowy field and stuck a shotgun in his mouth and blew his head off. So they have that scene to deal with. They end up going back to the apartment. The door's unlocked and everything. So they go inside. And then this guy actually has completely cleaned out his apartment. It is all spick and span. Everything that he owns is packed up in boxes or it's in bags or whatever. And everything is labeled with sticky notes on who it's supposed to go to, what he wants done with it, whatever. It's all very meticulously planned out and everything. And then, uh, so some backstory here. Why did he do this? Like, who is this guy? Why has this happened? Well, this guy was actually the subject of a investigation that Fisher was working at that, like prior to this, where basically this lady had reported. She came to at this time. Fisher was working. He was a detective at a local police department, and so she came to the police department and says, "Hey, I want to report that my ex-boyfriend is stalking me. We were in a relationship, but I broke up with him, and now he just won't leave me alone." And it's freaking me out, and I need the cops to take care of it. So Fisher ends up investigating the case, and he actually made contact with this dude before and was like, "Hey, I'm Detective Fisher with the police department. This is what I'm investigating. This girl's saying that you're stalking her. What's up with that?" Well, they have a conversation, and the guy's like, "No, no, like we were in a relationship, but we're not anymore. I'm not stalking her." Okay. Well, fast forward a little bit, and that matter has pretty much been resolved. There was no real evidence that he was
It was
stalking her, to my understanding. And then a bit of time passes, and then another thing popped up, and this lady comes back to the police department and says, "Hey, like y'all got to do something. Like he's still stalking me, and I have proof this time." And so they go over to her apartment, and I'm probably getting some of the details wrong here. I mean, this is like fourth hand information to me, but um, Fisher ends up going over to her place, and she's like, "Yeah, he left. He was in the Navy before, and he left his Navy like dress uniform in my car." and he's still stalking me and everything. And sure enough, Fisher goes out there and looks at the car, and there's like a man's Navy formal dress uniform in there.
Why would a stalker do that?
No one knows.
That's strange.
Yeah, no one really knows. But Fisher ends up recontacting this guy and is like, hey, like, listen, like, there's some other stuff going on now. Like, I need to talk to you again because, hey, like, were you in the Navy? He's like, yeah. Well, like, I need to talk to you about some stuff because it's looking like maybe you may not have been truthful. Maybe you were, but we need to investigate this further. So the guy says, well, like, okay. And but he's very nervous about it. He's very panicky and everything. Well, long story short, that's what Fisher comes to find out later is essentially that this lady, from the time they were in a relationship, just had his old uniform and put it in her own car and had staged up and created this story that he was stalking her and putting his uniform in her car to freak her out and stuff like this. When in reality, he probably didn't do any of that. But this guy was so heartbroken over his failed relationship with
I,
this lady.
I thought that she was saying he raped her.
I don't know if that was ever substantiated.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine.
And whenever I talked to Fisher about this, he said it was more of a stalking thing.
Oh,
Like
okay.
she might have kind of hinted at something like that, but I don't think they were working it as a sexual
Okay.
assault case. But anyway, this guy was so bent out of shape over the loss of the relationship, and then the fact that now she was coming back trying to get him in trouble legally with the cops and everything, and make him out to be some kind of stalker and everything, that he basically decided he had nothing to live for. His true love had turned against him and everything, and so he took his own life. And so, one of the things that they found in the apartment was actually a letter explaining why he did this and everything. And Fisher told me that he actually mentioned him. He said sorry to Detective Fisher by name and everything, which was eerie for him and all that.
So, excuse me, I was having mic trouble.
Oh, you're good.
He was never stalking her.
No, there doesn't appear to be any evidence to show that he was.
So she could have been lying the whole time.
Likely was.
Yeah,
And she ruined his life.
Yeah.
Correct.
And he killed himself because of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
She's
Yeah.
probably just
What
a
a-
fucking cunt.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Ugh. How does she sleep at night? How can she live with herself after something
Hopefully
like that?
she's killed herself too.
Man.
That'd be like a nice, end all be all.
Poetic, like,
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, pretty much.
ugh,
Like,
but
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
no.
But anyway, that was another case that I wanted to bring up just because it was it's one of the more interesting death investigations that I've heard of from our area, and just due to the fact that we know the guy who worked it and everything, I just wanted to bring that one up. Because not every day you have a suicide for those circumstances. It's not every day that the guy who commits suicide has everything all buttoned up for the detectives when they show up and has everything explained, case closed right there, and even says sorry to the detective by name.
yeah, well, and so like that one too, like he was already ruled out as not a suspect. Like we weren't filing charges on him.
Yeah, no,
he had
no.
not been arrested.
No.
It was just kind of like, well,
like Fisher was asked by this lady in the community to investigate and do what detectives do and look into it. He looked into it, was like, hey, there's no evidence for this. And so nothing was going to be done to this guy, but he was just so heartbroken and stressed out about the whole thing that he just ended it.
Yep. That sucks.
Yeah, that was another one.
That's
feel
a really
for the
sad
kid.
one.
Yeah, it is very
feel
sad.
for
I mean,
the kid.
I guess all suicide is essentially sad, but
nah.
to have
Some of
I'm
it's
just gonna be
warranted.
I'm gonna be the person on the show that says all suicide is sad.
Oh,
But
okay. All right.
I have to balance you guys out, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well,
but
look,
this one was to be driven to suicide by an ex-girlfriend who was lying about you. I don't know, just that whole
Fuck bitches.
situation.
That's all I gotta say.
Ugh.
Well, this is going to segue into another similar case.
Were you gonna?
What's up?
I live in his apartment.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that
I
what
forgot
you're-
that part.
Really?
The place where he did all that, I live there now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So when I moved in, my bosses at the time were like, "Oh, you know this thing?" Yeah. He's like, "Well, the guy that had this thing happen to him, he lives in yours." And so I was like, "Oh, that's great." So now sometimes I like to wander around and talk to him, and I try to be a
Aw, he
homie
needs
with
company.
him.
He
Yeah,
needs
exactly. I
company.
try to be a homie with him because he's probably still haunting the place. I would be too if that's like how I went out in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I try to like,
he needs a friend.
yeah, I try to hang out with him. Like, I get it, bro. Bitches are fucking shitty. Fuck them. Like, I hope
Mhm.
she's got 7 different baby daddies for 4 kids,
Oh my
and none of
gosh.
them pay child support, and she's just living a good old miserable Chapter 8 life.
Ooh.
Yeah, but that's the fun connection there is, yeah, all that happened. And then lo and behold, another detective who actually works underneath the original investigating detective of this case now lives in that man's prior apartment.
He's a pretty cool ghost. He leaves me alone.
That's good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's polite.
Yeah. He's
But
not bad.
yeah, okay. So there's that one.
How does this segue to the next one? Was it another suicide?
Yeah, it was another suicide, but I'm going to let Flores talk about this one because she's far more familiar with it than I. This one, I have it written on my list. Let me find it. Yes, this is, and I'm sure you can take liberties to obscure some information that needs to be obscured, but
Mhm.
I have accidental suicide via Russian roulette.
This fucking idiot.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like 2 years into my career, like, getting the hang of copping at this point. 2 years in for a city agency, you're like, all right, I've seen a pretty good amount of crimes. I'm familiar with, what if this happens, what if this happens scenarios. Like, you're starting to figure things out. Well, anyways, 2 years in, I'm minding my own business. I get sent to this shitty apartment complex to deal with a meth head. I talk to meth head. Meth head tells me, hey, this meth head, I gave them a ride over here. You can probably infer what's going on. They're probably doing a drug deal or some shit, but whatever. This is what I get. So I gave a ride to this one meth head. We show up at my apartment and we both go inside. And then they're like, hey, never mind. I got to go leave. And without any explanation, they then leave. Well, when I came outside this morning, I noticed that my car's windshields are busted out and like nothing's been taken. And that's what you've got. Like they busted out my windshields. I'm pretty sure it's this person. So I'm like, okay. I asked the obligatory questions. Y'all sure you were just hanging out? You sure this wasn't a drug deal? What'd you have in your car? You know what I mean? So they're like, nope, don't fucking know. But yeah, here you go. Well, I start looking for this person. I immediately know who both these people are because we deal with them left and right all the fucking time. They're meth heads. We deal with them for various crimes, possession. The other one is more so just a user. They're not really doing too much other stuff, but the suspect in this incident, who is a male, he absolutely is doing all the meth head things. Burglary, theft, evading, possession. He does all the meth head shit. And he's only 17. We've been dealing with him since he was like
Juvenile.
yeah, since 15, 14, something like that. So he's one of those ones that we deal with him. We're like, yeah, we're going to be dealing with you when you're a fucking adult. Well, anyways, he's my suspect. And I was trying to, because I have aspirations to be a detective. So when I get cases, I usually try to work them as much as I can, if not like completely. And because I was just patrol at this time. I wasn't even like a supervisor or a field training officer or anything. So, anyways, I get this case. I'm like, well, I'm going to go locate this dude. I'm going to go interrogate him, all this other stuff. So I get everything buttoned up, take my photographs, do all my stuff, ask around, all this kind of stuff. And I'm finally ready to confront my suspect in this incident. So I'm like, all right, he's a meth head. He's known to frequent these areas. He lives over here at this place. I'll go fucking try to find him whenever I come back tomorrow. So I leave shift for my for the day. And I was nights and I go home and I go to sleep, or maybe it's days. Doesn't matter. I go to sleep at whatever time I went to sleep to, and I come back, and as soon as I walk in the office, I immediately get told, "Hey, Flores, you know how you were telling us that you were looking for this person?" I was like, "Yep." And they're like, "Well, you don't need to look for them anymore. They're now dead." And so I was like, "Oh my god, like why?" I'm like, well, basically, what ended up happening during that shift while I was asleep was law enforcement gets called to this house in the community. It was actually in a nice area. It is in one of the better areas of the town. So they get sent over to this nice area for shots fired. That's it. That's the only thing that they get told. They show up. There's this 17-year-old that is not dead yet, but he's hanging out. There's nothing he can do. Well, actually, he might. No, don't know.
What injury does he have?
Oh, he has a gunshot wound to the head.
But he's not dead.
Well, I mean,
Yet.
sometimes yet. I mean, he's gonna die.
Maybe not clinically. Like,
Yeah, but
Oh, I see.
he's still gurgling. There's still
Yeah.
blood coming out.
There's still a heartbeat, maybe.
Yeah, like
Is it one of those like where EMTs show up and they're
yeah,
like, yeah, there's nothing.
there's
we
nothing
Can do.
much
like
we can
there's
do with
brains
this.
coming out.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. Like his brain was coming out. There's
I
blood
see.
still pumping. I mean, he's still technically alive,
Oh,
but
okay.
you
He's a
ain't
vegetable.
you ain't tourniqueting that.
No.
So, and you're not even gonna fucking quick clot that. He's just whatever. He's there.
Yeah.
So law enforcement shows up. That's what they got. He's there with a gun, gunshot wound to the head, very evidently. He's bleeding, all this kind of stuff. He's there. Well, he was there with like a 14-year-old and then like a 12-year-old or 9-year-old, something like that. There was 2 other younger kids in the home with him. He's not related to them. They're just friends, and he was hanging out with these kids. Well, long story short, the investigation yields that this shithead went to go hang out with these kids because he's friends with their parents and also these kids. Like this family is weird as fuck too. Like eventually they get brought up in like meth as well, and then sexual assault allegations. Like, none of us are surprised to be here, if that tells you anything. So, anyways,
Yeah.
he goes to hang out with these kids, and while he's there, he's talking to them, and he has a revolver, and he's telling them like, he's suicidal as shit, this and that. And the kids are just like, yeah, okay, whatever, cool. They're talking, hanging out. Well, eventually, he's like, hey, what if we play a game? The kids are like, yeah, we like games. What the fuck you want to play? He's like, how about we play Russian roulette? So, of
Oh
course,
my
they're like,
gosh.
yeah, exactly. They're like, well, all right, that sounds cool. Like, what do we do? So he explains the whole thing to him, and then he, puts the, so then he's like, all right, I'll go first. They turned the music on too. They had like some sad, stupid lunchtime fucking, you know what I'm talking about? Like Papa Roach ass
Like some
music.
emo, like
Yes,
yeah.
in the fucking background too. So, but
Yeah.
anyways, so he's like, all right, I'll go first. And he opens the cylinder up. You can see that all 6 cartridges are empty, and then he takes out the one bullet, puts it in the revolver, spins it, closes it, and then goes, well, that one shot had the bullet and fucking got his ass, and he
Oh my-
died. So then those kids are just sitting there staring at him when he pops his ass, and then they're
Well,
just
this
like,
game sucks.
yeah, they're like, yeah, well, okay, all right, he lost clearly.
Yeah.
So, anyways, they call the cops, and we show up. But fun fact, that was actually not the first time that anyone had killed themselves in front of those kids. Yeah, fun
Those
fact.
poor kids.
This was the second. No, they're fine.
Oh,
They
Yeah,
weren't phased.
They weren't phased.
I'm
They're
pretty sure they're probably traumatized.
Well,
yeah, they have a
probably,
bunch of
deeply,
problems. Yeah,
deeply, but
but yeah, that was the second time someone had actually shot and killed themselves in front of him. But he just happened to do it this day. So, anyways, like, I couldn't interview my suspect now because he's dead. So on the back end for that case, when that happens, because I've had to do that multiple times, I just went in there and I was like, yeah, no charges will be filed at this time due to the subject being deceased. They were,
Mhm.
killed or not killed, but they died on this day at this time. There is no other suspects or whatever for this incident. Case
Mhm.
closed. The end. You move on. But yeah, that's what happened. And the parents were like, "Oh yeah, that was weird." I mean, unfortunately, they're all those kinds of people.
Yeah.
And yeah, everyone just went, "All right, well, that's one less piece of shit in society. Cool." And then I had a cake, and I moved on with my life.
Well, one thing that should be noted is like when you're dealing in environments like this where like you're dealing with drug users, like really heavy drug users, or
Sorry, I can't get over Kylie's darkness.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
well, I'm gonna
Sometimes
this
I've
might
been-
shed some light on it, but these people usually are like very nonchalant about like very serious things.
Oh yeah, they were super nonchalant about it.
Yeah. So like
Who was
The
nonchalant?
family, the kids.
yeah, like
Espe-
you have
oh,
someone
whatever.
kill themselves via Russian roulette in front of children, and they're like, "Wow, that's crazy! Like, is this gonna cost us any money?"
Yeah,
Like,
that's
Oh my
like yeah. They're
gosh.
like, so anyways, are y'all gonna like file on me? Like what? And you're like, what the
yeah. Like,
hell
am
are
I in
you-
trouble? Like, no, that's not
No,
why we're
and
here.
like,
Yeah.
okay, well, are you sure? Because we just got an eviction notice today, and you're like, no, I don't give a fuck about that right
Yeah,
now.
we have nothing
Like,
to do with that.
yeah, pretty much. But like, those
Yeah.
are the caliber of people we're dealing with.
Yeah, yeah. There's that. It's the same thing with like occasionally we'll get like child sexual assault cases where like this kid is saying that they were sexually assaulted, and a lot of times like the parents couldn't really care less. Like you
Mhm.
show up and you're like, "Hello, parent. Like I'm Detective so and so. Your kid is making these really concerning statements, and this is what we're investigating." And they're just like, "Wow, that's crazy. So like, am I gonna have to go to court? Like, I hope not, because that's really boring." Blah blah. blah.
Like,
Like,
yeah, you will.
okay,
You're
like
like, all right.
you don't care about this. Like, I mean, like y'all figure it out.
Yeah, pretty much. And they're like,
Okay.
well, like, does this mean I don't have to pay child support anymore? Because I've had someone ask me that
Yes, yeah.
before. Like, their main concern was child support, and that was it. Whether or not they
Yeah.
were going to receive any, or if they had to pay any, or
Yeah,
that's it.
The
These are
health and
terrible
welfare-
people.
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. That's why you should never be sad when people die, because odds are
They
7
will
out
be
of 10
sad
of
that
them are
you're
pieces
dying.
of shit.
A lot of times stuff like this does happen, and it's I mean, like since this individual lost the Russian roulette game,
The world's a
there
better place.
yeah, there have been no further problems.
Yeah,
So
I
you
mean,
can
he
say
hasn't
that.
committed any more crimes, so that's cool.
Moving on. Let's see
And
here.
we've got another dead body. That's great.
Yeah, another one.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's a good instance of like
Yeah.
where you don't file charges on a case.
See, yeah.
yeah, well, like case closed.
Yeah, case closed. There's nothing else you can do with that. So it's
Yeah.
we know who probably did it,
Mhm.
but it will remain open, for
Mhm.
lack of a better
Yeah.
term, till the end of time.
Yeah.
Mm.
So he was charged with it was a theft, right? That you were
It was
investigating.
a burglary of a vehicle.
Oh, I'm sorry, burglary of a vehicle. Like, probably could have convicted him in a court of law on that, but it doesn't matter now. So that'll
Yeah.
just be an open case forever.
Yep. So but that's also something that hurts your stats. It's one of
Yeah.
the things that
We,
goes.
we
towards-
never technically solved it.
Yeah,
You know.
technically. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, there you go. So there's that one, nice and simple.
That segues into another suicide.
Oh, this is my
Um,
favorite.
A lot of these are suicides, just because that's unfortunately somewhat common. Um, but this one actually gets a little more dicey, and I have it written down in my notes here as I don't know how I want to say this. I don't want to give away too much
Mm.
identifying information, but we're just going to call this a double suicide, or if not like a murder suicide in a field. Um,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
I know what you're talking about, and I cannot attest to any of that because I was not involved
Okay.
in it. That's our agency, but at the time
Yeah. So
it
on
was
this
y'all.
one, I think like this case happened prior to Flores or I working for our sheriff's office that we work for now. But we work with and alongside the guys who did work this and who were on scene of it. And so we have heard the story, and it actually is a good case study for, like a kind of on the job CID training when you get into the division and everything. So we've seen the photos, read the report, things like that. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. But basically, one fateful day, some sheriff's deputies get dispatched out to a field in the middle of nowhere out in the county, very rural area, for just a suspicious vehicle that's parked out in the field. And someone was driving by and was like, I know the farmer who owns this place, and that's not his vehicle. And I don't know who's out there, but they're probably up to no good.
Mhm.
So they call the sheriff's office and they say, hey, go check it out. So deputies get out there and go check out the car and find two people inside the car, one in the driver's seat, one in the passenger seat, a male and a female, both deceased from gunshot wounds to the head. Um, the ensuing investigation shows that these two were in a dating relationship. They're both very young, like early 20s, if I'm not mistaken. The male subject has not like a super lengthy criminal history, but just a criminal history for very petty
Yeah, it's
crimes.
usually just him being young, stupid.
Yeah, like
Fucking
some like substance abuse charges and some theft stuff and just petty things like that. And then the female actually doesn't have really any criminal history. But I guess these two had been dating, and it appears that he was a bad influence on her. But they left a note in the vehicle, and the note was just very, very hostile, very nasty towards both of their respective families, um, saying that they were terrible and like they couldn't live around him anymore because they didn't approve of the relationship, and basically as a big fuck you to both their families, they took their own lives, um, and and that's pretty much it. And so, sorry, I'm trying to think of the other case details here. Basically, when they're looking at it and kind of trying to reconstruct what happened and everything, it appears that the male subject uh, committed suicide first, but based on the gunshot wound to his head and everything, and the angle of it and everything, they actually don't even think that he pulled the trigger on himself. They believe that it was probably like I don't think it was a murder per se or anything like that. I think he probably consented to it, but it looks like he had the female point AR-15 style rifle at the side of his head and shoot him. And then there was some interesting just other physical evidence because he was in the driver's seat, and then on the passenger side of the vehicle, there was some weird footprints and kind of weird foot traffic outside the passenger door, and so they're not exactly sure like what to make out of that. But it looked like It looked like they had driven out in the field and just sat in the car for a while. And then there didn't appear to be any footprints on his side of the vehicle, if I'm not mistaken. So it appears that he drove out there and then never got out of the vehicle. But at some point, the female got out and kind of stomped around and walked around in some circles and did some weird pattern of movement. Didn't get very far away from the vehicle and then got back in and then stuck the AR barrel in her own mouth and pulled the trigger as well. So kind of the working theory on what happened is um, guns, especially when they're not suppressed, are very loud. Especially in the cab of a vehicle, it's going to be very very loud, and it's just going to be a traumatic experience typically to shoot someone. And so they're thinking that they worked up the gumption to carry out this plan of theirs, and for whatever reason he didn't have the constitution to do it himself, so he had her kill him, and then perhaps after that, um, you know super loud gunshot, probably getting sprayed with some blood from firing that and everything, maybe she freaked out a little bit, stepped out of the car, had a bit of a panic attack or something, and then got back in the car and then killed herself as well. Um, and then the other very like dark, morbid, kind of humorous part of this whole investigation is a couple deputies are helping process the scene later after all the initial photographs and documentation has happened.
Yeah.
And they're looking in the back seat of the vehicle just to see what is back there. And I think they're actually intentionally looking for the ejected shell casings from the rifle and everything.
Mhm.
But while they're in the back seat, one of the deputies comes across a item um, that is white and kind of flat, but kind of rounded, and appears to have some kind of like red gooey residue on it. And he picks it up and looks at the other deputy and is like, "That's weird. Like, there's like a melted Pop Tart back here." And the other deputy quickly sees what it is and recognizes it and is like, "That's not a Pop Tart, bro. Like, that's the back of her
That's the
skull."
skull. Put it back.
Oh, no.
Also, lesson 1, don't just pick up shit whenever you're at a crime scene. You
Yeah.
just like observe with your ojos and then fuck off.
Oh,
Yeah. So,
So-
that was a dark but humorous part that.
Yeah, the good old.
I might have
Yeah.
missed. I might have missed this. Did they write a note saying that they were going to do this? This
Yeah.
was their
Yeah,
plan. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
they left a note on the dash, or I think it was in the car that they found that basically said like, "Hey,
They're going to commit
we're mad
suicide.
at our families because they don't approve of our relationship, and we love each other and we want to be together. So fuck you guys. We're
Yeah,
going out.
it
Romeo and
was
Juliet
very
style."
hostile. There was a lot of wording in it where it was like, "And fuck y'all for this, and fuck you for that, and fuck you,
Mhm.
I hate you." Like it was very,
Ooh,
Yeah,
these,
very
like,
these kids
hostile.
had
very-
some issues.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
they
yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one was obviously real sad. Like I know I joke around a lot, like fuck everyone, but I
Mhm.
mean for the family, it's very traumatic and very sad.
Yeah. Super
Clearly.
horrible.
But-
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck them
Um,
kids.
He
Yeah.
didn't even have the constitution to shoot himself.
Yeah. That was and.
The problem begins and ends with pussies.
Oh, damn.
Okay, I'm starting. I'll stop now. but yeah, it does appear that he either was unwilling to do it
Mm-hmm.
and
That or he did it in like some really weird fashion or
I don't
something. I mean, we're never gonna be able to.
yeah, I know.
No one was there. No one
Fully
saw
no,
it.
but
It's not
based on the
video.
evidence,
Yeah, based on the
Yeah,
evidence.
like that
she
was
probably did it.
when they were trying to reconstruct what happened and everything. That's what it appeared to be was that she had killed him and then herself, but not like she murdered him or anything. But it appeared
Yeah.
that like he consented basically to being killed by her. So that was an interesting one.
Oh,
And
There's
luckily,
a lot of suicides that happen out in the middle of nowhere in the
yeah,
county.
yeah.
Goddamn.
I will say so. Like having worked for a very short time for a city police department, and now having worked for a little while at a county sheriff's office, I think I've seen. It's fair to say I've seen a lot more. Well, I'm not going to say more suicides. I've seen a lot more graphic suicides out in the county than I have in the city. Like when I was at the city, like as well as I
Mhm.
do, like you'll get a bunch of like depressed person took a bunch of pills.
Yeah.
Someone's cutting their wrists, something like that. But in the county, I've seen a lot more gunshot wounds to the head. People
Yeah.
driving into stuff.
In the city, for some reason, they're just a bunch of wusses. They don't ever do it. They just say they're going to, and then they call 911 or one of their family members calls 911, and they don't do it.
It is a
that's
very.
interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true in like most counties? Well, I won't say
don't-
most, but
yeah,
like
it's
Whereas-
hard for me to say. But I would. I mean, I wouldn't put money on it, but I would wager that that's probably. I don't know, fairly similar. It's kind of the same with vehicle accidents.
Yeah, I mean,
Vehicle accidents in the city, every once in a while, you get like a really graphic one with a fatality every once in a while, but it's a lot more common out in the county
Yeah.
because people are out on the highway or they're going really fast on these dirt roads.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you get a lot more of the graphic fatality vehicle accidents out in the county.
I like to say I was gonna say this during the first suicide story with the man whose ex-girlfriend kind of
Mhm,
led him
yeah.
to suicide. The fact that he had like everything straight
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
and like everything was like a posted notes
Yeah.
and everything was in order before a suicide. I don't know. That says a lot about.
Well,
Yeah.
and so this
I
is
don't
going
know
to
him.
segue into our next case.
Oh,
And mind you, too, so like all these cases we're talking about, we are hitting like
the
the bullet
points.
points. Like there's so much more that went into every one of these
sorry.
investigations. But for brevity's sake, and just to give the audience like the
Some more.
kind of key, most interesting details,
Mhm.
there's that. But on that note of like suicides, sometimes you show up to a suicide call, and the person who has taken their own life, planned this event very meticulously, and they made arrangements for things to happen after their death. And other times, though, it's more of like a heat of the moment thing where someone decides to do this, and that's the next one we're going to talk about. But before we move on to that, do you have anything to add to the double suicide on the field?
No, I mean, I remember hearing about it when I was at the city just because it's the people involved just so happened to be involved with other people that were big in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a really big deal in the community because everyone was like, "Oh my god,
This
why?"
person's
Yeah,
son, this person's daughter.
yeah,
or
exactly.
something.
So I
Yeah.
mean, and that one, like I said, is actually very sad. Like, of course, I know I make a bunch of dark jokes and I'm just a piece of shit, but that one was truly sad. Like for those kids, and that I think that ought to show you too, like the mental space that kids are in.
Oh
Mhm.
They
yeah.
think that
And they
it's like,
can be.
yeah, well, it's
Mhm.
it was like life or death for them. For them
Yeah.
to get to the point where they felt that they had to kill themselves because their parents didn't approve of them being together and wanted
Mhm.
them to break up.
Yeah.
Like idiots, you're fucking like 19.
Yeah.
The odds of you staying with that one person for the rest of your life anyways were slim.
Mhm.
But like, okay, fine. Plenty of people date people that their family doesn't want them to fucking be with, and you know what I mean?
Do you
Yeah.
think there were drugs involved somehow to get him into
with
that
Nah.
space?
him,
I mean,
not like hard,
not
hard
hard.
drugs,
Okay.
but there was some definitely
Like
some
weed
substance
and
abuse going on
shit
with
like that,
him.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, alcohol,
yeah,
weed.
Yeah.
yeah, more like
Yeah.
You think they
alcohol
might
type
have been
stuff.
like,
No,
well, drunk or
I
I don't know,
don't-
just
I
to
don't
get
think
to that
so.
space?
no. They did toxicology, all that. They didn't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
that.
I don't think they
okay.
were intoxicated
No.
by any means.
Truly think this boils down to like the kid who's probably not a piece of shit, but he does do some
Mhm.
little turd things. So
Yeah.
what it boils down to is that the girl's parents were like, "Hey, he's been arrested multiple times. He does
Mhm.
drugs
He's
and
not a good
alcohol.
influence.
It's not a good influence on you. We're worried about you. You should be like, we do not approve.
Yeah,
Break up
well,
with
I
They
don't
him."
want
were,
you seeing him.
you know, very
Yeah.
being good parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And you know what I mean? It's not their fault either. They're like,
Yeah.
"Hey,
Mhm.
we don't approve of this. Break up with him." Well, these two get together and they do their
We'll show
Romeo
them.
Juliet thing and they spiral and they're like, "Oh my god, if we just can't be together, there's no bitch." Like how many people out there are with the person that they were with in high school? You two aren't. I'm
Yeah.
not.
No, no. But yeah, that was that one. Just a rash decision, and like it was somewhat planned out. Like they consciously like made the decision to go do that. They drove all the way out there. They wrote that real nasty letter.
Mhm.
They
They
you
do.
know they took a gun out there and everything. Like they plan on doing this, and it
Yeah.
was all pretty premeditated as far as that goes.
A premeditated suicide.
Yeah, I
It's,
guess
I mean,
for
I
lack
guess
of a
all
better
I guess
term,
all
like,
suicide is premeditated, but like you were
somewhat.
saying
Well,
before, like some suicides
Yeah,
are
to
kind
a
of
yeah,
degree.
in the moment,
yeah.
spontaneous.
So that's the
But
next
they like
one.
they figured they were probably going to do it anyway, and this is just the moment they decided to do it. But then, like you said,
Yeah.
there are meticulously
Yeah.
planned
Yes.
suicides.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like this
Those-
next one. What's
No,
up?
I'm just gonna say those ones are more rare.
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah. I mean, they still happen often, but
Mhm.
they're not as common as the person that's like, "I'm really sad right now, so I'm going to ram my car into this concrete wall and kill myself."
Yeah.
Or as the person that's like,
Mhm.
"I'm going to shoot myself right here." Like
Yeah.
most of the premeditated to where sticky note here, money and envelope here, it goes to this person. Those are pretty rare,
Yeah.
but they
Mhm.
do happen
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
Yeah. Well, and this next one was like more of a
Spur of the
like
moment.
heat of the moment thing. Yeah. And so this one, let's see, how do I want to define this one? This was actually a hanging that occurred on a holiday, in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
New Year's.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
New
New
Year's
Year's
one?
Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah. But basically on this one started out as a welfare check call. So patrol got contacted by this person's mother, and the mother was basically like, "Hey, haven't heard from my daughter in a while. Like, I'm really worried about her. She has some pretty serious mental health issues, and she's been depressed, and I just want someone to go check on her." Um, so I was actually one of the uh, patrol officers at this time that uh, responded to this call. Excuse me. But this person in question, I had actually dealt with her numerous times before this call, and I had actually done welfare checks on her many times. She had a family that was very concerned for her well being, and she was going through a lot of different just stuff in her life, a lot of issues, and she was also dabbling in some substance abuse stuff and everything. But anyway, because I knew her from previous encounters and I was familiar with her and everything, I actually knew where she lived. And she lived in these like really old rundown apartments that were like right across from this very
CD bar.
yeah, seedy bar in town that if you're a patrol cop in that town, you go there a lot. And
Yeah.
so went over there. just to try and do yet another welfare check. Knock on the door, and 9 times out of 10, we end up making contact with her and just saying, hey, we're just checking to make sure you're okay. Everything okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm good. Okay, great. And then we can simply just report back to the caller that like, hey, we located him and talked to him. They appear to be in, you know, good health. They're not injured or anything like that. So welfare has been checked. But on this one, we showed up and go and knock on the door at her apartment, and she does not answer. Knock several more times, no answer. And then, based on her previous history of um, having suicidal ideation, and she had threatened to commit suicide in the past and everything, we did end up deciding, like, hey, we actually do need to get into this apartment and see if she's okay in there. She could have overdosed on some pills. She could have hurt herself somehow, whatever. She might need help in there. So, long story short, kind of out of exigent circumstances of the time, we were able to get with the apartment manager who had keys to all the doors and explain to him what was going on. And then he gave us a key. And then we opened the door. And immediately upon opening the door, the layout of this apartment was you open the door and it's a little one room kind of efficiency space. So there's a bed and a little desk in there. And then right past the front door is a closet, and the closet is open, and she was actually hanging in the closet by
Mm.
like a boat rope. And so it, you know, we all give our buddy a bunch of hell about running up to the car that had pancaked that dude and trying to lift the car up off this guy. I did the same thing in this
Yeah.
situation though. So um, I saw this upon opening the door and was like, well, that's not good. So I ran in there and I hopped over the bed and everything because the bed was in the way. So stomped over the bed and then I grabbed her, and I didn't know how long she had been hanging there, so I didn't know if this had just happened or whatever. And so I kind of grabbed her, like half expecting her to fight with me or something, and I lifted her up to like take the slack out of the rope. And then as I did that, I could feel that she was very stiff, like she was already like well into rigor mortis, and she's very cold. Um, but I've kind of experienced the same thing where like your positive intent and your desire to help and your adrenaline kind of gets the better of you. So I knew at that point that she was dead, but before my brain could kind of like consciously catch up to that fact, I kind of let her. Oh, I cut her down. I cut the rope, and then once she was down, she was very stiff, so it's not like she crumpled to the ground or anything. It was actually kind of eerie. Like she
Like a plank of wood.
yeah, she dropped, and I kinda, like, basically propped her up against the wall in the
Mhm.
closet, almost
Oh
like a plank.
Yep.
gosh,
Yeah.
that's so
Mhm.
strange. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't think about in the
And
movies they always
Yeah, they
and it was
crumple.
it was weird, but what the other weird thing was just before, like I said, before my conscious, logical side of my brain could catch up, I had been feeling her neck, and I had checked her for a pulse several times, even though she's already, like, well into rigor. So, like, the logical side of me eventually catches up, and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know why I'm doing this."
Mhm.
But even so, it's nice for the family to know that you checked,
Yeah, I
double
mean,
checked,
yeah,
and just
yeah. In the heat of the
did what.
moment, like that was our immediate intent. We tried to save her, but the logical side of my brain, if that part was turned on whenever I initially grabbed her, then I would have known, like, hey, she's been dead for like 4 to 8 hours at least. Um, and then the other key indicator too is a lot of times when people hang themselves and they've been hanging there for a while, um, a phenomenon colloquially referred to as drafting will occur, where your neck will actually elongate
Mm.
just from gravity pulling on your body and
Yep.
everything. And so her neck was probably twice as long as it should have been,
Yeah.
which would have
Wow.
been another key indicator whenever we first saw her to be like, "Yep, she's gone."
Yeah, that's
Um,
anatomically incorrect.
yeah, you're like that's a little
Mhm.
wonky.
Mhm.
But yeah, so there was that. But I eventually like the more logical side of my brain catches up, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, she is deceased. But some further investigation into that one. Long story short, she had actually gone over to the bar that she lived across from, and she was partying there with some friends. And then she got into an argument with a friend, and I don't even remember what the argument was about. It doesn't really matter. But she was very upset about that argument, and she had told her friend before she left. She was like, "Well, like I'm just gonna go kill myself then." But she was known to say things like that. She had a long
Yeah.
history of threatening suicide. So the friend is like, whatever, like you always say that, you never do, you'll be fine. And so she left. She went to her apartment. She tied a rope around her neck and hung herself.
Golly.
So, yep.
That's why as teachers, if we ever hear a student, even in middle school, say, I'm going to kill myself, even if you know it's a joke. You
Yeah.
tell the counselor, and the students are often super surprised, like, I was just joking. And that's why, as a
Mhm.
teacher, you have to say, no,
Yeah.
because I am not going to be the person who, when you say it once,
Who thought it was a
who
joke
thought it
and it
was a
wasn't.
joke, and I don't do
Mhm.
anything, and
Yeah.
then that one time it's not a joke.
Well-
Like, I'm not gonna. I'm just.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
The
Yeah,
moral of
one-
the story is like fuck the crying wolf bitches.
Like, don't cry wolf.
Don't
And
cry wolf.
the other thing is like you're saying,
But that's
like in
yeah,
the,
that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happens.
in the school setting, like one, like we, you care about the welfare of these kids, and so you never want to take it as a joke when it's really not.
Yeah, even if a
And
student
then-
says it over and over,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell the counselors
Yeah.
over and
Well,
over and over.
And even then, like one is like the genuine concern, and then two is like there's a lot of liability in that too.
There is,
where,
yeah, exactly.
Like,
That's
hey, like this kid said they were going to do this, and like law enforcement did nothing, or
Yep.
the teacher did nothing.
well, and then the kid has to realize that maybe I should stop joking about this, or maybe I should
Yeah,
stop
yeah.
like saying this just
Yeah.
nonchalantly because
Mhm.
it's causing all this
Mhm.
inconvenience for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And people don't, kids don't realize what they say. But in
Yeah.
her case,
Mm-hmm.
she probably meant it every time,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then just this time,
Yeah.
she decided to actually do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and it's kind of like shit. Where is I going with this? Like everyone else around her gets desensitized to it clearly,
Yeah.
Yes,
because she does it and says it so often that eventually they're just like, okay, and then all it takes is that one time for her to actually follow through, and then clearly you're like, oh fuck.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone around her gets desensitized to this stuff. But also, it's very common for these people that are depressed and are suicidal or have suicidal thoughts and ideations. They do this multiple times
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
years before they actually successfully kill
Yeah,
themselves.
there's usually numerous attempts at
Yes.
suicide before
Before it
they go
happens.
through with it.
Yeah,
And,
and it's
we say usually, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's
sometimes.
literally the first time this person ever decided,
Yeah.
hey, heat of the moment, and then
yeah,
boom,
like
they do it.
the dude that shotgun blasted himself to the face.
Yeah.
He'd never had a problem with it before.
Oh,
but
yeah. No, no.
circumstances lined up just right for him
Mm-hmm.
that he met that threshold where he was like, "My life is ruined. Now I'm dead."
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, that's gonna happen. I think of it a lot as like domestics for women. A lot of women will stay with their abusive and men. They'll stay with their abusive partner for a
Mhm.
long time, and they'll put up with a lot of shit, whether it's emotional, physical abuse, whatever the hell.
Mhm.
And they'll like tell other people that it's going on and there's signs and stuff that it's there, but you can't convince them to leave, and they will not leave a lot of
Mhm.
times until it's been happening for a long time, and maybe
Yeah.
they leave multiple times. Whatever, but you get the idea.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's very similar to like basically battered woman syndrome. Or,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, very common for cops to show up. The neighbors call and say, hey, my neighbors are fighting. I think he's beating the crap out of her. Cops show up, and yep, she's been beat the crap out of.
Mhm.
But she's like, oh no, like I fell down the stairs.
Yep.
I slipped.
Very
I
common.
deserved it. I made her mad. Very common.
Yep,
So
that's
But
happened.
that psychology is
Yeah.
fascinating. too.
yes,
And
yeah,
we've already talked about that case before, but like I've had that happen to me before, where it was like, "Hey, you should probably leave, otherwise it's gonna get worse." Like I even arrested the husband while I was there.
mm-hmm.
I was like, "Hey, you should probably leave." Like he had a history of this in Colorado. Now he's doing it here. Like you should probably leave. No, it's fine. It'll be okay. Whatever the hell. Well, not too long later, they actually get done. They have to investigate it because he murdered her.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So I think we've talked about that case, but
I think
yes,
so. Yeah, but yep, it happens.
Mhm.
So that
Yep.
was another case that one kind of goes to show you, like I believe that was a more heat of the moment suicide where
Yeah.
like there was a lot of build up to it. Like I'm sure there were attempts in the past, and it
Yeah.
had been this person had threatened to do it before several times and everything, but that for whatever reason was the night for her where she just went through with it. Like she had this argument with her friend. She was, I'm sure, real emotional, real upset,
Mhm.
and like she didn't leave a note or anything. She just
Mhm.
went over there and did it.
I think she probably again the correct circumstance, and it sounds bad. We're gonna get into like a little bit of, I guess, victim blaming, you could say.
Yeah.
I think probably what happened to her is that a lot of people end up in this cycle and they do it for attention.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when she did not get the desired attention that she wanted,
She did it.
Yeah.
she spiraled even more and then got to the pain. Because like I've seen this before too, where they do it just enough to have markings or some shit.
Mhm.
It's like the cutters, the superficial ones.
Yeah.
They do
Mhm.
it just enough to get that illicit reaction,
Mhm.
and then they're like, okay, this is fine. Now I have the attention that I want. My boyfriend came back to me, or what my family's finally paying attention to, whatever the hell.
Mhm.
But you did it this time, and then that's all it took. Like
Well,
you're dead
so
now.
another interesting thing about this particular suicide. So when she hung herself, not uncommon for people to hang themselves in the closet because they can tie a rope or something around like a clothes rack or something. It's just I don't know, I guess a convenient place to do it. But an interesting detail about that particular scene was she actually did not even hang herself from like the very top of the clothes rack. It was like the mid bar there on the rack, and so with her height and everything, she could have stood up at
Yeah.
any time.
But she didn't.
No,
No.
she didn't. So
They-
So
she
do
was
you think?
committed.
So
That's another
do you think it
indicator
could have
that
been like she dropped?
Mm-hmm.
But you think at some point her brain and body's instinct to stay alive would cause her to put her legs
Yeah,
down and
as-
stand up?
Sometimes.
yeah,
But do you think,
sometimes
like-
that does happen. But I mean, what
Like, do you think like her neck just broke? Do you think it was just
No.
an
No,
immediate?
no,
No,
she
there
didn't
w-
have a broken neck.
No, the only time that happens is when you like swing from the gallows.
Oh, okay.
Like you don't suffocate and die like in the movies. They make it this grand thing where you spin
Oh.
around and fly around for it. No, the fall of you getting that
It's
that
supposed to be
latch
instant.
it's
Yeah,
supposed to be instantaneous. So they designed it that way on purpose. Like your neck snaps,
like
Yeah.
a chicken.
and then like a chicken.
But
and
in
then
like
you,
suicide, that
Yeah,
doesn't.
so no,
it's
what
not
he's-
very common.
Not
no,
common. No.
no, what he's getting at is that would indicate to us as investigators that she intended to do this
Yes.
because yes, you could
Well-
stand up at any time.
And she didn't.
Yeah, well, and there is a
Wow.
possibility that should be mentioned. That I don't know how common it is. I don't know what the statistics on this are, but you can start to like choke yourself, hanging yourself,
And pass
then
out.
pass out, and
Yeah.
actually now you can't stop yourself.
I see.
Like,
Yeah,
You know, but I think at that point, like once you've choked yourself to the point where you pass out, like it's pretty intentional.
yeah, you have to
know.
kind of know and feel that it's coming
Yeah.
because like in order for you to do that, like I think it'd be more of like in the blood. It'd be like the arterial. So like
Yeah,
you
You'd
know
have
that
to
it's
know.
kind
like
of
in jujitsu, like
yes, exactly.
yeah.
You kind of feel like a little sluggish, a little lethargic. You know that something's happening. I think even in that scenario, most
Yeah.
people would have to be like, all right,
Well,
you know
and
what I mean?
it can happen quick. Like
It can.
if you get like a true blood choke like
Yeah.
that, like it takes a couple seconds
Yeah.
and you're out. But to get to that point, I guess what I'm saying is like you're committed at that point. If you've wrapped that rope around and put that pressure on that part of your body, like you have to reasonably understand what that's going to cause.
So I mean, yeah, it is possible that maybe she didn't intend to and accidentally killed herself, but
Maybe.
most
we'll
of the
never know.
time, when,
I just think that's. I mean, the willpower
Mhm.
Mhm.
that she had not to save herself, not to just
Yeah.
ignore that instinct, her brain's and body's instinct to survive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She must have been like
Mhm.
in such a
She
dark
had-
place
well,
that
she had a
even
lot
in
of
the
problems.
midst
Oh yeah.
of the
Yeah.
suicide, she knew she was going to die,
yeah,
and she
Mhm.
chose to accept this fate. She knew it was
Yeah.
happening in seconds.
Yeah.
And within seconds, she had a brief moment of time where she could save herself.
Mhm.
1 second, or she could die that next second.
Yeah.
And
Well,
she
and, like,
chose death.
a lot of hanging scenes, a lot of hanging suicides. Like you'll see like the stereotypical like kick the chair out from underneath me or whatever.
yeah,
And I think that's primarily done. My understanding of that is like, well, I'm committed to it, but I don't want to freak out at the last second and not be able to do it. So like I'm gonna remove the option to like stop this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
and, like-
that's not what she did.
yeah.
Wow.
And to be fair, she'd been at the bar, so maybe she
She was
she
probably
couldn't.
intoxicated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a fair point.
that's
yeah.
another thing. So I mean, yes, but the fact that she's even contemplating it seriously and then even attempts to get anywhere close to it indicates like where she's at in her
Yeah,
headspace.
yeah.
She had a
Mhm.
lot of problems,
Yeah.
a bunch.
Yeah, but that I bring that up as an example of like that one I believe was a little bit less premeditated. Like there was a lot of build up to it and everything, but I think that moment where she committed to it and said I'm going to do it, I think that was more like heat of the
Instantaneous,
moment,
yeah.
like more emotionally driven.
Yeah, for sure.
She just got done with a fight with her friend,
yeah,
Mhm.
walked
Yeah.
out of the bar, probably a little. Yeah.
probably a little under the influence at least. So yeah, there was that one. But yeah, so let's see. Let
Do
me
you
move
have like
on.
non-suicide ones?
I do, yes. I figured after we talked about these suicides, we want to find a non-suicide. So let's see
There's
here.
been a lot of suicide
Yeah.
Yes, this one.
because we can't talk about all the criminal ones because they're still in the fucking
Ugh,
courts. 'cause
God,
Yeah,
takes
that-
forever.
it's hard to talk about those.
I know you
Um,
basically have to be a retired cop because you're dealing with so much active
Yeah.
shit. Anyways,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so this next one, this was not a suicide, and we were not directly involved in this investigation, but we know the person who died very well because we had dealt with him numerous times as a suspect with our agency. So I won't say his name on here just to avoid any kind of legalities of stuff or whatever. I don't know where this case is at for the agency that worked it, but there's a certain individual that Flores, your context clues here. He was once pursued by our agency and then captured in front of a church, and then
Oh yeah,
he was later.
yeah.
We learned later that he was deceased through other means,
Yeah.
and we can both kind of talk about this, but I'll let you take it because I've
Okay.
been talking a lot.
Well, yeah. So on this particular date and time, you were actually working on my shift. You were a newer
Hmm.
cop.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, we're gonna talk about like what we dealt with him before, and then what happened after, or just
Yeah. Well, let's give it like the nuts and bolts of it, like
okay.
real
So,
short and sweet.
well,
Like
basically, we
he's a big
deal.
time theft suspect.
Yeah, this dude was a meth head. He was a piece of shit. We used to deal with him all the time. We're very well acquainted with him. As soon as someone says his name, we're like, because it's also a very unique name.
Yeah,
So
very unique name.
yeah, pretty much.
Foreign.
Yeah, foreign. So like we know who he is. He's been a problem for years. Well, on this particular day, good old Kung Pao Chicken steals a fucking car. So we immediately suspect him having stolen a car because we're like, all right, well that's his mo. He,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
So we're looking for this stolen car. Canvassing the area. I was working. You were
Mm-hmm.
covering on my shift, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, funnily enough, Fithin actually sees the car. He did not know that that was the car because there was some like description.
I'll tell you exactly what it was.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So like this is an active thing. Like someone calls 911, says, "Hey, I went outside to start up my car and warm it up because it's cold outside, and some dude just showed up and jumped in my car and took off with it." So dispatch gets a description of the car, and they're like, "Hey, we think it's headed this way." Well, I'm on patrol and I'm in that area, so I start looking for the car. And the way that the caller describes their car to dispatch, they say, "Hey, it's a white passenger car, like a four-door passenger car, and there's a sticker on the back of it. It's a big white cross, like a Christian cross symbol on the back of the car. You can't miss it." So I'm like, okay, well, that should be really easy to find. Well, yeah, I was headed in that area of town, canvassing, looking for this car that just got stolen, and I see a white passenger car, four door and everything, and I pull up right behind it, and I'm looking in it, but it's not speeding or driving erratically or anything. It doesn't appear like the driver has behaviors like he just stole his car, and there's no white cross sticker on the back. So I was like, well, I guess this isn't it. So I didn't want to miss the actual car, so I turned back around and started looking other places. Um, I'm gonna pick it up a little
Okay.
bit and then give it
Yep.
back to you.
So, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, the car keeps going basically after I leave it, and luckily, I was with the city police department at this time, but there was a county deputy that was on the south end of town, just running radar traffic on the highway coming into town. Well, he had heard the radio traffic and he saw this car kind of matching the description of the stolen car go by, and we found out later that when the caller said that there was a sticker with a cross on the back of it, they did not mean on like the actual rear of the car. They meant like on the back driver's side door. And so it
Mm.
drives past this deputy and he sees it. And so he identifies it as like, that's the car. Like it's got
He sees the
the
cross.
cross sticker like on towards the rear of the vehicle, not on the back,
Oh, I
but
see.
towards the
Yeah.
rear of it. So he calls it out and then I hear it. And so I turn back around and then Flores, I'll let you pick it up here.
Yeah. So I think I was with the victim at this point. Can't remember. But anyways, we get a better or that happens. We're still talking to him. All this radio traffic comes out. We're like, hey, we believe we have that car. It's pulling into this church. He's
Hmm.
on his way to go meet that deputy. And so, oh shit, okay. So we all leave and we start getting ready to go whatever.
Trying to intercept this
Try to
dude.
intercept this thing. Well, in the meantime, that deputy gets out, lights him up. This car pulls over into like the awning area of the church. Like it's real weird too. He didn't park. Or no, I take that back. He did park. He
He
parks
parked in
in.
the regular
Yeah,
parking
he
lot.
parks in the regular parking lot, and so that deputy's like, "All right, well, maybe they are, or whatever." Well,
And
he
Sunday
gets.
morning.
It's Sunday morning. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
church time. Everyone's pulling up to church to go to church, but everyone's already there. So like
Mhm.
everyone should already be in service unless you're really late. So that was indicator one where
Yeah.
we're like, okay, whatever. And this part's gonna sound bad, but he gets out, and it's not immediately the kind of race of the people that normally go to this particular church.
Mhm.
So
Well, we get some key indicators like he does not match like the description of the typical person that attends church in the area that we live in. Like
yeah,
he doesn't look dressed for church.
now clearly he's like
He doesn't look like he's like a local member of the community. Like
yeah.
there's some things that are, make you think.
Yeah. So I mean, he gets out, he starts trying well, he's also walking, he keeps like looking around, trying to
Scanning
see
everywhere.
scanning
Yeah.
everywhere. So we're like, yeah, okay. Well then because we've dealt with him a lot, eventually that officer or that deputy is like, I know who you are.
Yeah.
You
You're.
definitely don't go to church, especially this church.
Yeah.
It's weird that you're in this vehicle of all vehicles that looks like similar to what the PD's dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, okay, so I'm gonna go check out with you, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, he does that, and as soon as he gets out to go and intercept him, they then begin fighting. Well, then
Mhm.
Fithin by this point shows up,
Yeah.
sees that they're fighting, and they all dogpile on him and start fighting with him. Well, he had a gun.
Yeah, he's trying to get a gun out of his waistband.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So then you
man.
have that. So yeah, they get the gun like away from him. They fucking it gets
Yeah,
yeeted.
he gets subdued.
Yeah, he gets subdued. The gun goes away. Eventually, a pastor hears all the commotion from like the service inside, and or like a paw.
Yeah, some church security
Yeah,
guys come out.
that's what it was.
One of which
Yeah.
worked for the police department.
Yeah. So they come out and they're like, "What the hell?" Anyways, they realize what a fucking shit show that almost could have been. Like this guy
Yeah.
would have absolutely gone to that church and be like, "I'm not coming out." I would have fucking taken hostages or like
Hostages, yeah.
Oh,
turned into an
man.
active
Yeah.
shooter situation. Like it was that close to being a not
Yeah.
good incident.
Yeah,
But
that
they-
gun is stolen,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah, it was stolen. The gun was stolen. He stole the car. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
But they get him subdued. They arrest him. They throw him in the back. So, anyways, we show up. We take this gun, find out it's stolen. We take that. We find the stolen vehicle, get that back to the owner. You get the idea. So, like,
Mhm.
we dealt with that. But, anyways, so on this particular day and this particular time, we're going to call him Frank. We deal with Frank. So, anyways, Frank gets arrested for all this fucking shit. We deal with Frank all the fucking time.
Yeah.
It's not anything different for us. We move on to the next bad guy, whatever. Couple of weeks or months go by because he bonds
Some
out.
time passes.
Yeah, some time passes. I mean, he bonds out, whatever. Well, the next time we hear from old Frank, we get a phone call from the next like agency over, and they're like, "Hey, what do you know about this person?" And we're like, "Well, we know all these things about this person because he's a piece of shit. Why?" I'm like, "Well, his body was found decapitated in the trunk of this car, like he's been murdered." So that's why we're asking. We're like, well, it's probably fucking meth head shit because he's retarded and he's fucking piece of shit.
Oh, my
Mhm.
gosh.
Anyways, the long and short of
Yeah.
that was that he stole from the wrong person in the
Yeah.
town that he went to, some other criminal.
Yeah.
And then this criminal was like, all right,
Took it
bitch.
upon himself.
Yeah, and he fucking killed it, which I'm not mad about it, but he fucking
Yeah.
he killed him and did all that shit. And then that agency investigated it,
Yeah.
arrested the guy that killed him. Whatever.
Yeah.
He got convicted. He's
They,
in
yeah,
prison.
they ended up working a murder investigation, but the subject of that, the victim of that murder, was someone who we used to deal with a lot. So
Yeah.
Ooh,
so-
decapitated.
Yeah, well,
So
he
this
killed him,
is-
and then he was in the process of like getting rid of the body. So
Oh, okay.
they were
I was gonna
chopping
say,
him up.
man, talk about a way to die. Like, way to
No,
go.
like,
Like,
yeah.
almost
Yeah.
decapitated.
oh, I don't know how he was actually
I
killed.
think he was
but
shot to death. I want to say.
Probably, yeah, that's what I would guess.
He
Yeah.
shot him, and then he was just gonna like dismember him and bury,
Well, I mean, you
just
know,
I
scatter
don't
the
know.
body.
Yeah, I
Asian
don't know what-
mafia, they do shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it was
did you call it?
Asian gang related.
Asian
Oh,
gang.
Asian mafia.
Yeah,
Asian
is
gang?
Asian gang related.
Asian gangs.
I don't know which Asian gang,
Man.
if it was Asian Pride or what it was, but
I can't remember, but you know, it took place in a gambling establishment.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
So you get all the
Yeah.
pieces are coming. But yeah, so he stole from the wrong person, and then that person was like, "All right, well now you're dead." And so
yeah.
we got two
So-
for the price of one, so I ain't mad about it.
Got him.
Basically, fuck Franks. On to the
Fuck Franks.
Yeah, he fucked around and found out.
Yeah.
One clarification I do want to make is the altercation that took place in front of the church. That was, I won't say his name on here because I haven't talked to him previously about it. I want to respect his personal identity and all that, but that whole use of force was primarily the deputy that got there first. Like he handled the vast majority of that.
Hmm.
By the time I got there and everyone else showed up to help, it was kind of just helping put this guy in cuffs
Oh.
and all that. But
Look at you.
that one deputy, he did a phenomenal job. Like he intercepted that dude pretty much by himself and pretty much disarmed him by himself. He did a great job. So
at
kudos
you.
to him.
Proud of you. Giving
Maybe we'll
people
have him on one day if
credit.
we can get him to agree to it. So there's that. But yeah, so that was an interesting one. And that was like the reason I put that one down here is just because it was a death investigation, and while we didn't directly work it, we were very familiar with the victim of it, and we were able to kind of help the investigating agency shed some light on who their victim was and be like, oh yeah, I can tell you all about him, so there was that. But let's see, moving on. And that one was not a suicide, so
No.
that's the other reason I bring that up.
Mhm. Sometimes crime does community a service.
Yes.
We're at 2:55.
Oh,
Okay.
Just let you know.
Roger that. Well, we're
about
almost
3
done.
hours.
Oh, great.
Yes, we are almost completed, because one thing I do want to talk about real quick, just because I personally think it's really funny in a dark way.
Yeah. Go.
This is not an investigation that we worked, and I think we've actually very briefly talked about this incident before, but we're going to call this guy Gus,
Gus.
and we're going to talk about Gus's obituary.
Yeah, fuck this piece
Oh,
of shit.
man. Okay, I
You
can't
know
wait to
you're
hear
a
this
fucking
Gus's
piece
obituary.
of shit when your fucking obituary, the like the one thing that's supposed to encapsulate,
Summarizes your
summarize
life,
your
your time
life.
on Earth.
Yeah, like it's gonna remain on the internet forever. It's something for your family to go back to and be like, oh, we miss Ashley. Here, whatever. Your fucking obituary. The best thing that they can say about you is like,
Yeah.
his favorite color was black and red.
It's
This
the
piece
best
of shit.
thing.
That's
the
literally
best
That's what
thing
it
he
says.
said.
That's a direct quote from the
Yeah.
fucking obituary.
This is so some context here. Gus was a very troubled individual that committed much crime in his life and was kind of a menace to society. And he was eventually killed in a very legally justified shooting that we won't get into right now. But essentially, the reason I find so much humor in this is basically because this guy had been such an awful person, and he had actually been so awful towards his own family that like he didn't really have anyone left that had anything good to say about him.
Oh gosh.
And so the poor unfortunate like funeral home worker or whoever it was that wrote his obituary was kind of at a loss and was like, I don't really know what to say about this guy. So you could tell that they kind of tried talking to family,
Yeah.
tried talking to friends, and no one really had anything positive. So they kind of basically just wrote this as like, yeah, Gus was a man who lived here, and um, people will miss him, and his favorite colors were black and red, and we mourn his loss.
Yeah,
That's pretty
his
much what
favorite
it
color.
says.
It also did say right before the black and red. It does say like his favorite food was chicken.
Oh yeah, his favorite food
It does
was
say
chicken.
that. It's like his favorite
So-
food was chicken. His favorite colors
Who
were
who
black and
was
red.
Gus and what? How did
Well,
he
we
die?
can't
And
talk
why
We
did
about
can't
nobody
talk here.
care?
Get the button.
The button.
the
The beep.
the beep button.
No, I'll
Well,
tell you.
I'll tell you about it later. Well,
Okay,
we've
just
kind
tell me
of
about it later.
Yeah.
But
yeah. We've kind of alluded to it before, but we can't talk about it
Yeah.
in depth
Okay,
because there's
okay.
other legal considerations there. But basically, he done got himself killed. So his reign of
I
terror
think I
ended
might
one
know who
day.
you're
Yeah,
talking about. I think I
you
might know who you're
should
talking
know.
about.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
so
what
there
his
was-
obituary said?
That's what it said. That's how you know he's a piece of shit.
Oh wow.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like aside from us dealing with him and all that shit, and what he tried to do.
Yeah,
But yeah, his fucking obituary legit was like his favorite food was chicken. He loved black and
yeah.
red.
Is it the one? I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to say any names, but is it the one where the only person who might have had something good to say about him is no longer? Is he the reason that person is no longer with us? Okay, maybe I'm not thinking.
No.
You're looking at
No,
me like
no.
I don't know what I'm talking
This
about. Okay,
is- this is
it's
a
not that
different
I'm not
thing.
thinking of the
Yeah.
same guy. Okay, never
No,
mind. Never mind.
This was basically well, we just won't get into it, but I will say one more interesting thing about this.
Yes.
This is the same
excited.
individual who like kind of like we referred to earlier, like there's some people who are just they're never going to be pleased with law enforcement, are always going to, find some kind of problem and attack us on something. But this particular individual is like one of the rare cases where like no one really came out of the woodwork to um defend this individual's actions or anything like that.
Mhm.
Um, so it's just an interesting case of like the people who know you best and the people who you actually have blood ties to and that you spend a lot of time with and everything. That is the best they could come up with for this guy was well, he liked chicken and his favorite colors were black and red.
Oh
And
my
that's
gosh.
it.
Okay, so just as soon as y'all are able to talk about it,
Yeah.
One day, yeah.
I want to talk about it on the show because I'm sure people listening are going to want to know what the
What-
heck this story
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's like
I
like
read.
who this guy was to elicit that kind of response from nobody. Like
Yeah, well, like,
and,
yeah,
and
we don't
like
want
I
to
want
connect too many dots right now. but there's
As
that.
soon as you're able to talk about it, I just want to talk about it on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I and yeah, it's oh man, golly, what kind of person do you have
He's
to
a piece
be?
of shit.
but the reason I bring that one up was because there was a death investigation associated with it, and then like the ultimate like culmination of that whole thing was this obituary that's all that could be
Yeah,
said.
that's great.
So I thought that was kind of funny in a dark way.
Like I know I'm not Mother Teresa, but I like to think that when my obituary is made, someone will at least be like,
Something.
"Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like
yeah,
she occasionally did a good thing."
yeah. This one time she helped
Something.
someone. Like this one time she put her shopping cart back after she was
Yeah.
done shopping.
Something,
Yeah,
anything.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah,
Anything at all. Like when she was 12, she volunteered at humane societies or
Yeah.
something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, something. But anyway, the next case that, and I know we're kind of trying to get through these cases and call this an episode, but
chop.
This one I'm gonna talk about real quick just because it was really simple. We're back to suicide, but this one is I do not believe in intentional suicide.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this one,
That's an oxymoron.
yeah, it is, but hear me out. So, this one starts out as a shots fired call, in a small town in our jurisdiction. So I end up going just because I heard it on the radio and I wanted to go help because we didn't know what was going on yet. But residential area of town, a neighbor calls and says, "Hey, I think I just heard a gunshot from my neighbor's house. So I'm letting you cops know to go figure it out." Well, we get there and the front door is actually not only unlocked, but it's like open whenever we arrive. So we go inside, weapons drawn. Don't really know what's going on yet. But there's a lady sitting on the couch that has a very obvious gunshot wound to the side of her head, and like the left side of her head has an entry wound, the right side of her head has an exit wound. There is tons of blood and brain matter and all that stuff like on the wall behind her while she's sitting on the couch, and there's a pistol in her lap. So nothing we can really do for her, but we proceed to like clear the rest of the house, make sure there's not anyone in there. Nope, we don't find anyone in there. There's no signs of forced entry to the house or anything like that. So we go back in and I start to like reassess the situation. And this lady is actually, it was a very eerie sight. So mind you, she's got her brains plastered all on the wall behind her, but she's actually still breathing and she's actually still like her eyes are open and she's blinking. And
Ooh.
as I'm walking around the room, because there's no medical aid that we can render to her. I mean, I can't scoop her brains back up and put them back in her head or anything.
But
So
she's
like,
tracking you?
yeah,
Her eyes are
she's
open?
following me with her eyes.
Ah!
Yeah, so all I can really do at that point is like we've already secured the scene, and she's dead. I mean, she's still got a pulse and everything. So call that whatever you want to call it. But all I know to do at that point is I'm like, well, I need to start documenting the scene as we found it, as we continue to investigate what happened. So that's what I start to do is I start taking photos of the scene, and as I'm walking around taking photos of the scene, she's following me with her eyes and
Oh my
breathing
gosh,
real
that's
heavy.
so
Yeah, it
weird.
was really weird. Well, and I didn't know. I mean, I still don't know to this day, like how much brain function like she still
Hmm.
had, if any, or if this is just nerves or what. But the fact that she could like follow me around, I was like, I don't know if she's still conscious somehow or what.
But it was obvious she was dying, like her
Yeah,
brains
her
were
brains
coming
are on
out.
the outside,
Oh
like
yeah,
on
she
the
ain't
wall.
surviving.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
she's done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
And like as we're doing this, like blood is like actively pulsing out of the side of her head with the brains and everything. And so and weird tidbit that I'm just gonna mention because I don't know, sometimes weird things like this happen on scenes, but there's a lot of brains out of her head already. And then as blood continued, like her heart was still beating, so as blood was continuing to pump out of her head, it was that really thick, like
Mm,
brain blood mixed with like brain matter and
yeah.
everything. And I remember it looked to me like bloody toothpaste,
Yep.
like coming out
Ooh.
as like the consistency of it.
That's a
Yep.
description.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. That's how I would describe it, I guess. But
No.
anyway, I didn't know if she could like understand me or like if she knew what had happened or whatever. But so I remember talking to her like not like in depth, but I just told her I don't remember exactly what I said, but I said something about like like I'm sorry this happened, you know, and she obviously couldn't really reply or anything, but
Was she looking at you when you said
hmm
that?
yeah, I
Oh
mean,
my gosh, I can't even that
Angels
just
of
this
death.
picture.
That's what law enforcement is.
I just
yeah,
You
can't
get to.
even.
It's a career full of just watching people die.
Oh.
Sometimes you just got to sit there. Like we had a deputy here that this girl got like decapitated in a fucking car,
oh
and
yeah,
she was dying, and so he just like crawled into the car and held her hand and was like, "Okay,
hmm
Oh.
sorry," and then she dies, and then he's like, "All
hmm
right, cool." And it's fine. You know what I mean?
Wow.
hmm
Like sometimes that's all you can do is
yeah.
just be like, "Better luck in the
Sometimes,
next life, pal."
yeah, sometimes you get to these people and like they're dead, like they're just not dead yet. There's nothing you can do for them. Like none of my medical training, or I don't think anyone's medical training can
No.
save this lady. Like her, half her brains are on the wall, the other half is like slowly like pumping out of her head. So I don't know about that, but yeah, I basically told her I was sorry for what happened to her. And I took my pictures and everything, and then after a couple minutes or so, she stopped breathing and she was officially, I think, gone. Um, but long story short, on that one, investigation ensues. Like I said, no signs of forced entry, no one else in the house. We talked to neighbors, we talked to family. Um, this woman worked at a local large business in town, and we talked to the coworkers, um, and I'm sorry, I think I said a neighbor called this in, which I think is true. I think a neighbor called and said that they think they heard a gunshot, but I think local PD had rolled around and like they didn't see anything, didn't hear anything, and so there was nothing to be done about it. And then later, so what we find out is the deceased lady, she worked at a local large business and she carpooled to work with a couple other ladies that also worked there. And so these two ladies that she carpooled with had pulled up into her driveway, and like they did a million times, they pull up in the driveway, they honk a couple times, and normally she comes out and gets in the car and they all go to work together. Well, on this day, they had pulled up and then they had also called 911 because they pulled up and they honked and she didn't come out and they honked again and she didn't come out. So they called her and she wasn't answering. So they went up to the door and they knocked and then they said that they like grabbed the doorknob and they opened it and it was unlocked. And as they opened the door and it swung open, they saw her on the couch in the state that she was in and they freaked out and they ran back to their car and they called 911.
Mm.
And that's why when we get there, the door's already open and all that stuff. But we end up finding like a receipt for the gun that we found in her lap, which was just a little 9 millimeter Smith and Wesson handgun. But she had, according to the receipt, she had purchased that handgun one day prior to this. And then also talking to local PD, they were familiar with her, not as like a problem person, but I guess she had contacted the local PD and said, "Hey, like I've just been kind of nervous about prowlers being around, and like I want to make sure that I'm safe. Like, do y'all have any tips for home security and blah blah blah." So they had talked to her about that, but I guess from that conversation, she had gone and decided to purchase a firearm, which she then brought back home with a box of ammunition. And she was also dressed for work. So it looked like she was just sitting on her couch, dressed for work, waiting on her friends to come pick her up for work. And it is my belief, after reviewing all the evidence and the totality of the circumstances, that she was simply sitting on her couch and playing with her new gun
Oh my
and
gosh.
accidentally popped herself in the side of the head.
Jeez Louise.
Yep. Um, but yeah, there was no evidence to suggest that that was intentional. No one we talked to talked about her being depressed or suicidal or anything like that. There was no other indicators to suggest that, even like circumstantially. Um, her house was very clean, very orderly, well maintained. A lot of times with like very depressed, suicidal people, their homes will not be that way. They'll be in very extreme circumstances of disarray where they're very dirty, messy, and that's not like a
Mm-hmm.
total indicator or anything. But basically, there was just nothing. There was no
To
note
suggest, yeah,
that she left
suicide.
or anything like that. So I really do believe that it was a suicide, but I think it was really an accident. I think that she
She
had
was
got this gun
mm,
and was messing with it while she was waiting to go to work, and had an accidental discharge, and it killed her. Um,
Basically, the moral of the story is fuck firearm safety etiquette.
like apparently.
yeah, yeah. Well, and like based on like the wound to her head and everything, because like we really looked a lot at the actual gun itself because it had some blood stains on it. And then we looked at the entry wound, and her hands and everything, and it didn't even really look like she raised the gun up to her head, to the side of her head, and pulled the trigger. But we couldn't really figure out.
Maybe she was spitting it.
That's what we thought, is we couldn't
Yeah.
really figure out how exactly she was able to do that. We thought maybe she was trying to be Doc Holliday or something and was spinning it around and it was loaded and it she hit that trigger and it went off or something. That was the other weird thing about that case was, so she had that entry wound in the left side of her head and then massive exit wound in the right side of her head. And despite that massive exit wound, we looked all over that living room everywhere for where that round went because we were like, oh, it had to have gone
Mm-hmm.
into the wall or maybe it went through the window or whatever. We looked everywhere. We even looked in the couch and everything. We never found that round. Never found out where it went. We never saw any bullet holes in the ceiling or the walls or the window. And then we were very confused about that. Could not figure it out. But I believe they did find the round during autopsy. That either that next day or the day after that. And it looked like the round had gone into the head and gone all the way through the brain, like mushified it, and then hit the other side of the skull and like blown out a chunk of the skull. but then somehow the bullet did a weird thing and it like went up her skull and like basically followed the bone of the top of the dome of the skull and arced around and then went down her throat like into her guts.
Oh,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
bullets are weird.
yeah,
Very weird.
bullets don't
Yeah.
always like exit like you
Yeah.
think they will.
Yeah, and
We've,
that one
we've
was weird because there was a
yeah,
really significant exit wound. It's like, well, this round had to go somewhere, but no, it never
yeah.
left her body.
Yep. I mean, we've all tested it. I've massaged a dude's whole ass head for a long time, milking blood out of his body when the round the whole time was inside his fucking chest.
Oh, wow.
Like, I mean, it bounced. I had one time it bounced around the skull. Like, it got shot in the eye, and then it bounced around inside the skull and was just hanging out like at the top of
Yeah.
the fucking head. And then they had to like surgically remove it and shit. Like, I mean,
Mm.
bullets don't always just go like through and through.
Yeah. Well, that one you're talking about, like where it went through his eye,
Mm-hmm.
that went in his eye, it bounced around in his head and just shredded up his brain, and then it came out like it broke the bone in the top of his head, but it basically got like it had lost so much momentum at that point that like just the tension of like the skin, like the scalp, kept it from actually coming out, so it was like stuck underneath his scalp. So in the autopsy, when they peeled the top of his head off, they're like, "Oh, here it is."
Yep.
So
I mean, it's very common. It
That's
happens.
strange.
And sometimes it's like even like the head. Obviously, it's pretty notorious for doing that because it's the skull. It's
Yeah.
very strong. But even
Yeah.
sometimes, depending on how fat someone is, how much muscle they have, the kind of bullet you're using, how far away they are.
Physics.
Oh
Yeah, sometimes the bullet, depending on the caliber, doesn't even exit certain parts of the body. Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes it bounces around.
It's really weird. It's pretty unpredictable.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that was an interesting
I
one.
think
But
that story is also it is a lesson in firearm safety and etiquette. And this poor unfortunate woman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
yeah,
obviously she's you hate to say it, but it's her own fault.
it was a needless death.
It was
like
yeah, it was a
most
needless
are.
death, and it's someone who had the right to own a weapon
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
for very good reasons, for self defense and just safety,
Mhm.
but unfortunately wasn't trained in safety etiquette, which sometimes you would think is
Yeah.
kind of common sense, but you can't always assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Because
not
people
always.
just don't know,
Yep.
they don't know weapons, and
Yep.
maybe she had plans later on to take a class or to learn on YouTube or to do something, but
Mhm.
she hadn't yet, and she
Yep.
was still
Yeah.
playing with it.
She's about the only one on this
unsafely.
list I won't make fun of.
Yeah, that's
Which is
just
oddly
super
enough, yeah.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Well,
that
I
is the
mean,
moral of the story.
at this point, we've covered like suicides that had a lot of planning in advance and were very intentional. We've talked about suicides that I think were more heat of the moment and kind of just happened out of a, I don't know, for lack of a better term, heat of the moment. And then this one I think was a suicide that was completely accidental. I don't think there was any like real intent. I don't think she wanted to end her life, but she made a horrible mistake, and that's what happened. Um,
Yeah.
so there's that. And then yeah, we've also talked about death investigation that we weren't directly involved in, but was not a suicide. More, it was a homicide thing, which segues into
Mhm.
this next one,
Oh god.
which I only have two more, by the way. But this one is going to be, um, let's see here. We're going to call this, actually, let me make sure I covered. Hold on. This was a straight up homicide, but Flores, I think you can speak to it a lot more than me, maybe. This is a case where a man who is very well known to local law enforcement was murdered by um, his daughter, but I
Oh
think it.
yeah.
I don't know if it was his biological daughter or not.
I believe it is, or no, I take that back. It's stepdaughter.
Okay,
That is his stepdaughter. So
so
really, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
well, this one like I'm not sure like what all involvement you might have had with it. I don't know if this is whenever you
Virtually
started.
none.
Oh, okay. Wasn't sure if this is whenever you had started to dabble in the CSI stuff or not. But
No, virtually none involvement in this one. This one happened on my
okay.
days off. I was not yet doing the CSI
Okay.
stuff. Like, yeah,
Okay.
I had nothing to do with that one.
Roger that. Well, actually was on duty when this happened. I just wasn't a detective at this time, so I had nothing to do with the actual investigation. But the long story short of this one is cops get dispatched to a house, shots fired, and then the caller actually tells dispatch there's a male subject at the house with a gunshot wound to the head, and the shooter has fled the scene. Um, I think they said in a red pickup. And so I was on patrol at that time, and so there were already other units that were closer to the house than I was at the time. who showed up to the house to try and render aid to the guy that had been shot in the head.
Normal drug home. We're very familiar with it.
Yeah, very familiar with it. Very familiar with this part of town. But since there's already people there tending to the guy who got shot, I kind of just started canvassing the area looking for the person who fled. I never found them because we found out later that this incident occurred and then 911 was not even contacted until like about 25 minutes later. So the person who fled was long gone by the time I started looking around the neighborhood for him. Um, but um, at this point, I think both you and I have about the same involvement with this one directly, which is basically none.
Mm-hmm.
But what can you tell us about kind of the altercation that happened between these two?
Well, basically, we have two meth heads that are both retarded and they're both pieces of shits and they're doing meth head retarded piece of shit things. And they're inside this drug house. This is going to be, again, stepdad and stepdaughter. And stepdaughter had a shit ton of problems. Stepdaughter was kind of weird because she was also trans and she had gone through the entire process. Looks like a man, sounds like, I know that's rich coming from me. I have a pretty deep voice for a woman, but sounds like a man, has a beard, looks like a boy, has no fucking tits. You know what I mean? Like, she looks like a dude. You would never look at her and be like, that is a woman. But we know who she is because we've been dealing with her for years. And in
Yeah.
fact, the last time I dealt with her before she got arrested for this and before this happened, it was a traffic stop. She had warrants. Well, she also has meth on her, whatever. Well, they have me go search her because I'm a woman and she is a woman. So I go and I'm being polite. And I'm like, hey, man, whatever. And I'm referring to her as like man and dude, which could be ambiguous, but, whatever. I'm not trying to be a dick. I was like, hey, man, go ahead and put your hands over here. I'm going to do this and that, whatever. Okay. So, like, I'm searching her mid search. She turns back to me and she's like, I'm a woman. And so I remember it confused me because I look at her and I was like, yeah, I know that. And then we just both like look at each other and then she just drops it and goes back to like certain. So I was like, well, is she offended that I'm calling her man and like dude? But then I'm also like, but if you're trans and you've gone through this whole process to look like this,
Yeah.
why do you like what? You know what I mean?
Like
So
you're injecting stuff to grow a beard.
yeah,
So
exactly. I don't know why she said that. I never did ask her, but she did turn around. She's like, I am a woman. And so I was like,
okay,
okay,
like
I
that's
know
kind of
that.
why I'm here.
That's why I'm here. I told her, I was like, yeah, I know. I'm a woman too. That's why I'm searching you. Maybe she didn't think I was a woman. I don't fucking know. So maybe that's why she did it. But so we do this whole thing, and that happened a little while before this. But anyways, they're very well known to us. They're both meth heads. They both like to do meth and steal and stuff like that. The dad is more of a piece of shit than the daughter. To be fair, I could see why she has a bunch of problems because if you grow up with a stepdad meth head that fucking does all this shit, yeah, you'd probably have a bunch of problems too.
Oh yeah.
So, but anyways, this particular date and time, they're having a domestic, and basically he says something to it because she finally what she ended up saying was that she did it in self defense because he abuses her and he's a piece of shit and all this other stuff. And yeah, he probably does because he is a massive piece of shit.
Yeah, it's believable.
Yeah, absolutely. So, anyways, she eventually comes out and says, "Well, self defense, and it was because he had a baseball bat or a machete. I think it was a machete.
Machete, yeah.
Yeah, he had a machete and he was threatening to fucking kill me and all this other shit. And so I picked the gun up and I was like, "No, you're fucking not. I'll use this." And he sat there and he kept calling me a pussy and said I wouldn't do shit and I'm not gonna do anything because I'm a pussy and I'm not really a man. I'm not a real man. And all this other shit. So he starts like saying he's antagonizing her. And eventually, I think she got so mad that I don't think she woke up that day. Obviously, I was like, I'm gonna kill my piece of shit stepdad. I think she got mad because he's antagonizing her, and she's like, fine, I fucking will. And
Watch this.
yeah, and she pops his ass, and she got him. And then obviously, I think, which to his credit too, I think he did think that she was absolutely a pussy and would not do anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, why else would you stand there too?
He
when
called
you have
that bluff and he lost.
Yeah, exactly. So he called her bluff, and then she actually popped him. And then when she realized what she had done, she's like, "Well, time for me to run." And then she ran, and then we find her later and all this other shit. So he became a veggie for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or some shit. Yeah, he could only like move his eyes for a while, but eventually he died. So it was a murder.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much that.
That's actually not the first time like we've seen something like that. It's not the last either. Like
Mhm.
there have been other cases like that where like problem person number one pulls a gun on problem person number two during an argument and it basically devolves into like
Yeah.
you ain't gonna do it, like do it, see what happens, like you ain't gonna do shit, and then okay, boom, and then we have an ensuing murder investigation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was what happened with that one. So she's in prison now.
Yep.
And again, you got 2 for the price of 1.
That does happen sometimes where there's people that law enforcement deal with frequently that commit lots of crime and victimize lots of people in the community. And then one of these problem people kills the other problem person and then ends up going away for a long time, if not forever. And it's weird. It does kind of sort itself out to a degree. So
Yeah.
there's that. Let's see here. All right. I know we're trying to wrap this up.
Yeah, sorry. That's why I'm hitting bullet points. I'm not
Yeah,
trying to.
no. Yeah, that's good. I know I said we only have 2 more before this one we just did, but
Oh
I
my
was
God.
lying. We had 3. So
Oh my
I've got
God.
I've got 2 more on here, but one of them we can talk about very little, and then the other one we can talk about a little bit more. But I'm gonna go with this one first. So you referred to it earlier, this deceased subject that you had to like massage his
Oh,
bloody
yeah.
head.
Oh, we
You're
hadn't
familiar
talked
with
about
this?
that one before. Yeah.
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 So this one was a suicide, but it was a
Again, I think accidental.
yeah, I think it was accidental too. This suicide occurred
Fuck
during
you.
an armed standoff with police.
You little bitch.
Yeah. So this individual had been a suspect in a sexual assault investigation that I was actually working. And long story short, I worked a very long investigation that I will not get into right now because I can't. Um, but he ended up pleading guilty to this case and admitting that he did this thing. But shortly after that, um, for whatever reason the courts decided on, he actually was not in custody. He was at home. And it was very late one night, and the night shift patrol deputies got a call that there was a man armed with a gun at his house, and he had taken cell phones away from everyone in his family who lived at the house with him, and he was now holding people hostage at gunpoint. One of the people in the house was able to get away and run to a neighbor's house, which is how 911 was contacted. But the patrol deputies respond. When they get there, this male subject had actually fled the house and gone into another building close by. And they were able to locate him there, and they made contact with him there. And they could see him, and he was holding a pistol in his hand, and he was um, not like actively shooting at them or threatening them or anything. But um, in my opinion, of course, we'll never know for a fact because we cannot speak with this individual. But I think he was trying to elicit some kind of suicide by cop thing. But the 2 responding cops did not shoot him or anything. They were trying to talk him down, trying to get him to drop the gun. Um, and then at one point, he's not having it. He's not dropping the gun. And then at one point, um, the responding officers even begin to attempt to uh, formulate some kind of plan to use a less lethal weapon option on him to try and subdue him and actually one get him into custody, but two kind of save him from himself because he's starting to make statements about hurting himself. But anyway, as those conversations are being had, he holds the gun up to his own head, and then he's saying something to the deputies, and he's actually talking in like mid sentence. The gun goes off, and he killed himself in front of the deputies.
I think he had every intention of them shooting him eventually,
Yeah.
or he would just do it himself. But he's legit mid sentence. He's talking to them. He's antagonizing the whole time. I
Mm-hmm.
think his fucking finger slipped and he
Yeah.
accidentally dome tapped himself.
Well, and like for any listeners out there who are gun guys or who are familiar with weapons, he has a 1911 style handgun that's actually chambered in 9mm, but it's a 1911 style gun, and he has the hammer cocked back on it. So if you know anything about that weapon platform, you know that's going to be a very light trigger pull typically. I mean, can't prove anything obviously, but I personally believe that he held the gun up to his head for whatever reason, and then we also found out later in this investigation that he was pretty well intoxicated at
And
this
he's
time.
drinking beer like in front of him too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah. He's
yeah,
standing
he
there
like,
with a gun in his hand and a
yeah,
beer in the other.
yeah, he keeps like he'll put the beer down, he'll take a great big old swig of it, and he puts it back down, and then he yells at him some more, and then like he does this.
Yeah.
For
This
a
goes
while.
on for a while,
Yeah.
several minutes. Yeah. But we think, or I think, I should say, speaking for myself, that he put the gun up to his head, and then in his kind of intoxicated state, and with a really light trigger like that, I think at some point his finger brushed up against it and it went off while he was mid sentence and he killed himself.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but that was another one where, bullet went into the head and did not come out of the head.
Yeah.
That one actually went straight up, and like when Flores is talking about like massaging this dude's head and all that, the reason she was doing that was we were looking for the exit wound. We knew based on what the responding deputies had told us and what we could see where the entry wound was, but we were looking for an exit wound. His head was very bloody whenever CID arrived on scene, and so putting the gloves on, and then Flores did the brunt of it and was really looking for the exit wound, trying to feel it with her fingers because his hair was all matted with blood and everything. It was starting to coagulate.
Yeah, he had a little bit of skull
Yeah,
shit too.
yeah, a little bit of that.
Which confused me greatly because I was like, well, fucking exit hole. So
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there fucking shampooing his bloody scalp and
Yeah,
shit.
pretty
and I
much. Yeah,
couldn't fucking find it because it didn't exist.
yeah. No, well, I mean, like I said, you did the brunt of it and really looked, and then at some point, I don't know if you went to change gloves or what, but Fisher and I were still over there, and I did the same thing, looking just to see if I could pick up anything, and nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found out later that there was no exit wound. Bullet never left his head. Um, so both of these cases that we're talking about, this one and then the lady that, yeah.
Mhm.
So she actually had an exit wound, but the round was still in there. Both of those cases, the rounds that were used were just regular, like lead ball target practice ammo. Like it wasn't any kind of fancy hollow point or
Mhm.
defensive round or solid copper or anything like that. It was just lead ball target ammo. But yeah,
Yep.
interesting bullet performance there
Yep. There's
on
that
both
one.
those.
I talked to him the day before he did that, or like,
Did you?
yeah. Well, I want to say I talked to him on like Friday or a Thursday, and he did that like a fucking Saturday night. It was
Ah,
a day or
yeah.
2 days before because he had to. One of his punishments was that he was now in the sex offender registry. So
Oh
now
yeah.
he had to come deal with me. So he called me and was like, "Hey, when do I meet?" I was like, "You're gonna meet me on Monday at this day at this time. Bring all this shit, and we'll get you put on the registry." And he's like, "Okay." Well, then I get woken up at
Mm-hmm.
1 in the morning on like a day or two later, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Hey,
Like we need y'all to come out
we
here. The
need you to
thing
come out
happened.
here and do this thing with him." Yeah, and so well, it saves me a
Yeah.
bunch of paperwork. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, so there was that. But that's the case, and then
Fuck sex offenders. That's the moral of the story.
this leads us to our last one.
Okay.
Um
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, that's a horrific category of crime. Um this last one though. This one we're gonna have to I know with like almost everything we talk about on this show, we're gonna have to kind of tiptoe around some of this one,
Hmm.
because I don't know its later state of completion. I know the investigation is over, but I don't know if everything has been submitted from all agencies that were involved. So we're gonna have to
Yeah.
tiptoe a little bit. But this is one that you and I and our team that we work with got to work alongside the U.S. Army's
Oh yeah.
Criminal Investigations Division,
Yes.
which is pretty cool. Do you want to kind of pick this one up?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I actually kind of dealt with this in two different capacities. Well, not really. No, never mind. I'm not going to mention the second capacity. In the first
Okay.
capacity, minding my own business at home, it's the middle of the night. I get woken up and I'm told, hey, there is a dead body that's been found out here, like right outside the city limits. Need you and the CSI bitches to come out here and come deal with this shit. We're currently working on getting all these people spun up to come out here and investigate. We don't know who this person is. We really haven't done a whole lot yet, but we think it could be related to this other thing. That do we want to talk about that or no?
We're gonna say
Basically, it's
this
we've
guy was a person of interest for other reasons that we can't get into right now, but
yeah.
law enforcement was attempting to locate him.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Basically, other people wanted him found, and so we had previously been contacted by other people and said, "Hey, if y'all come in contact with this person, we want this
Yeah,
person."
detain him
Yeah,
at
detain him
minimum. Yeah.
at minimum, if not like. But anyways, you get the idea. So, law enforcement had previously been told about that, and so they're like, we think it could be this person. So I was like, okay, call all the CSI bitches. I get out there first, uh, and I'm looking at stuff, and of course, eventually the CSI team gets out there. We section off the crime scene. basically the highway, and there's like a little dirt access road that a bunch of people use to drive like dirt bikes and
It runs like parallel to the highway.
yeah, it's not really a road, but a lot of people use it to just piddle fart around and drive around out there on their ATVs and shit. So, anyways, it's down there in this like canyony area. So the nice thing about that is that you don't have to put up any screens or hide
Yeah.
hide bodies and whatnot because it's
He's like in a little ravine, and so
yeah.
and there's tall weeds and stuff, so like you
Mhm.
can't really see him until
Yeah,
you're
you
down
couldn't see
there.
him from the road, and that's how it happened. Was someone was playing in the middle of the night on their ATV, and yeah, and the headlights caught boots in the grass, and they were like, what the hell?" And they
Yeah.
go up on it, and they're like, "Oh shit, that's a dead body."
They
So
thought the caller thought that it was a Halloween decoration,
yeah,
and then went to go look and was like, "That's pretty realistic." Like,
yep. Yeah. So, but anyways, get out there, and all the CSI bitches get out there, and so we start investigating it, and then eventually the United States Army shows up, and they're like, "Hey, this is absolutely the person that we've been looking for, and now we're gonna also help y'all and deal with y'all and whatever the hell." So, really long story short, we process that scene. We take all this. It appears like a suicide. Of course, you never want to come right out and be like, "It's a suicide."
yeah,
So,
you never want to make assumptions.
right, yeah. So, but it appears like it's a suicide. I've like we process everything and we take everything out of his pockets, do all this stuff. We identify him. Obviously, the U.S. Army positively identifies him, all this other shit. So we deal with all that, and then take the body down to autopsy. Fifth and goes to that. I couldn't because I had something else to do. I can't remember.
We were really busy at that time.
Yeah, there
like
was a
usual.
shit ton going on. So, but anyways, we get done doing all this. We take that. We find a gun on him. Take the gun. We take all the bullets. We take his magazines. All this kind of stuff. We process it like normal. Send everything down to autopsy. Send everything to forensic laboratories for them to do tests on the gun and things like that. And then Fifth End can probably attest to this next part since you were actually at the autopsy.
Yeah. So at this autopsy, like any other, basically, we've talked about it on this show before. I think actually in the previous parts of this episode before.
Yeah.
The forensic pathologists, the people that conduct the autopsy, like that body is their crime scene. So
Mhm.
like they inspect it very very thoroughly, and they do a great job. So at autopsy, the pathologists do a great job. And then based on we got some indicators of this on scene that night, but like trying to determine his time of death and everything on scene was difficult because we were trying to determine, how long he had been there, how long he had been deceased, and everything. But it had rained recently in our area, and the temperature had been doing weird things. It was just a time of year where it gets real hot, it gets real cold, it gets real hot, it gets real cold, like within the same 24-hour period.
Mhm. I do
So
remember I was pretty spot on about the time frame too.
you were, yeah.
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 Well, you know
Yeah.
how Flores can smell death and stuff? Like
Yeah.
that came into play here because she took one whiff of this dude and was like, "Oh yeah, 48 hours."
He didn't he didn't appear to look too bad. It's rainy and soggy like he said.
Mhm.
But when I'm processing the body, I noticed that the very tips of his fingers are starting to decay. They're
Mhm.
like real sunken in and starting to get
Fingernails falling off.
yeah, they're starting to get real nasty looking, but if you just looked at everything else, he looks fine. And then like the bullet wound, there was some like
Mhm.
larvae and maggots and stuff. So I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, okay."
and that's one thing at autopsy is
Yeah.
when they did pull his brain out, his brain was covered in all
Yeah.
sorts of maggots, and
Oh,
so that was pretty gnarly for sure. It was a I'm gonna say this because it's like that morbid dark humor or whatever, but someone at the autopsy mentioned that it looked like he had spaghetti brain because all the
yeah.
worms.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. There was a
Yeah,
bunch.
it was nasty. But anyway, they end up finding out that yep, Detective Flores was right on the money. He's
Great.
been dead for
Thank you.
about 2 days, maybe three at most. Um, or long enough for that to happen. But anyway, we believe that based on the evidence, this subject took his own life with a gunshot wound to the head. And then they do find a actual projectile from the gun in his head. And this is where the story gets really interesting. And this is another one of those we can kind of tease, but we can't tell the whole thing. But the pathologist ends up looking at the actual bullet and picks it up and is like, "Hey, I'm just gonna mention this to you, detective. Like, I don't really know if it's anything, but I pull a lot of bullets out of a lot of people, and so I'm pretty familiar with what bullets look like and everything. And this is a really unique looking bullet. Like, it's shaped in a very interesting way. I don't see a lot like this. However, about 2 weeks or so, 2 weeks ago or so, I pulled a bullet out of a guy that looked just like this, and I thought the same thing. I thought this looks like a really weird, like kind of unique shaped bullet. Don't know if it means anything, but pretty pretty weird coincidence, yeah.
Yeah.
So I make some phone calls, and I was aware of another investigation going on in our area that we were not part of, but I was aware that it was going on. End up making a connection, and without saying any more than that, this discovery and this connection ends up solving our and closing our suicide case, and also solving and closing another homicide case in a different jurisdiction. So,
Infer from that what you will, basically.
yeah, yeah, but we were able to do some ballistics testing and everything, and basically determine that um, these two different rounds that the pathologist was talking about came from, well, they were fired from the same weapon.
Yeah.
So there was some other stuff there. We may have to go back and edit a lot of this. I need to check on some things.
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, my intent is one day to reach out to our newfound friends over at Army CID and see if I can jump through whatever hoops the Army has to get clearance for them to come
Bet
on
you
this
they'll
show.
tell us to get bent.
Probably, yeah, yeah. But we've been through the FBI's media relations process
Yeah,
on that,
yeah, that was
so
pretty good.
maybe we can jump through the hoops and do that. Well, with all that said, that is everything I have on my list of stuff to talk about. Now, I know there's numerous other cases. Like we could be here for
A long time.
months on end talking about cases and stuff, but these were just ones that you and I came up with in 5 minutes of talking to each other about what are some interesting ones that we could maybe bring up, and
Yeah.
that's kind of a little less than a dozen that we came up with. But I guess to kind of close this out, um, and to kind of wrap up all of episode 10.7, as we've previously discussed, death comes in threes, and this is part 3. But with you being our special guest,
Oh,
Flores,
thank you.
we also want to know, what are your future plans, your career goals? You're doing the detective stuff now, but like, where do you see yourself going? Are you going to do this for 2 more years and bail? You trying to be the sheriff one day? Like,
No,
what are you doing? Are
absolutely
you going to
not.
open the Flores Forensic Lab?
Oh
What?
man, Flores Forensic Lab would be pretty cool. But
It would be cool.
as far as what comes next, I don't really know because I do really enjoy my detective-y job. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to do,
Sure.
and now I'm doing that. So, and I've been doing that now for a little over 2 years. So, like, I'm fine. I'm okay staying here investigating financial crimes, sexual assault, or whatever the hell
Yeah.
comes my way. I really like investigations, so I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. I would like to acquire more experience and do more cool, like high speed shit.
Mm-hmm.
And you already know this, but I would kind of like to see if I couldn't do perhaps some sort of task force officer stuff
Yeah.
for different federal agencies, or if I
Yeah.
could maybe just go receive more specialized trainings to be able to at least come back here and be like, okay, now I can do digital forensics on,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would like to fine tune my investigative abilities and like career,
Mm-hmm.
but no, I don't really. Other than that, I don't really know. Sometimes I bake shit and sell it on the internet for side money. Who knows? I mean, I've always said that I'm going to do 20 and out, and then I know I'm young, but I've got 10. If I stick to that, I have 10 more years of service, and then I'm out, regardless of whether or not I'm eligible to retire or some shit. I mean, I'm not going to pull my retirement, but I'll have 10
Yeah.
more years of service, and then I'm fucking off, and I'm going to go do whatever other job. So I don't know because I have a lot of general interests, and I don't think that I'm too stupid. I think that it might be difficult, but I think I could learn to do something else. Now, what that's
Mm-hmm.
going to be, who knows? Because briefly I left law enforcement and I did welding, and then, or
Yeah.
maybe I'll do bakery on the side. Maybe because I have figured out that I really like financial crimes. Maybe I'll,
More power to you.
yeah, I know they suck. Maybe I'll try to do like specialize. Maybe I can go be a financial advisor someday, or get
Yeah.
into maybe becoming a financial auditor.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, who knows? Basically, not even I know, but I do know that for the time being, I'm investigating, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I'm where I'm at, and that's all I want to do. Yeah, I just really want to not be retarded or a piece of shit, and I just want to do good investigations and have good cases, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know. I mean, I like being helpful. I wouldn't mind. I certainly wouldn't mind someday if they were like, "Hey, Flores, would you like to just be queen of the agency?" And which, no, I'm not running for sheriff. I do not want to run for sheriff. I don't want, no.
Chief Deputy Flores.
No, but like what I'm saying is that if they're like, I don't know, Flores, you want to be lieutenant of
CID.
CSI or yeah, whatever the hell, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, because I like trying to solve problems and fix things, and I think I could do a good job in that. But regardless, I'm
Yeah.
perfectly okay with staying where I'm at as long as I'm investigating things. So.
Yeah, that's a good spot to be in, where like you're doing what you always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, hell, you're there, enjoy it. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
do a great job with it and live it up.
yeah. So I mean, who knows? But for now, I'm good. I don't need to do anything else career wise.
Yeah,
I'm good.
well, as we continue to work together, and I think as we kind of move forward, and as we continue to work together, and like more of our cases and stories that we can tell become not classified and not redacted, and we can talk about them. I think there's a pretty good chance we might ask you to come back on at some point and be like,
sure.
"Hey, you remember that one time we referred to this, but we couldn't talk about it? Well, now we can."
Yeah. There's so many cases and so many things. A lot of people don't understand that. I have family and friends that'll come up and they're like, sorry. I'll have family. I thought you were about to throw up or something. I'll have family and friends that are like, you remember this one time you did this or this, that? And I forget because I'm like, listen, we're on dead body number fucking 27 for the first quarter of the year. This is burglary number 400. Like, we're going to forget shit.
Yeah.
But,
you ever go like, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you ever like go back, like reviewing, like let's say you get subpoenaed for court and you're going to have to testify to something. So, like, man, I don't even remember what this is. And you go back and read your own report that you wrote like a few years ago, and you're like, man, like I don't remember doing this. I don't remember talking to this person. I don't remember taking these photos, but I wrote a report that says that I did. So
yeah, I'll go back and I'll look at my camera. I'm like, man, I don't remember. Thank God we have cameras because I don't fucking remember what the hell.
Real. For real.
Yeah, that
It's just
happens.
so much.
Yeah,
like,
there's only so much you can retain and remember.
There's some stuff like that where like I get subpoenaed, and so I go to review the case so I can testify to it, and I'm like, man, if I didn't get subpoenaed for this, like I don't think I ever would have thought about this for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Ever again. But
yeah, I have a case on Monday for that exact same thing. that I'm like,
well,
huh,
there you go.
I would never have thought about this for another second in my life.
Well, and that actually we've come full circle, because talking about like the process of a case and all that, like this thing that you have coming up Monday that you're going to testify for and everything, this happened, what, 3 years ago?
3 years ago. Yeah. And so they gave me a subpoena one day. This is about a month ago. They gave me the subpoena and they went, here you go. Now you show up for court on this thing. And they gave it to me and I went, oh,
what is this?
What the fuck is this? And I looked at it and I was like, oh man. And the only reason I remember this one is because it was a clusterfuck of a case. So I saw it and I was like, oh fuck. I've been dreading the day this one goes to court because god dang, that's going to take forever. And so yeah. But yeah, it's been 3 years and now I'm going to be like, so much has changed because back then I'll be like, no, I was not a detective then. So I was a deputy. That's why I was doing this thing. And that's why I did this thing. And you get the idea of like, yeah. But no, I'll absolutely come back to talk about any unclassified, unredacted things that need to be hashed out. But yeah, thanks for.
Eventually, that stuff will come along, and we can talk about it in more depth. But
yeah, in the meantime, thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me.
Thanks for coming on for all 3 parts. This is the first. The first 3-parter that we've ever done, just because it was 10-7 and we thought it'd be cool. It ended up taking forever to do, but I'm glad that we completed it now.
Yes, well, thank you.
We actually have more episodes already in the bank, but we've just been waiting to release them until this one comes out because
thank you.
I was just feeling OCD and I didn't want to release things out of order.
That's okay. Okay. Well, I'm sorry it took so long, and I'm sorry that
it
we
wasn't
talked so much.
It wasn't really anyone's direct fault. It's just life happens. But we've got some good stuff in store. Like I said, we've got some episodes in the bank, and then we also have some just other ideas for stuff that we're kind of working on putting together right now. So, and we're gonna really jump back on being more pushing out more regular content. So hopefully we don't go on another really long hiatus like we did between our previous episode and this one. Or 2 and 3, but we'll see. So anyway, thanks again for coming on.
No problem.
And I think we're gonna call that an episode.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to seeing what your beautiful podcast does.
You're too kind.
If anything we discussed today regarding suicide has resonated with you, and you are currently struggling with suicidal thoughts, please know this: you are not alone and help is available. Please make a call or a text right now to 988. That's the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. This is a free, confidential service, and it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't have to be in a crisis to call.
You can simply call or text if you need to talk. For listeners outside of the U.S., please search for a local suicide prevention hotline or crisis center in your country, or visit the International Association for Suicide Prevention website to find local resources. Your feelings are valid, and the intense pain you're experiencing can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be the end of your story. There are people who want to support you through this, and we urge you to reach out and talk to someone today.